I was clearly a living soul, yet I managed to accumulate 999 merits in the Underworld. No sooner had I been infeft as an official of the afterlife than King Yama kicked me straight back to the mortal realm. However, the moment I set foot on the ground, I was stunned. A terrifying apocalypse had descended upon the world. The mortal realm is now overrun by ghosts. Moreover, humans have begun forming pacts with these spirits, becoming known as ghost tamers. Right now, a man and a woman are standing before me. The middle-aged man observes the dense ghostly aura radiating from my body and says to the young woman with such an intense ghostly aura, "This might be more than just a ferocious level ghost. Use your Taoist techniques to deal with it immediately." Upon hearing this, the young woman hastily pulls out a yellow paper talisman. She circles around me, trapping me within a ring of talismans, then draws a peachwood sword and lunges directly at me. I curse inwardly. I have only just returned to the mortal realm, yet I have already encountered lunatics. I reach out and tear the encircling talismans to shreds. The young woman is stunned by this sight. She cannot believe that such a ferocious ghost would be completely unaffected by her talismans. She retrieves a purple talisman and slaps it directly onto my forehead. I frown, peel the talisman off, crumple it into a ball, and toss it aside. I shout, "Are you insane?" Saying this, I snatch the peachwood sword from her hand. I snap it in two. The young woman is completely terrified. All her methods are useless against this evil ghost. Without a second thought, she turns and flees, screaming, "Runs, Uncle Lee, run! This ghost is far too powerful." I am even more incensed upon hearing this. "You are the ghost. Your entire family is full of ghosts. What terrible luck." The moment I arrive, I run into two lunatics. At that same moment, not far away, a figure with disheveled hair is hovering in midair. She mutters to herself, "What a dense ghostly aura. If I can devour this target, I will surely become stronger." As she speaks, she flies rapidly toward me, but suddenly she freezes and immediately turns to flee. How can this be? How could a figure of such terrifying stature appear in the mortal realm? Could it be that the barrier separating the living and the dead has vanished entirely? It turns out that 7 years ago, the barrier isolating the two realms had suffered a fissure. In a single night, countless ghosts poured into the world of the living, and this female spirit was among them. One must understand that the greater one's power, the lower the probability of successfully crossing into the world of the living. She could not comprehend how an existence of my level, from the underworld, could possibly appear in this realm. At that very moment, my shout erupted from behind her. "Stop where you are." As the words left my lips, a terrifying pressure instantly enveloped the female spirit. The female spirit turned around immediately, begging for her life. "Great Lord, spare me," I asked, deeply puzzled. "You recognize me?" It turns out that this female spirit also originated from the city of Karma. 7 years ago, she had seen me when I still served as a yin messenger. From her own lips, I learned that the world of the living had long since become a realm where humans and ghosts coexist. Ghosts do so to accumulate spectral energy. Some enter into contracts with humans, while others seize territories to cultivate in solitude. Having understood the situation, I spoke to the female spirit. "You may go. I will not harm you." Upon hearing this, the female spirit hurriedly offered her thanks and immediately turned to depart, but the moment she turned away, I suddenly reached out and struck the back of her neck, whispering the word, "Suppress." Immediately thereafter, the female spirit vanished without a trace. Congratulations, you have obtained the ghost skill. Ghost Eye. The ghost suppression tome had appeared in my mind 7 years ago. Finally, I have managed to turn to its first page. Name Shenxi Realm Malignant Level Skill Ghost Eye. Generates 20 nether coins daily. Note, the higher the realm, the greater the quantity of nether coins generated. After reading this, my eyes brightened. Nether coins are condensed from vast amounts of spectral energy. Whether one is a ghost or a yin messenger, nether coins can be used to elevate one's cultivation realm. To be ordained as a yin messenger requires an even greater quantity of them. Therefore, these nether coins are an absolute necessity. And now I only need to capture 1 malignant level ghost to generate 20 nether coins per day. Thus, by capturing 10 malignant level ghosts, I could generate 200 nether coins daily. That would amount to over 60,000 nether coins in a single year. One must realize that when I served as a yin messenger in the underworld, my annual salary did not even reach 100 nether coins. What is even more absurd is that I have also inherited the ghost skill of this spirit. For the first time, I truly sensed the immense power of the ghost suppression tome. At that same moment, Shenxi found herself in an empty space, surrounded by walls on all sides. She flailed through the air, shouting, "Let me out! Wait, release me!" Why is the ghastly aura here so dense? It is even more potent than the aura in the underworld. One must understand that while in the mortal realm, Shenxi had to expend great energy and time just to accumulate a fraction of such power. Yet here, by merely breathing, she absorbed more ghastly aura than she could accumulate in a month of effort outside. This place was truly a paradise for a malevolent ghost. But before she could revel in her joy, she was instantly transported back before me. I gazed at Shenxi's panicked expression and asked, "You wanted me to let you out?" Shenxi shook her head frantically. "Being taken in by you is my good fortune." She was not a fool. Anyone who would choose to leave a place with such abundant ghastly aura would be an idiot. I nodded and continued, "What is the function of the Ghost Eye?" The Ghost Eye is my innate ghost technique. Once activated, it allows me to perceive the rank and abilities of other ghosts. I stroked my chin and thought, this Ghost Eye technique might be considered useless to others, but for me, it was like a tiger gaining wings. Because the space within the ghost suppression tome is limited, I cannot house just any kind of ghost. Therefore, I can fully utilize the ghost eye to seek out truly formidable spirits. Shenxi immediately grasped my intentions. She hurriedly spoke up, Master Mo, I know of a terrifying level ghost. With your strength, you could surely subdue it. Shall I lead the way? Thus, under Shenji's guidance, I quickly arrived at the outskirts of a village. Just as I prepared to enter, an old man called out to me, Young man, are you also here for the entity inside? That is a dangerous level ghost. It would be best if you did not enter. Be careful not to throw your life away. Just as I was about to declare that I feared nothing, two Mercedes-Benz vehicles pulled up. The doors opened, and a beautiful woman stepped out, followed by 5 young men in their 20s. Elder Yun, these are the people I have brought for you. Are they sufficient? The old man assessed the 5 ghost controllers and nodded. 3 Tier 3 ghost controllers and 2 Tier 2 ghost controllers. That is enough. The young woman smiled upon hearing this. I beseech you, Elder, you must assist me in capturing the danger-level spirit dwelling within. As it turned out, in her pursuit of this spirit, the young woman had already squandered over 3 million to enlist the services of 5 ghost controllers. She had even presented Elder Yun with 2 pieces of spirit artifacts as an incentive for him to intervene. The reason she paid such an exorbitant price was simple. Should she succeed in capturing this danger-level spirit and forging a successful contract, she would ascend to the rank of a 3rd-level ghost controller, permanently solidifying her standing within the clan. With this thought in mind, she gave a cold wave of her hand and immediately turned to follow Elder Yun into the village. As for the guards she had brought, they hastily erected a barrier to block the path, forbidding anyone else from entering the village. Seeing this, I approached a guard and inquired, May I enter? The guards before me acted as if they had heard nothing, treating me as if I were invisible. I was in no hurry. I merely stood at a distance, gazing into the village. Perhaps it was an ill omen, but the sky seemed to grow darker by the second. At that very moment, the young woman's cries for help echoed from within the village. She was currently enveloped in a thick shroud of black smoke, leaving her entire body paralyzed. The only thing she could do was scream for help at the top of her lungs. Just as she descended into despair, I descended from the sky and let out a resounding roar. Subdue! The dark smoke surrounding the woman suddenly froze. Upon seeing me, the young woman desperately shouted, Save me, take me out of here, and I will reward you with a vast fortune. My eyes lit up. I was in dire need of wealth at that moment. Without hesitation, I reached out, grabbed the woman, and carried her back toward the entrance of the village. I set her down and said, Stay here, I am going inside to investigate. The young woman frantically blocked my path. Do not go. The spirit inside is formidable. It is a terror-level entity. You will lose your life. I paid her no heed and walked straight into the heart of the village, quickly discovering the remains of the male ghost controller. Just then, a blood-stained hand suddenly clamped onto my shoulder. I whirled around to find Elder Yun standing behind me, his face drenched in blood. Little brother, I will give you 3,000 Underworld credits. Take me away from here at once. As he spoke, his eyes darted nervously around, seemingly terrified that the spirit might appear at any moment. Ignoring Elder Yun, I lunged toward the tombstone ahead, thrust my hand into it, and pulled with all my might. A shadowtwarm was torn within the tombstone by my hand. Before my eyes, the information regarding this spirit manifested. Name, Chuxing, realm, ghost technique, soul refinement. Utilizing soul refinement allows the spirit to bind its foes, suppress their attacks, and deliver a lethal finishing blow. Watching the information hover before me, I mused that this ghost eye was quite impressive. With a single glance, it had laid bare all the secrets of this malicious spirit. Chuxing bared his fangs and brandished his claws in a desperate attempt to resist, but his limbs remained frozen. Little did he know that I had just employed the binding seal, a technique of the Yin emissaries, which had thoroughly shackled every ounce of his power. Elder Yun stood completely stunned at the sight. Could this fellow truly be this formidable? With but a casual wave, he captured the malevolent ghost. It seems my initial judgment was gravely mistaken. I then asked Suxing whether he was a ghost from Naihei Bridge or from the Ghost Realm. He did not know. In truth, the Underworld is currently divided into 3 major factions. The first is the capital of Karma, led by Yama. The second is Naihei Bridge, overseen by the judge in Meng Po. And finally, the Ghost Realm, ruled by the Ghost King. Shenxi and I belong to the faction of the capital of Karma. The ghosts of the capital of Karma are relatively benevolent and rarely harm the living. The ghosts of Naihei Bridge are sharply divided. There are those who harm the living and those who do not. As for the ghosts of the Ghost Realm, they are all malevolent entities that delight in harming others. Every one of them is burdened with heavy karma and possesses a vicious temperament. Suxing did not answer my question directly and continued to make a racket, so I ceased my words, grabbed him, and hurled him violently toward the ground. With a loud crash, he slammed into the earth, leaving a deep crater. Immediately afterward, Suxing's form appeared to fade by a few shades. Seeing this, I seized him once more and threw him forcefully against the ground again. After several repetitions, just as Suxing was on the verge of dissipating, he cried out for mercy. Spare my life, Excellency, I am a ghost from the Ghost Realm. Upon hearing this, I delivered another heavy blow to him, saying, The thing I despise most is a ghost from the Ghost Realm. I proceeded to interrogate Suxing with several questions. How many underworld envoys and officers are there in the mortal realm, and what is the strength of the most powerful ghost? Yet Suxing merely shook his head, claiming he did not know. Forced to abandon my inquiry, I placed my hand firmly upon his forehead. Instantly, Sushing vanished, absorbed by the snail spirit. Congratulations, you have obtained the ghost skill, soul tempering. The second page of the ghost suppression book has also been updated with Sushing's information. Each day he can produce 40 underworld coins. It appears that the higher the rank of the ghost, the greater the number of underworld coins produced each day. If I accumulate enough, I could eventually become an existence on the level of a cave master. Elder Yun saw that the malicious ghost had been subdued and finally exhaled in relief. He looked at his broken arm and sighed helplessly. This trip has truly been a heavy loss. Not only have I lost 3 pieces of ghost artifacts, but I have also suffered a broken arm. He immediately bowed deeply to express his gratitude, saying, "Young brother, I thank you for saving my life." Elder Yun spoke while producing 3,000 Ming coins, which he handed to me. I accepted the coins and was about to turn away when, with a sharp click, pale white beams of light converged upon me from every direction. Moments later, several pickup trucks screeched to a halt. As the vehicle settled, a group of figures clad in black cloaks emerged. A woman among them stepped forward and spoke, "We are from the Spirit Exorcism Society. Where is the specter that requires containment?" Seeing this, Elder Yun immediately realized that reinforcements had arrived. He hurriedly declared, "The malevolent spirit has already been repelled." No sooner had he finished speaking than the woman I had saved earlier stumbled forward. With an expression of profound remorse, she spoke to Elder Yun. "Elder Yun, I was my fault that you lost an arm." Elder Yun replied helplessly, "Qian Yun, this is not on you. I have only myself to blame for my arrogance, failing to reconnoiter the area and ascertain the true cultivation level of that spirit." Qian Yun then turned her gaze toward me and asked, "Benefactor, are you unharmed? That spirit did not inflict any injuries upon you, did it?" I shook my head, signaling that I was well. Qian Yun promptly arranged for a vehicle to transport me to a luxurious hotel. Early the next morning, the woman from the Spirit Exorcism Society arrived and knocked on my door. "Greetings. I am Lin, the Deputy Director of the City Spirit Exorcism Society." I had already heard Qian Yun's introduction to the organization the previous day. It was a state-sanctioned institution with branches established in nearly every region. Before I could inquire about the purpose of her visit, she stated, "I would like to invite you to join the Spirit Exorcism Society. Under normal circumstances, we will place no restrictions upon you. You remain free to do as you please. We would only request your intervention when we encounter threats beyond our capabilities, and we would provide compensation commensurate with your efforts." I listened without showing any immediate interest, gesturing for her to continue. Seeing this, Li Bingyan pressed on. "Our Spirit Exorcism Society possesses the most formidable intelligence network in existence. Whether you need to track individuals or hunt spirits, we can provide all the information you require. Should you find yourself in trouble, we can also offer the backing of our influence." Upon hearing this, I did not offer an immediate refusal. Having just returned, I had yet to grasp the current state of affairs in the world of the living. Thus I responded, "I will give your invitation careful consideration." Li Bingyan did not appear disappointed. After departing the hotel, the man following Li Bingyan spoke with a tone of dissatisfaction. "Sister Li, he is merely a ghost controller. Is it truly necessary for you to humble yourself and beg for him to join us?" Li Bingyan replied with a grave expression, "He has captured a terror-level ghost." The man reflexively retorted, "But didn't Elder Yun say he only drove the terror-level ghost away? Could it be that Elder Yun spoke a falsehood?" The man suddenly realized that if Mo Lin could capture a terror-level ghost, it meant he must have forged a contract with a terror-level entity as a high-ranking ghost controller. If he truly captured the terror-level ghost yesterday, it implies he possesses 2 such entities. At this thought, the man drew a sharp breath, instantly understanding why Sister Li held such a respectful demeanor. Meanwhile, I sat upon the sofa, sipping a soft drink and enjoying snacks while watching television, relishing the long-lost sensation of being human. Once I had eaten my fill, I retrieved the golden scroll that Yama had bestowed upon me. Unrolling it, I found a message inscribed by Yama. "The Ghost Cave and the Naihi Bridge have established their own influence in the mortal realm, yet my Yedu faction possesses no foundation in this world. You must exercise the utmost caution during your time in the mortal realm. Zichang Qingro is currently being hunted by the Ghost Cave. If the opportunity arises, you must assist her in her escape." I rubbed my chin contemplating Yama's instructions. These 2 major factions have flourished in the mortal realm, while Yedu remains stagnant. Zichang Qingro, mentioned in the scroll, is my senior sister. Back when I served as an Underworld emissary, she was the one who aided me. Furthermore, her strength surpassed that of all other emissaries. For this reason, Yama expended a vast amount of nether currency to send her to the mortal realm to cultivate our influence. It has been 3 years, yet it appears my senior sister has failed to build any power, and is now even being hunted by ghosts from the Ghost Cave. My thoughts immediately turned to the Ghost Controller Society that Li Bingyan mentioned. Relying on their extensive intelligence network, perhaps I might find a lead, and after all, it is easier to find shade under a great tree. No matter how I calculate it, joining them would not be a loss. Thus I retrieved my phone and contacted Li Bingyan, informing her that I consented to join the Ghost Controller Society. To my surprise, she and Chen Yun arrived with remarkable haste. Li Bingyan presented me with a specialized device and an official certificate. After an exchange of polite formalities, she took her leave. Only then did Xian Yun, who remained by my side, reveal the true purpose of her visit. "Big Brother Mo, would you be able to help me capture a ghost? I will not let you assist me for nothing. I shall grant you a ghost artifact." With that said, Thien Van produced a small bell. A single glance was enough for me to discern that it was a decent ghost artifact, yet it held no value for me. Seeing my silence, Thien Van added, I can offer you an additional 10 million in cash, a residence, and a Rolls Royce. She was truly desperate to capture a formidable ghost. Her younger siblings had already become ghost controllers. If she failed to become one herself, her standing within the Thien family would only continue to diminish. I pondered for a moment before speaking. If you can assist me in locating an underworld envoy from the capital named Tu Thuong King Nu, I will agree to help you capture one. As soon as I finished, Thien Van replied in an agitated tone, I happen to know of an underworld envoy from the capital, though I am uncertain if it is the person you seek. I was taken aback, never expecting such a casual inquiry to yield results so quickly. Thus I continued, where is the envoy you speak of? Thien Van suddenly recalled something, her complexion turning unsightly as she spoke. That envoy is currently being auctioned off. In the next instant, she could not help but recoil 2 steps, as she felt a terrifying pressure erupting from my body, while I asked coldly, where is this auction being held? Thien Van trembled as she hurried to reply, at the Ting Tu Duong auction house. Quickly, I learned from Thien Van that Ting Tu Duong was once nothing more than a dilapidated temple, lacking any renown, but 7 years ago a catastrophic apocalypse descended, and with ghosts running rampant, humanity was reduced to the lowest rung of society. Tin Tu Duong, however, relied on talismans and peachwood swords to capture a multitude of ghosts. Over these 7 years, Tin Tuong gradually transformed into a prominent Taoist temple. After she finished speaking, Thien Van stole a glance at me before carefully continuing. Tin Tu Duong is currently guarded by 2 Grade 4 ghost controllers and 5 Grade 3 ghost controllers. It is far too dangerous for you to go there just like that. Upon hearing this, I stated directly, just take me there. The rest is not for you to concern yourself with. Once the task is complete, I will help you capture a ghost. Seeing that her warnings were futile, Thien Van had no choice but to nod in agreement. However, no sooner had we reached the hotel lobby than a bald man blocked our path. Sister Thien Van, where are you headed? Thien Van frowned and retorted, do not stand in my way. I have important matters to attend to. The bald man sneered with contempt. Important matters, you say? Could it be you are referring to the death of the 5 ghost controllers last night? Or perhaps you are referring to you squandering the few ghost artifacts the family possesses? Is it true that in less than a month as acting head of the family, you have already squandered nearly 10,000 Ming credits? The elder is furious. He intends to strip you of your position as acting head and confine you for half a year. Thien Van's expression darkened instantly. It seemed she had become a target for those within the family. Before Thien Van could respond, the bald man gestured and 2 burly men stepped forward, intending to seize her. Seeing this, I shouted with absolute impatience, get lost. The bald man scanned me from head to toe. Dressed in nothing but rags, do you fancy yourself some sort of major figure? I advise you not to meddle in affairs that do not concern you. I shall not repeat myself. I raised my foot and sent the bald man flying with a single kick, then turned and escorted Thien Van out of the hotel without looking back. At that same moment, the auction at Jingxi Hall reached its climax. The scheduled items had all been sold, yet the Yin envoy had not been brought forth. Consequently, the crowd began to express their growing dissatisfaction. Just then, a middle-aged man walked out with a grin, carrying a wooden cage. Do not be impatient. Is the Yin envoy not right here before you? All eyes turned toward the wooden cage, which was draped in a black cloth inscribed with dense crimson characters. The middle-aged man slowly lifted a corner of the cloth, revealing a shrunken, black humanoid figure. This is the Yin envoy. Should any of you succeed in forming a contract with it, you could attain the rank of at least a level 5 spirit controller or perhaps even level 6. Upon hearing this, the crowd grew restless, eager to try their luck. But when the middle-aged man announced a starting bid of 20,000 Ming credits, the clamor of the crowd fell into a deathly silence. A long moment passed and no one dared to bid. A young man stood up and asked, is there no room for a price reduction? The middle-aged man shook his head, impossible. The price is at least 20,000 Ming credits. This Yin envoy was consigned by another party. We at Jingxi Hall have no authority to alter the price. The middle-aged man looked around the room once more and asked, is there anyone who wishes to bid? Just as the crowd concluded that no one would make the purchase, a young man dressed in luxury attire waved his hand and shouted, I will buy it. The middle-aged man's face broke into a wide grin. Young Master Wang Bing is truly generous. Wang Bing chuckled and asked, may I inspect the goods? The middle-aged man, having said that, he handed over the cage. Wang Bing took it and lifted the black cloth. He peered inside cautiously. It was indeed a Yin messenger. However, this Yin messenger had been beaten to the brink of soul dissipation. But that was no matter. He only intended for his contracted ghost to absorb this Yin messenger, thereby advancing it to the hazard level. Once that was achieved, he would also ascend to the status of a level 3 ghost controller. Meanwhile, we rushed at full speed and finally reached the quiet ancestral hall. As Chen Yun stepped out of the vehicle, she urged, Brother Mo, let us hurry. If we arrive too late, the Yin messenger might be sold to someone else. Yet, upon stepping down, I paused and turned my head to look at the wooden cage held by a young man. I could perceive the aura of a Yin messenger emanating from it. At this moment, Wang Bing noticed my gaze as well. Guarded, he demanded. Brother, why are you staring at me? I pointed at the cage in his hand and asked, that is a Yin messenger inside, is it not? Upon hearing this, Wang Bing stepped back, wary, and muttered, you do not look like someone to be trifled with. He spoke up, I spent 20,000 Underworld credits to purchase this yin messenger. If you want it, pay me 20,000 Underworld credits and it is yours. After a moment of contemplation, I realized I had less than 4,000 Underworld credits to my name. Helplessly, I asked, would you be willing to trade for something else? Wang Bing refused without a second thought. He had already deduced I lacked the 20,000 credits and proposed the demand specifically to deter me. Immediately after, the middle-aged man beside him shouted, "Step aside." Chen Yun whispered a reminder nearby. That man is a bodyguard for the Wang family. Yangshu is a level 3 ghost controller. Before her words had even faded, a soft explosion suddenly echoed. A trail of black smoke billowed out from my crimson official robes. Seeing this, Yangshu's expression shifted abruptly. He had just used a ghost technique to strike me, yet he had not left a single scratch upon me. What they did not know was that my attire was a yin-attributed artifact, one that even a terror-level ghost would struggle to damage. As I raised my hand and softly commanded, Soul Chain, a flaming shackle shot directly toward Yangshu. Just as Yangshu attempted to dodge, the chain wrapped tightly around his neck, instantly rendering his body paralyzed. Seeing this, Wang Bing interjected, "Brother, let us not be hasty. The matter of the ghost messenger can be negotiated." Upon hearing this, I retracted the soul chain. Yangshu collapsed to the ground immediately. "Yunshuan," he gasped, "since when has there been such a ruthless individual?" I turned my gaze toward Wang Bing and stated, "I will not take your item for nothing. Give the ghost messenger to me, and I shall provide you with an item of equal value." Knowing he was no match for me, Hin had no choice but to accept that I wanted to purchase this ghost servant for the purpose of upgrading it. Could it be that he truly believed I was unable to assist his contracted ghost in reaching the fearsome level? Wang Ming gritted his teeth and said, "Fine, very well. I shall gift this ghost servant to you. Let us consider this a gesture of friendship." You did not even wait for him to finish his sentence before interrupting him. "I am capable of helping you upgrade your contracted ghost to the fearsome level." Upon hearing this, Wang Bing looked at me with profound disbelief. "Brother, do not attempt to deceive me." I had no interest in further discussion. Since he agreed to gift the ghost servant, I commanded Wang Bing to follow me without delay. We soon arrived at a gloomy house not far from our location. Wang Bing gazed around in astonishment, sensing that he and I were the only ones present. Who exactly was I attempting to summon? Seeing Wang Bing's bewilderment, I spoke up, "Stay still. I am not calling for you. I am summoning the entity residing within your body." Wang Ming looked at me as if I had lost my senses. "Brother, please compose yourself. My contracted ghost is bound to me. You cannot simply summon it out." Yet the very next second, a shadow emerged from within Wang Bing's body. Wang Bing was utterly stunned to witness the entity truly manifesting before him. The contracted ghost began to tremble and plead, "Great One, have mercy. This small one inadvertently offended you. My soul power is weak and my senses have become somewhat sluggish, which is why I delayed in coming to pay my respects to you." I asked directly, "Are you a ghost of the ghost realm?" The trembling contracted ghost replied, "I was once a ghost of Yedu, before being captured by the great ghost of the ghost realm." I observed the spirit, which seemed on the verge of dissipation, and asked, "Then how did you sustain these injuries?" The contracted ghost replied helplessly, "Great One, years ago when you were in the ghost realm and employed the 5 Viscera ghost concealment technique to summon a ghost king who slaughtered all in his path, I merely caught a glimpse of the carnage and was struck by the collateral damage, nearly resulting in the destruction of my soul." Wang Ming stood to the side, listening in complete confusion. How could a living man such as himself end up in the underworld? And what exactly was this 5 Viscera ghost concealment technique? The words of the contracted ghost left you feeling deeply conflicted. At that time, your mastery of the 5 Viscera ghost concealment technique had not yet reached its zenith, yet you forced its activation, paying a heavy price for your hubris. Furthermore, ever since that incident, the entire ghost realm has known that you are the successor of the Celestial Master. I sighed and said, "I shall heal your wounds immediately." Without hesitation, I produced 10 Underworld banknotes, each with a denomination of 100, and placing my hand upon the contracted ghost's head, I channeled the ghost-suppressing energy. The very next second, the Underworld banknotes transformed into nether energy, flowing directly into the body of the contracted ghost. The body of the contract ghost recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye. Once the contract ghost was fully restored, it began to thank me profusely. I simply waved my hand, signaling it to return to Wang Bing's body. The moment the contract ghost re-entered him, Wang Bing immediately sensed the terrifying power of the entity. This meant that from this point forward, he was also a third-rank ghost controller. Overcome with excitement, he exclaimed, "Brother Mo, the ghost servant is yours." With that said, Wang Bing led me to go find Yangshu to retrieve the ghost servant. However, as soon as we stepped outside, Yangshu bolted straight past the two of us. Wang Bing and I were both left stunned. Why was he running? A flicker of irritation rose within me. Barely moments after I had helped Wang Bing upgrade his contract ghost to the danger rank, Yangshu had made off with the ghost messenger right before our eyes. Was this not an act of blatant robbery? Wang Bing hurriedly and frantically began to explain. "Brother Mo, that man took the ghost messenger on his own accord. I absolutely did not order him to do so." Having said that, he quickly pulled out his phone to call Yangshu. "What on earth are you running for?" On the other end, Yangshu gritted his teeth and said, "Young master, stay strong. I will return immediately to find the old master to rescue you." Wang Bing immediately shouted, "You fool, get back here at once." Seeing this, Yangshu became even more convinced that Wang Bing was being coerced. Thus he replied, "Young master, I know you are being forced by that brat. Wait for me to bring back the old master to save you, and together we will deal with that guy." Upon hearing this, Wang Bing's mind went blank. What kind of delusions are you entertaining? I am not being coerced. I am doing this of my own free will. Bring the ghost messenger back to me immediately. Whether it was because Wang Bing sounded too anxious, Yang Shu showed absolutely no intention of turning back. Wang Bing looked at me with worry, then back at his phone. At this moment, I realized that this was a misunderstanding that could not be resolved in an instant. Thus I spoke up, "In that case, I will have to go to your estate to retrieve the ghost servant myself." Wang Bing hurried. I shook my head and replied, "Wait until I have resolved another matter first." Immediately I turned and walked toward the Jingxi Hall, coldly demanding, "Who captured the Yin envoy?" In an instant, every gaze in the room converged upon me. Whispers and murmurs began to ripple through the crowd. The middle-aged man narrowed his eyes and spoke, "Little brother, what is your meaning?" I repeated, I asked, "Who captured the Yin envoy?" The middle-aged man bellowed, "What business is that of yours? It seems you have come to my Jingxi Hall seeking trouble." Following his words, several men appeared from behind him. Seeing this, Qian Yun hurriedly whispered to me, "Brother Mo, these people are all third-rank ghost controllers." I replied coldly, "I did not come here to stir up trouble. I am only here to inquire about the Yin envoy." The middle-aged man let out a cold snort. He prepared to summon his contracted ghost, but suddenly the contract within his body seemed to vanish. No matter how he tried to summon it, there was no response. The same fate befell the third-rank ghost controllers behind him. Seeing them still refuse to speak, I said, "If you will not reveal the truth regarding the Yin envoy, I shall have to resort to more drastic measures." The ghost controllers of Jingxi Hall, showing no fear, continued their futile attempts to reach their contracts. Witnessing this, I lowered my head and opened my mouth, allowing an unknown viscous fluid to drip out. At the same time, my chest heaved as if something were about to tear its way out. Just then, an old Taoist in traditional robes suddenly appeared and bowed deeply to me, saying, "Great master, please withdraw your power. I am the master of this Taoist temple. Whatever matter you have, you may discuss it with me." Upon hearing this, I took a deep breath and swallowed the entity I had been preparing to manifest back into my body. Since the one in charge had finally stepped forward, there was no longer a need to utilize the 5 Viscera ghost sealing technique. The others, seeing the temple master treat me with such deference, cried out, "Master, this man caused a disturbance at the auction. You should have him expelled." The temple master snorted coldly, "A bunch of blind fools." He then turned to me and said, "Great master, please do not lower yourself to the level of these ignorant juniors. Let us go inside to speak." With that, he led me into the inner chamber. Yet, no one noticed Wang Bing staring fixedly at the puddle of saliva I had left behind. The ghost contract within him was surging with primal hunger, screaming at him to Kaliva, but a concentrated manifestation of ghost energy, a divine delicacy for any spirit. Sensing the desperation of his contracted ghost, Wang Bing stubbornly wiped the liquid from the floor with a piece of paper, only to look up and see Qian Yun staring at him with a look of astonishment and disgust. Meanwhile, on the other side, I spoke plainly. "I only wish to know who captured the Yin envoy." Upon hearing this, the Tao Master turned directly to the middle-aged man and commanded Qing Yun, "Tell this honored guest who captured this spirit." Observing the grim expression on the Tao Master's face, Qing Yun dared not refuse and hurriedly spoke. "We did not capture the spirit. It was entrusted to us by another party, and we merely take a 10% commission." I pressed him further, asking, "Which power does the other party belong to, and where are they from?" Qing Yun pondered for a moment before replying, "The other party claims to be from the Sun family. It seems they are not locals of Yunchuan. I have only met him once, and as for the rest, if you wish to locate him, I can contact you as soon as he arrives to collect the nether coins." I nodded in agreement, left my phone number, and took my leave. Seeing me depart, Qing Yun asked in bewilderment, "Old master, why were you so courteous toward that young brat?" Furthermore, there was no need to break our established rules for his sake. The Tao Master merely responded with a cold, indifferent question. "Do you know why the spirit contract could not be recalled just now?" Everyone shook their heads, signifying they did not know. "Because your spirit contract was afraid." Everyone stared at the Tao Master in disbelief. How could a spirit contract fear a mere human? The Tao Master looked on sternly and declared, "He is an existence that we cannot afford to provoke." Meanwhile, Wang Bing had driven me into the heart of Chanyun. Upon arriving at the grand entrance of the Wang family villa, I stepped out of the vehicle and immediately took notice of a tattooed man exiting the estate. Behind his back lingered a surge of blood-red yin energy, within which countless phantasms wailed for salvation, revealing the souls the tattooed man's spirit contract had consumed. Sensing my gaze, the man spoke up, "This person is named Longhuo, a Tier 4 spirit-controlling emissary." At that same moment, Longhuo froze, as if communicating with someone. He abruptly lifted his head, cast a glance in my direction, and accelerated, attempting to flee. I felt a very familiar aura emanating from Longhuo's body. Without hesitation, I darted forward and obstructed his path. "Old acquaintance, why the hurry upon seeing me?" Longhuo replied with an impatient expression, "Who is your acquaintance?" "I do not know you." Having said this, Longhuo turned to leave once more. I blocked his path again and remarked, "I am not speaking to you. I am speaking to the spirit contract residing within your body. Zhangwei, we have clashed several times in the Underworld. Will you not come out to meet me?" Before Longhuo could speak further, a shadow surged out from within his body. It begged, "Great One, please spare my life." Everyone was astonished. How could a Tier 4 spirit contract be this cowardly? Without a hint of hesitation, I shouted, Zhang you committed countless atrocities in the underworld, and even after reaching the mortal realm you continue your wicked ways. Do you not deserve to die? It turns out that this Zhang belonged to the ghost realm. Back when I was a Yin envoy, we had clashed, and at that time I severed 3 of his souls. Although his strength was greatly diminished, I allowed him to escape into the mortal realm. Suppressing the rage within his heart, Zhang spoke once more, begging for mercy. Mo Yinti, there is no grudge between us. I ask that you show mercy and spare me today. I let out a cold, disdainful snort. You harmed my friend, and you dare call this no grudge? As my words faded, a chain manifested from the void, lunging straight toward Zhang Gui. Zhang Gui attempted to dodge, but the chain was unerring. In a mere heartbeat, it had him tightly bound. Knowing that escape was impossible today, Zhang Gui began to howl defiantly. Mo Lin, this is the mortal realm, a place my ghost realm dominates. There is no sanctuary here for those from the underworld. You will not meet a good end. I ignored his venomous words and placed my hand upon his head to suppress him. Congratulations, you have obtained the ghost technique. Black fog. Wang Ming and the others nearby watched the scene, utterly paralyzed by shock. That was a terror-level ghost. Yet Mo Lin had suppressed him in less than a few minutes. His prowess is truly terrifying. Seeing that his ghost contract had been seized, Long Huo charged forward, demanding I return it. After retrieving the ghost contract, I dealt a heavy kick, sending him flying. Turning to Wang Bing, I said, take him to the Public Security Bureau. He has, at the very least, slaughtered over 10 people. Upon hearing this, Wang Bing immediately ordered his men to bind Long Huo. Seeing that I had finished my business, Wang Bing's father hurried over and called out, Wang Bing, do not stand there like a statue. Invite our distinguished guest inside. Wang Bing quickly acknowledged him before delivering a sharp slap to the back of Yangshu's head. You fool, bring the Yin envoy here. Soon after, I caught sight of the wooden cage containing the Yin envoy. As I lifted the black cloth, I saw a small blackened humanoid figure, its limbs pierced through by thin red threads. The moment I laid eyes on the dark figure, I realized this Yin envoy was not my junior brother. Just as I prepared to open the cage, a surge of electricity was instantly triggered. I was jolted by the shock, forced to pull my hand away from the cage. The very next second, a red thread shot straight toward me. I immediately drew the long sword from my waist, severing the red thread in one motion. Then, the sturdy wooden cage shattered into pieces instantly. Following that, I placed my palm upon the demon and channeled ghostly energy into it. The demon's body quickly recovered to its normal size. Upon recovering, the demon immediately knelt on one knee. Your humble servant Li Shui pays respects to you, my lord. Thank you for saving my life. I spoke and asked, by whom were you captured? Sensing that it now had a backer, Li Shui hurriedly accused, I was entrapped and captured by the joint forces of a great demon from the ghost realm and a spirit controller. I pondered for a moment before asking, do you know the whereabouts of my senior sister? Zichang Qingru, the demon replied in haste. Zichang Qingru has been missing for a year. Before this, I had already sent other ghosts to search for her, but there has been no news whatsoever. Realizing I could not extract any useful information, I rose. I understand. Find a place to tend to your wounds. If I have need of you, I will summon you. Afterward, I turned to Chan Yun and said, Chan Yun, could you lend me 10,000 Underworld credits? Chan Yun agreed without a moment's hesitation. Very well, I will return home and find a way to gather the funds for you immediately. Having said that, she turned and departed. I did not linger either and returned directly to the hotel. Upon reaching my room, I summoned Zhang Gui and questioned him regarding the affairs of the Ghost Realm. Trembling with fear, Zhang Gui replied, the Ghost Realm currently occupies 3 provinces. They have established a force of their own and are collaborating with spirit controllers, primarily to deal with the Yin envoys arriving from the Underworld. They have already slain 32 Yin envoys from Yadu. I fell into deep thought for a moment before asking, how does the Ghost Realm track the locations of the Yadu Yin envoys? One must realize that the Long Kingdom spans a vast territory, and I found it highly suspicious that the Yin envoys were being located so easily. Zhang Gui shook his head, indicating he did not know. My lord, my strength is meager. The information I possess is only hearsay. A wave of a headache washed over me upon hearing this. If the Ghost Realm is targeting Yadu Yin envoys, it inevitably means they will target me as well. After all, I had already slaughtered quite a few demons from the Ghost Realm back in the Underworld. At that exact moment, my phone suddenly rang. As soon as I answered, the anxious voice of Li Bingyan came through. Mo Lin, do you have a moment? I asked. Speak plainly if there is something on your mind. Upon hearing this, Li Bingyan did not waste time, stating a formidable demon has appeared at 26 Hongai Road. 3 spirit controllers have already perished. I would like to invite you to come and investigate. If you can resolve this matter, there will be a reward of 2,000 Underworld credits. Upon hearing this, I quickly agreed. I am currently in desperate need of funds, so I hung up the phone and changed into a different set of clothes. My Underworld robe was far too conspicuous. Other spirits would identify my status at a mere glance. Until I can gather more information about the Ghost Realm, it is better for me to maintain a low profile. Shortly thereafter, I gathered my equipment and hailed a taxi toward 26 Hongai Road. As soon as I stepped out of the vehicle, I discovered that the road ahead had already been cordoned off. Sir, this area is currently restricted. Entry is temporarily prohibited. I produced the credentials that Li Bingyan had given me earlier to verify my identity. I am with the Spirit Suppression Agency, here to resolve this incident. Seeing this, the man immediately replied, then please follow me. As the man led the way, he kindly offered a warning. 4 spirit suppressors have already arrived. 3 are dead and 1 is severely injured. You must be extremely cautious. We soon arrived before a dilapidated building. I saw a crowd of people gathered, discussing something intently. The man reported to a woman with a ponytail. Sister Tang, the representative from the Spirit Suppression Agency, has arrived. Tang Fang nodded, paying me no further attention. She was currently on a phone call, seemingly inquiring how much longer the other party would be. I prepared to enter the abandoned building on my own, but as soon as I took a step, Tang Fang grabbed my arm and asked, "What are you doing?" I asked, bewildered, "Are we not here to suppress the spirit?" Tang Fang did not say a word but forcefully pulled me back. The spirit inside is incredibly ferocious, and has already killed 3 spirit suppressors. If you go in alone, you are merely throwing your life away. I have already summoned an exceptionally powerful spirit suppressor. We will enter together once she arrives. Seeing this, I chose not to press the matter further. 10 minutes later, the roar of an engine echoed through the air. I looked up to see a helicopter slowly descending onto an open lot nearby. Immediately afterward, a woman carrying an umbrella stepped out. Tang Feng introduced her to me. Yunling is the most formidable among the level 3 spirit suppressors. Notice the umbrella in her hand? It is a cursed artifact containing a hazard class spirit. Upon entering, Yunling spoke up Sister Tang. Tang Fang frowned and said, "The situation is dire. We have already lost 3 spirit suppressors." Hearing this, Yunling tapped her black umbrella lightly. In the next moment, a dark shadow emerged, and the specter leaned in to whisper something into Yunling's ear. Yunling nodded, then gestured for Tong Fong to head toward the abandoned building. Seeing this, I hurriedly followed behind them. Noticing that I was a newcomer, Yunling asked, "You must be new here, right? If that is the case, you must stay close to me once we encounter the spirits." After she finished speaking, I nodded, and she turned to lead the way into the derelict structure. However, before we had gone very far, the sound of shattering glass echoed through the air, causing both Tang Fang and Yunling to jump in surprise. I spoke up, somewhat embarrassed. "My apologies. I accidentally stepped on a piece of debris." Internally, I was speechless. The reactions of these two were far too exaggerated. Just at that moment, I suddenly sensed a powerful surge of ghostly energy. Sensing a weaker aura as well, it became clear that there were 2 spirits present. Among them, one was significantly weaker than the other. The path they were taking led toward the weak spirit, while the source of the potent ghostly energy lay in the opposite direction. Seeing me glancing around, Tang Fong spoke up, "What is it? Did you spot something?" I pointed in the opposite direction and said, "It is nothing. I am heading this way." Without waiting for their reply, I turned and walked toward the opposing path. Tang Fang watched my retreating figure and remarked, "A novice who has never faced life or death. He must be terrified." Ling calmly replied, "We all started as novices. When I first carried out a spirit hunting mission, I was just as afraid." Suddenly, the specter beside Yunling seemed to detect something and lunged forward. Seeing this, Yunling accelerated to keep pace. At the same time, as I stepped onto the second floor, a mysterious, chilling aura surged toward me. I looked up and was immediately met with a rotting, decaying face. The spirit swung its arm, and a blast of black energy tore through the air. I raised my hand, effortlessly parrying the strike. I then unleashed the soul-severing slash with my other hand, binding the spirit in the blink of an eye. I stroked my chin, examining the restrained entity, and muttered, "A malignant level spirit." I had previously promised Shan Yun that I would gift her a malignant level spirit. This one was perfectly suitable, so I immobilized the spirit and began chanting the sealing technique. In an instant, the entity condensed into a small black sphere. "So, you are actually familiar with the wind ghost technique?" Lord of the Underworld, he immediately began to beg for mercy. "My lord, please spare my life. I did not intend to kill anyone. It was the work of those ghost tamers. I only killed them in self-defense." As I tucked the black orb into my bag, I replied, "Rest assured, I have no intention of harming you." With that, I departed from the abandoned building. At that very moment, Old Man Yun had just dissipated that danger-level ghost, and turning to Tang Fang, he remarked, "There must be another disaster-level ghost hidden here. Otherwise, a single danger-level ghost would never have been capable of slaying 3 ghost tamers." However, the 2 of them scoured the derelict building for a long time, but finding nothing, they were forced to give up in frustration. Simultaneously, at the Xian family estate, a young man pointed his finger directly at Shan Yun and bellowed, "You have already squandered over 10,000 Ming coins, and now you dare to demand another 10,000? Are you not satisfied until you have completely bankrupted this family?" Shan Yun retorted loudly, refusing to yield, "I know a very formidable individual, and he is willing to capture a disaster-level ghost for me. I only need to lend him 10,000 Ming coins." The young man from earlier let out a mocking laugh. "Cousin, you are living in a dream world. Do you have any idea how difficult it is to capture a disaster-level ghost?" Shan Yun's third aunt joined in the castigation. "Shan Yun, you have surely been swindled. Even if you manage to capture one, forming a contract is not that simple." Seeing that her third aunt, who had always supported her, was now turning against her, Xian Yun felt a chill settle in her heart. At that precise moment, Xian Yun's grandfather spoke up, "Let Yuner have the 10,000 Ming coins." As soon as those words were uttered, Xian Yun's eldest uncle immediately countered. "Xian Yun's father has already ruined countless ghost artifacts. There are only 10,000 Ming coins left in the family treasury. If we give it all to her, this household will truly be finished." Xian Yun's cousin chimed in. She has already squandered 2/3 of the family's wealth. In my opinion, not only should we deny her the coins, but we should also lock her away to teach her a lesson. At that exact moment, a strange voice resonated through the room. Let me see who dares to lock her away. Under the astonished gaze of everyone present, I walked directly up to Xian Yun and asked, is this argument because you are trying to borrow 10,000 Ming coins for me? Before Xian Yun could answer, her third aunt stared at me and asked, are you the one who intends to borrow 10,000 Ming coins from her? I nodded and replied, it is I. Upon hearing this, Xian Yun's cousin let out a sneer. Xian Yun, I believe you have truly lost your wits. To think you would rely on this wet behind-the-ears brat to capture a dangerous level ghost. Xian Yun's third aunt chimed in. Xian Yun, you have surely been bewitched by this boy. I remained silent, merely flicking my hand. Instantly, the hulking silhouette of a ghost manifested from the void. The patriarch of the Shin family widened his eyes in shock. This was in truth a dangerous level ghost. Just then, Xian Yun's third aunt voiced her skepticism once more. Is this truly a dangerous level ghost? Why does it appear so feeble to me? Before the words had even left her lips, her throat was gripped firmly by the ghost. I commanded sharply, stay your hand, only then did the ghost retreat to my side. Xian Yun's cousin stood nearby, gulping in sheer terror. This ghost is truly far too ferocious. I turned toward Xian Yun and said, this ghost is a gift for you, sign the contract quickly. Xian Yun, caught between joy and anxiety, asked, what price must I pay to secure this? One must understand that in the eyes of ghosts, humans are nothing more than lowly creatures. Thus, for a human to forge a contract with a ghost, they must invariably fulfill the conditions demanded by said spirit. The more powerful the ghost, the more devastating the price one must pay. As for the exact nature of the cost, it depends entirely upon the requirements of the ghost in question. I did not allow the ghost to speak, interjecting instead that there was no price to pay. She was to sign the contract immediately. I then turned to the ghost and ordered produce the contract at once. The ghost, acting in complete compliance, produced a scroll. Upon the surface of the contract were only 4 characters, seal the covenant. There were absolutely no other terms or conditions attached. Xian Yun looked from me to the ghost. She was utterly bewildered, unable to fathom why such a spirit would be so obedient. Yet she did not hesitate, pressing her hand firmly onto the contract. In the following moment, the ghost dissolved into a beam of light, vanishing directly into Xian Yun's body. With the contract successfully sealed, the Xian family patriarch stepped forward to make his proclamation. I am old now. From this day forth, the affairs of this house shall be entrusted to Xian Yun. Having finished his announcement, the patriarch turned and strode out of the great hall. Xian Yun spoke once more. I require 10,000 Underworld coins. Does anyone here still have an objection? Not a single person dared to utter another word of objection. As she was now the head of the family, the authority over all matters rested solely with her. Once the crowd had dispersed, Xian Yun approached and held out 10,000 Ming coins. Big Brother Ma, thank you. Here's the 10,000 Ming coins you are owed. As for the house and vehicle I promised, I shall have my people prepare them for you shortly. I reached out to accept the coins and replied, I gave my word to help you exercise the spirits. I would never go back on my promise. I will return this money to you soon. As for a place to stay, do try to find me somewhere with a dense concentration of yin energy. Xian Yun gave a slight nod, indicating that it would be no problem at all. I reflected on the fact that I was not only indebted to Xian Yun for 10,000 Ming coins, but also owed 10,000 to Wang Bing. Thus I asked, is there any way to acquire Ming coins with speed? Xian Yun pondered for a moment before answering, there is no shortcut to earning Ming coins quickly. However, if you possess a surplus of ghost artifacts to sell, you could secure a massive sum of Ming coins instantly. It turned out that in the realm of the living, ghost artifacts were highly sought after. Even those of mediocre quality could easily fetch several thousand Ming coins. If the ghost artifacts were of high quality, they could command a price of tens of thousands of Ming coins. This was because a ghost might only be able to refine a single ghost artifact throughout its entire existence. Furthermore, it was rare for any ghost to be willing to refine their own essence into such artifacts. Hearing this, my eyes lit up with excitement. Back when I was in the Underworld, the King of Hell himself had personally taught me the techniques. Therefore, as long as I possessed sufficient Ming coins as a foundation, I could refine an endless supply of them. With that thought, I inquired, if one has ghost artifacts, where should they go to sell them? At the Sifang courtyard located in the very heart of Yanshuan City, that is where the ghosts and emissaries gather to exchange goods and conduct trade. You need never worry about finding a buyer for ghost artifacts there. Upon hearing this, I did not linger any longer. I hurried back to begin the task of refining ghost artifacts. I held 10 sheets of Ming coins, each with a denomination of 100 in my right hand, while my left hand moved rapidly to form a series of seals. Before long, the Ming coins transformed into yin energy, which then coalesced into the phantom image of a short blade. As time passed, the phantom image of the blade gradually solidified. I narrowed my eyes. This blade can be used at most 7 times. Although it is merely a low-grade ghost artifact, it should still fetch several thousand Ming coins. Calculating the cost, the profit margin is quite substantial. Thus, throughout that entire night, I exhausted over 7,000 units of energy to refine 3 additional ghost artifacts. As dawn began to break, I steered my luxurious vehicle forward. I drove directly to the ghost artifact trading market in the Saifang district. Pulling up to a random stall along the road, I picked up a ghost artifact bell, examined it for a moment, and remarked, This low-grade ghost artifact can only be used once. It is somewhat shoddy. The stall owner's eyes widened as he bellowed, "You brat, do you even know how to appraise goods?" Although this ghost artifact can only be used once, it is still a fine piece. In that case, what is the price for this item? The stall owner looked at me with disdain and replied, 3,000 Ming coins. I was somewhat stunned. Even such a dilapidated piece could sell for 3,000 Ming coins. Thus, I probed further. Then what is the approximate price for a ghost artifact that can be used 6 times? The stall owner looked at me as if I were a fool and shouted directly into my face, "You brat, you lack the most basic knowledge. How could a ghost artifact capable of 6 uses, already considered a rare treasure, possibly appear in this common market?" So it turns out that the higher the number of uses, the more astronomically the value of a ghost artifact rises. The most valuable ghost artifact ever sold in this Sifang district was at best a type that could be used 3 times. Through this conversation with the stall owner, I finally grasped the situation. The ghost artifact capable of 7 uses that I had refined myself would certainly sell for a lucrative price. With this in mind, I took out a short sword and presented it to the stall owner. "Take a look and see how much this ghost artifact can sell for." The stall owner immediately stared, wide-eyed, at the short sword. "This ghost artifact of yours, it can actually be used 7 times?" I asked. "Can you sell it for me?" He replied, "Little brother, you think too highly of me. I don't have enough capital to purchase such a treasure. However, I can help you call out to the crowd." Seeing me nod in agreement, the stall owner immediately craned his neck and shouted, "A brand new ghost artifact, capable of 7 uses. Is there anyone interested in purchasing it?" Before 10 seconds had passed, I was surrounded by a surging crowd that pressed in on me. "Can this ghost artifact truly be used 7 times? You aren't trying to deceive us, are you? I have never even heard of a ghost artifact that could be used 7 times. The stall owner returned the short sword to me and gestured with his chin, saying, "Little brother, the crowd has arrived for you." I raised the short sword high so everyone could see it. Raising my voice, I said, "This low-grade ghost artifact can indeed be used 7 times. At that precise moment, someone suddenly interrupted. "You brat, you call this peerless ghost artifact a low-grade one? This must be a supreme-grade ghost artifact." I was left speechless. I retorted, "You call this disposable scrap restricted by a limited number of uses a supreme-grade ghost artifact? Then what of a ghost artifact that can be used indefinitely?" Everyone present gasped in unison, drawing in a sharp breath of cold air. Who had ever seen a ghost artifact that could be used eternally? That item is undoubtedly a treasure beyond measure. Observing the crowd of gossiping individuals before me, I immediately realized that these people had absolutely no concept of a spirit weapon that could be used perpetually. Thus, I steered the conversation back to the subject of price. "So how much is this spirit weapon worth in the end? A peerless item of this quality is yours to price as you see fit." I estimated it could fetch around 2 to 3,000. Hearing this, I was overjoyed. I never expected that such a low-tier spirit weapon could command such a staggering price. I cleared my throat and loudly asked if anyone wished to purchase this spirit weapon. However, not a single soul responded. It was not that they did not want to buy it, but rather that they were simply too poor. Just as I thought that no one present had the funds to afford it, a woman dressed in gray silk slowly approached. "At what price do you intend to sell this spirit weapon?" Looking at the woman who exuded an extraordinary aura before me, I calmly replied, 32,000. The woman in the gray silk, Hongnan Huan, agreed readily. My first reaction was to realize this lady was quite wealthy. I never imagined she would be affluent enough to pay 32,000 Underworld coins without even a hint of haggling. Just then, a blue-haired man interjected, "I also wish to purchase this spirit weapon." Hongnan Huan frowned upon hearing this. "Zhao Xiaoqiang, what is the meaning of this?" "It carries no special meaning. I simply have an interest in purchasing this spirit weapon as well. Moreover, for a peak-grade spirit weapon of this caliber, whoever pays more should own it." She immediately retorted in anger, "I have already finalized the price." Xiao Xiaoqiang bluntly interrupted, "But you have yet to pay. Then the transaction is not complete. I offer 33,000 Underworld coins." Hongnan Huan's expression darkened as she heard this. She realized that she could not outbid Zhao Xiaoqiang, so she had no choice but to concede. Just as she turned to depart, I stepped forward in haste. "Wait, do not be in such a rush. I value my integrity and business above all else. Since I promised to sell the spirit weapon to you, I will not go back on my word. Hand over the 32,000 Underworld coins, and this spirit weapon is yours." As I spoke, I extended the blade toward Hongnan Huan. Hongnan Huan was caught off guard. She had not expected there to be someone in this world with such high moral character. She hurriedly produced the 32,000 Underworld coins and handed them directly to me. Zhao Xiaoxiang saw that the deal was sealed and a look of clear disappointment appeared on his face. He prepared to leave to look at other stalls, but I quickly called out to stop him. "Brother, since your spirit weapon has already been sold, I must naturally depart." I sneered and replied, "Hold your haste. I still have another spirit weapon right here." Everyone present was once again left speechless. There was yet another peak-grade spirit weapon? This fellow was clearly intrigued, his eyes fixed intently upon the longsword hanging at my waist. He spoke up asking of my intentions, to which I hastily waved my hand to respond. "It is not this item, but rather these shears." As I spoke, I withdrew a ghost artifact shaped like a pair of shears. Xiao Qiang carefully appraised the shears before him, then smiled, saying, "Is this ghost artifact also of the peak grade? So long as it is of peak grade, I shall purchase it." I smiled and patted my chest in assurance. Naturally, this ghost artifact is identical to the one sold just moments ago. It too can be utilized 7 times. Xiao Xiao Qiang remained somewhat skeptical, but the moment he held the shears in his hand, all doubt vanished from his heart. Indeed, it is a peak-grade ghost artifact capable of 7 uses. He then opened his mouth to ask, then, what is the price for this ghost artifact? It is also 30,000 Underworld coins. Upon hearing this, Xiao Xiao Xiang readily produced 32,000 Underworld coins without hesitation. Hong Dahuan, standing nearby, watched this scene and her expression darkened instantly. She had originally thought herself fortunate to have encountered a profitable business opportunity, yet here she was. Such a loss of face. Resentful, she turned to depart. Little did she expect me to continue. Do you wish to purchase more peak-grade ghost artifacts? I have more right here. Hong Nanhuan turned her head in astonishment. Just as she saw me withdraw yet another, she wondered where on earth this fellow had unearthed so many peak-grade ghost artifacts. However, her own purse had already been exhausted. Thus, she could only shake her head. I then turned toward Zhao Xiaoqiang with an expectant look and asked, would you like to take this ghost artifact? Zhao Xiaoqiang hesitated for a moment but ultimately declined with tact. It was not that he found the goods lacking, but his remaining Underworld coins were insufficient. Seeing this, I turned to call out to the crowd gathering around us. Is there anyone who wishes to? But I waited for quite some time and not a single soul responded. It seemed today's business had reached its end. Thus, I resignedly put away the ghost artifact. I strolled leisurely toward the ghost trading district, where I activated my ghost eye skill to appraise the various items. Suddenly, my gaze was drawn to an ordinary grade. This fearless technique, once activated, allows spirits to overcome their innate terror. I gazed in utter astonishment at the system notifications materializing before my eyes. This spirit technique is truly beyond comprehension. One must understand that spirits possess an instinctual deep-seated fear of sunlight. Even the most common of spirits would never dare show their faces in the daylight. Even those of higher power only dare to emerge in the deepest, most secluded shadows. Just then, a young girl spoke up, "Sir, would you like to purchase this?" Before I could even frame my response, the stall owner beside her interjected, "That is merely a common-grade spirit. It serves no purpose. If you wish to see spirits of quality, look at my stall," he added, sneering at her wares. The young girl lowered her head, helpless and dejected. She was well aware that this spirit was of the lowest rank and possessed very little actual value. Ignoring the merchant's insults, I turned to the young girl, who stood there in disbelief, wondering if she had heard me correctly. She stared at me in a daze, so I simply produced 1,000 Underworld coins and handed them to her. The girl trembled, overcome with sudden intense agitation. "This is more than enough," she stammered. Once the transaction was settled, I reached out toward the spirit and immediately bound it to my service. I then drove back to the luxurious villa prepared by Shan Yun, and the moment I stepped inside, I could no longer contain my impatience. I approached the entity and gently placed my hand upon its head. Invoking the spirit suppression tome, I easily subjugated the creature. Ding! Congratulations, you have acquired a new spirit technique. With this technique at my disposal, I can summon or dismiss spirits at will at any time. At that very moment, the underworld emissary Li Jie suddenly manifested within my room. "My lord of the underworld, you summoned me?" I nodded slightly and gestured for him to approach. "I shall assist you in healing your wounds," I said, ignoring his claim that rest would suffice. Without further discourse, I withdrew 10,000 Underworld coins, converted them into pure Underworld energy, and slowly channeled the essence into his body. Within moments, Li Jie's injuries were completely healed. "Many thanks, my lord, for your benevolence." I waved my hand dismissively and replied, "There is no need for such formalities. Remain here for the next few days. I may have tasks for you," I added. He bowed respectfully, accepting the command. "This subordinate awaits your instructions," he said before taking his leave. Just then, my phone suddenly began to ring. The moment I answered the call, a voice echoed from the other end. "Brother, the group that came near the ancestral hall to sell ghosts a while back will be returning in about a week. If you intend to find them, you should make your preparations as thoroughly as possible." Hearing this, I immediately became alert. Since they are a group that specializes in capturing ghosts, I must proceed with the utmost caution. I truly wish to see which character is bold and audacious enough to linger for days, daring to capture the ghost. My phone suddenly interrupted. As it rang once more, it was Li Bingyan calling. As soon as I answered, Li Bingyan's voice came through. "Please, spare some time tomorrow to visit the headquarters of the Ghost Suppression Society. I have a matter that I must trouble you with." I agreed readily and without hesitation. I presumed she intended to entrust me with another ghost-hunting mission. It seemed the time had come for me to elevate my own strength. I promptly summoned Shen Qi, who asked with a smile, "My lord, you have summoned your subordinate." I replied, "I intend to upgrade your strength." Following that, I immediately produced 20,000 nether coins. With a loud boom, those nether coins vanished in an instant, and waves of dense nether chi surged continuously into Shen Qi's body, causing her to suddenly let out a piercing, bone-chilling scream. I watched as her eye sockets gradually turned a burning crimson, and the color of her body deepened, clearly sensing that she had successfully promoted to the nightmare rank. She immediately clasped her hands together in respectful gratitude. "Many thanks, my lord, for the cultivation," she said, as I pondered for a moment before giving my instructions. "From now on, you need not remain confined within the ghost suppression seal. Stay by my side." Shenji nodded, deeply moved, and accepted the command. This served as proof that her status in the eyes of her master had been elevated. Not long after, I summoned Shu Hang out, once again bringing forth another 20,000 nether coins. Repeating the exact same process as before, Chu Hong's physical form gradually solidified. Chu Heng clenched his fists in excitement, realizing he had successfully promoted to the nightmare rank. Shortly after, he also clasped his hands in gratitude. "Many thanks, my lord, for the cultivation." I gave a calm nod and said, "From now on you shall also remain by my side, awaiting my commands at all times." The following day, I honored the appointment as promised. As soon as Li Bingyan saw me, she stepped forward and pulled out a business card. This is the business card that confirms your identity within the Ghost Suppression Society. With this card in your possession, regardless of the trouble you may encounter, you will be able to. I nodded slightly as I accepted the card and opened my mouth to ask, "You called me here for what reason?" Li Bingyan replied with a touch of embarrassment, "That premium-grade ghost chi, do you still have any left?" It turns out that the news of me selling supreme-grade ghost artifacts at the Saifang Pavilion yesterday had already spread like wildfire throughout the circle of ghost controllers. I felt immensely satisfied as I drew a small ghost artifact dagger and held it out before Li Bingyan, saying, "Although we are acquaintances, does Ming currency, DM, feel the true lethality of this ghost artifact?" She smiled, produced a thick stack of Ming currency, and pressed it into my hand, replying, "I will pay 35,000 Ming currency." I reached out and accepted the payment, then spoke, "If you have any friends who wish to purchase supreme-grade ghost artifacts." Li Bingyan frowned slightly, wondering to herself, could it be that this fellow still possesses more supreme-grade ghost artifacts of this caliber? At that moment, a man dressed in a crisp suit suddenly pushed open the door and stepped inside. Seeing this, Li Bingyan turned to me and said, "There is nothing else, sir, you may." Just as I turned to leave, I was blocked by him. "Do not be in such a rush to depart. I have a question to ask." Li Bingyan furrowed her brow tightly and interjected, "Chu Hanlin, he is a friend of mine. I am not here to cause trouble for this young brother. I simply wish to ask him if he has any more ghost artifacts." Chu Hanlin abruptly cut her off, then turned his gaze toward me, his eyes burning with greed. I reached out and pulled out another ghost artifact, this one shaped like a silver needle. When Chu Hanlin saw that I had indeed produced another supreme-grade ghost artifact, he immediately reached out to snatch it away. After examining it for a moment, he clicked his tongue in repeated admiration. "This is indeed." With that, he nonchalantly tucked the ghost artifact away. I spoke up softly to remind him 32,000. Shu Hanlin offered a cold laugh and remarked, "I know." He then turned to leave immediately. I reached out to block his path, once again speaking in a stern, gravelly tone to remind him, 32,000 Ming currency. Chu Hanlin, seeing that I seemed to lack proper manners, withdrew his smile and growled, "Young brother, consider this ghost artifact a gift to me. In the future I will." I flatly refused. "Either you hand over the money, or else you shall return that ghost artifact immediately." Su Hanlin furrowed his brows, his face revealing an expression of deep irritation. "Mo Lin, we are all members of the Ghost Society. Let us be allies," Dong Zhou replied, shaking his head in refusal. Su Hailin prepared to unleash his arrogance. "Little brother, you refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit." Su Helen immediately summoned his contracted ghost. Instantly, that ghost lunged forward, his murderous tent locking onto my vital energy. "Consider this ghost energy a gift. Let us settle this as friends." Before he could finish his threats, a female ghost in red robes appeared abruptly, raised her hand, and delivered a slap that sent the ghost flying, causing the entire building to tremble violently. "Who is bold enough to bully my master?" Shen Shi let out a crazed roar. A terrifying pressure descended in an instant, witnessing such a scene. Their hearts felt as though they would leap out of their chests. This was a nightmare rank ghost. She looked toward Su Hanlin in panic, let out a cold snort, and retreated backward. Having no such intentions, Shenji lunged forward and grabbed her tightly. Su Helen was utterly powerless. He could not resist. The disparity in strength between the two sides was simply too great. The others in the Ghost Society heard the commotion and surged forward one after another. But when they saw clearly that the creature before them was a nightmare-rank ghost, no one could compose themselves. In the very next moment, a surge of black energy descended, eclipsing the sky. Their bodies froze in unison. They felt a freezing iron chain tighten around each of their necks. Following the path of the iron chains, it appeared there was yet another high-rank ghost. It turned out that Su Hong had also made his move. And in that very moment when Su Hong acted, he had easily taken control of the lives of everyone present. Even Li Bingyan felt a chill run down her spine. One must know that a single nightmare-rank ghost is capable of slaughtering an entire city. And I possess 2 nightmare-rank ghosts. At the very least, no one in this entire Yunchuan city can stand against me. Su Hanlin stood completely stunned. What kind of situation is this? Since when have nightmare-rank ghosts become as common as cabbages? At this moment, Shenji spoke, "Shall I slaughter everyone here?" As the words left her lips, everyone present gasped in terror. Why is this nightmare-rank ghost so bloodthirsty? Su Hanlin's heart trembled. He had no desire to perish here. Thus, he hurriedly offered his apologies. "Brother, my deepest apologies. I will provide the yin currency. I shall pay for this ghost chi." I heard his plea and waved my hand, signaling for him to be released. Shenshi immediately let go, and Su Hanlin crashed heavily to the ground. Yet he did not even concern himself with his injuries, instantly retrieving 32,000 in yin currency to present to me. "Brother, we were truly reckless earlier. I sincerely apologize." His demeanor was as submissive and respectful as it could possibly be. Seeing this, Shenji intended to retreat behind me, but she accidentally brushed against my hair. She started in shock and fell to her knees, crying out, "My lord, forgive me! I did not mean to offend you." The surrounding crowd was stunned. How could a nightmare-level ghost be so servile? What manner of technique had this man employed? Li Bingyan swallowed hard. Just how exactly had Mo Lin trained a nightmare-level ghost to behave in such a manner? Ignoring the reactions of those around me, I spoke with indifference. "It is of no consequence. Depart." Upon hearing this, Shenji breathed a sigh of relief, then vanished alongside Su Hanlin. Seeing this, Su Hanlin hastily fabricated an excuse. "Master, I have truly offended you today. My wife has fallen ill, and I must tend to her. If there is nothing else, I shall take my leave." With that, he fled in a state of panic. Li Bingyan then barked at the onlookers, "Return to your own affairs." Once the crowd had dispersed, Li Bingyan spoke up. "Were those two spirits the extent of your true strength?" I replied nonchalantly, "No, those two are merely a minor fraction of my total power." Li Bingyan was so shocked that her jaw went slack. This was merely a minor fraction? Could it be that Mo Lin possesses spirits even more formidable than the nightmare level? It was fortunate indeed that she had recruited him into the Ghost Taming Society and avoided becoming his enemy. Li Bingyan then cautiously asked, "Would you still be willing to accept minor ghost-catching missions?" I smiled, saying naturally, "Whether or not a mission yields rewards is of little importance to me. What matters is the hunt itself. Capturing spirits that possess unique ghost techniques is what truly matters." Hearing this, Li Bingyan pulled out her phone. "Then I shall add you to the Yunchuan Ghost Tamer group. Missions are posted there from time to time. If you find one that suits your interests, you may accept it." The moment I entered the group, a message caught my eye. Third-level ghost tamer Yun Ling is in danger at the western suburbs. Is anyone in the vicinity of the west suburbs? Please, come and provide assistance immediately. I rubbed my chin in thought. It was broad daylight, so how could there be any danger? Li Bingyan noticed me reading the group message and probed, "Mr. Mo, perhaps you could go there yourself?" I nodded and readily agreed, but as I turned to leave, I realized I should ask the Spirit Control Agency for help in gathering information. I turned back and asked, "Help me investigate the whereabouts of a spirit named Zichongqingro." Li Bingyan replied in surprise, "Is the spirit Zichongqingro not already dissipated?" This statement struck me like a bolt of lightning. It hit my heart with immense force. Dissipated? What do you mean? How could she have dissipated? I rushed forward and asked agitatedly. Startled by my sudden movement, Li Bingyan spoke in haste. "A year ago she came to our Spirit Control Agency seeking help, but the high-level leaders of the agency could not reach an agreement and refused her, after which we heard no further news of her. I assumed she had perished. I pressed her urgently. Why did she seek out the Spirit Control Agency? What kind of trouble did she encounter?" Li Bingyan explained reluctantly, "This matter is quite extensive. I only know a little. It seems she was driven into a corner by the spirits of the Ghost Realm and sought the protection of the agency." Hearing the words Ghost Realm caused me to grit my teeth in hatred for the Underworld. The Aduo spirits and the spirits of the Ghost Realm are mortal enemies. Now, even in the human realm, the spirits of the Ghost Realm remain like lingering ghosts. These spirits are truly deranged. Why must they incessantly plague the Yaduo spirits instead of leaving us be? If I had already attained the strength of a monarch level, I would have gone directly to eradicate these curs. Li Bingyan looked at me in bewilderment as I seethed with anger. At that moment, I spoke again to ask if she was certain that Zichongqingro had truly dissipated. Li Bingyan said tensely, "I am not certain, I only presume that she had dissipated. I shall investigate the information regarding Zichongqingro for you immediately. Once I have news, I will notify you." I nodded and said, "Once you have gathered information on Zichong." Afterward, I departed and drove toward the school where Yun Ling was located in the west suburbs. Upon entering the school grounds, I could see from a distance that a group of people had surrounded Yun Ling. I could faintly hear the sound of Yun Ling gritting her teeth in frustration. "I caught this ghost. By what right should I hand it over to you?" she retorted to a thick-skinned, shameless, obese man. "We had already set our sights on this ghost long ago," he replied. "It is only because you were quick-handed and captured it a step ahead of us. This is our prey. You would be wise to hand over the spirit at once." It appeared that a peaceful resolution would not be possible today. Her eyes scanned the surroundings. She had sent a distress signal to the group earlier. Surely someone would arrive soon. When she caught sight of me, her face lit up with relief. Ignoring the others, I walked straight to Yunling and asked directly, "What is the meaning of this?" "They are members of the Zilong Society. I captured a ghost yesterday, and they are attempting to steal it from me." I asked with a hint of confusion, "What exactly is the Zilong Society?" "The Zilong Society is similar to our Ghost Suppression Society. They are both government-affiliated, though the Zilong Society primarily handles trivial matters." After finishing her explanation, Yun Ling looked behind me and asked, "Where are the others?" I replied calmly, "There are no others. I came alone." Yun Ling was immediately seized by panic. If only Mo Lin had come. How was this any different from no one coming at all? Seeing this, Fu Hu burst into laughter, his voice sounding like a squealing pig. "Yun Ling, did you call him here just to get beaten up?" Yun Ling gritted her teeth, let out a cold snort, and turned to signal me, urging me to flee. I paid no heed to Yun Ling and looked toward our opponents. There were only 3 second-level ghost suppressors and 4 first-level ghost suppressors. Puzzled, I looked at Yunling and asked, "You are a third-level ghost suppressor. Why are you afraid of these people?" Before Yunling could answer, Fuhu stood opposite us, pointed smugly at the sun hanging high in the sky, and declared, "So what if she is a third-level ghost suppressor? No matter how formidable she is, she cannot summon a ghost under the glare of the sun." Yunling's eyes blazed with fury. If not for the fact that ghosts could not manifest under the sunlight, she would have long since summoned her contracted spirit to teach Fuhu and his group a lesson. I finally understood and gave a slight nod. "Leave this to me." Fuhu laughed with disdain. "You arrogant brat, do you intend to stand against all of us alone?" I merely flicked my hand and spoke coldly. Ghost technique. In an instant, an iron chain manifested out of thin air and slammed violently into Fuhu. A wretched shriek, like a pig being slaughtered, echoed throughout the square. The men behind Fuhu were so terrified by this sight that they retreated continuously. Yunling stared at the scene, her expression one of utter disbelief. How could he possibly utilize a ghost technique under the sunlight? Even I am unable to use such abilities under the glare of the sun. However, I have just acquired an incredibly deviant and powerful ghost technique. Once activated, it allows ghosts to ignore the sunlight and move freely during the day. But to deal with these mere lackeys, there is no need to summon spirits. Simply using the technique is enough. With that, I swung the chain again, striking Fuhu with tremendous force. The excruciating pain caused him to writhe and roll upon the ground in agony. I spoke to the remaining men in a frigid tone. "Is there anyone else who wishes to block my path?" Seeing that no one dared to speak, I escorted Yunling away from the school immediately. After we parted ways, Yunling intended to drive home. Yet, I had been circling this road for over an hour, and surely I must have been waylaid by a spirit. As I stepped out of the vehicle, I found myself surrounded by bleached bones. There was no road here, only mounds of earth. Just when did I enter such an environment? I quickly detected a trace of ghostly aura in the air. Following the trail of this aura, I had not traveled far when I heard the sound of terrifying muffled sobbing. I looked toward the direction of the noise and saw a woman crouching beside a large boulder. Perhaps she heard my footsteps, for she slowly turned her head, and I was startled by the sight. Heavens, she was hideous. Instinctively, I drew my long sword and pointed it at the creature before me. "Why do you block my path?" The ghost muttered, "Return my child. You took my child, and I shall make you pay the price." Finished speaking, she prepared to strike, but in the next second, she froze in place. "Lord Ma Lin," she whispered, leaving me somewhat stunned. This ghost before me knew my name. She must have been an acquaintance. I was not wearing my official Yin official attire, so unless she knew me, no ghost could possibly address me as Lord. The female ghost hurriedly spoke. "It is I, Yin Xiaohua. Do you still remember the affair of the ghost mother?" I suddenly reacted. "It is you?" As it turned out, when I was in the underworld practicing the 5 organs ghost technique, the very first spirit I subdued was the ghost mother. Because the ghost mother was unique, I could only subdue her at the time thanks to the assistance of Yin Xiaohua. I asked with great suspicion, "Knowing it is me, why would you deliberately block my path?" Yin Xiaohua looked around as she spoke. "No, perhaps it is because my resentment is so profound that it has altered the surrounding environment, inadvertently blocking the path." She then sobbed uncontrollably, saying, "My lord, you must help me. My child has been abducted by a group of strangers and I cannot find them." And Xiaohua was clearly afraid that I would refuse. "Master Malin, as long as you are willing to assist me, I vow to repay you 100-fold. I pondered for a moment before replying, "I can agree to help you find your child, but you must sign a contract of submission with me." And Xiaohua could not wait any longer. She replied, "As long as you help me find my child, even if it means my soul will be scattered to the winds." I nodded and said, "Then follow me." Upon hearing this, Xiaohua transformed into a gray mist and merged into the longsword in my hand. Afterwards, I opened my phone and sent a message in the group chat. "Does anyone here possess extensive information? I have some inquiries regarding ghosts." Very quickly, a person named Feng Mingyu replied to me. "Are you looking to capture a ghost or purchase one? Let us add each other privately to discuss this." Thus, I added Feng Mingyu as a contact and sent a message. "Greetings, I am looking for a ghost child that has been abducted." The other party responded promptly. "Come to the Wanling technician tonight to meet me. I will take you to find them." After that, I put away my phone. I drove back home first. Upon entering, Li Shui said, "My lord, after you left, someone snuck in here." I asked with a displeased expression, "Do you know who they were?" Li Shui immediately replied, "I have left a scent on the intruder. Shall I go and investigate for you?" I nodded and said, "Go and discover who they are. Be careful. If they are connected to the ghost realm, you must ensure your own safety above all else." Li Shui nodded in agreement and departed. By 7 p.m., I drove to the Wanling technician to meet the person. I asked directly, "Can you help me find that ghost child?" Feng Mingyu smiled and said, "You have come to the right person for this matter. I will take you to meet my uncle. He is very well informed. As long as it is within Yunchuan, there is nothing he cannot uncover." The black market hidden beneath the technician's district. Just then a man brushed past me and collided with my arm. I was at a loss for words. The path was wide enough for many, yet he still managed to bump into me. However, in the very next second, my instincts kicked in. I hurriedly checked the pocket of my robe. It was only then that I discovered the 10,000 yin coins I carried had vanished without a trace. It was certain that the individual from moments ago had stolen them. Seeing that I had stopped walking, Feng Mingyu turned her head and asked, "What is the matter?" I looked in the direction where the man had fled. I spoke in a low voice. My yin coins were stolen. I must retrieve them. Before she could respond, I marched directly toward the path where the thief had disappeared. Mingyu hurriedly gave chase behind me. Do not pursue him. Those who dare to steal in this place, she warned. Surely have powerful backers. You will not be able to get your money back. I paid no heed to Feng Mingyu's advice. I continued straight ahead, quickly passing an intersection, and saw the man from earlier dash into a small house. I followed him to the threshold of this house, where a group of people had gathered, glaring at me with aggressive intent. The thief from moments ago stood brazenly at the back of the room. In one hand, he was waving around the 10,000 yin coins that rightfully belonged to me. Just as I prepared to step inside, a man clad in black blocked my path. Boy, what do you think you are doing? I pointed toward the thief inside and said calmly, the man inside has stolen my yin coins. The man heard this and immediately grew displeased. Who are you calling a thief? Watch your tongue, boy, you will pay the price for slandering others. No sooner had he finished speaking than the others in the hall began to close in on me. Observing the situation, it was clear that this was not the first time they had relied on their numbers to bully others. At that same moment, Feng Mingyu arrived, just in time to see me facing off against the crowd. Fearing the worst, she hurriedly attempted to smooth things over with a smile. My apologies. My friend is new to the black market and does not understand the rules. I hope you brothers will not take offense. The man in black showed no respect, laughing with a menacing tone. If he is your friend, why did you not keep him on a leash? This is the territory of the Sun Clan. Are you aware of the consequences of offending us? Feng Mingyu apologized repeatedly. I am aware. I will take my friend away at once. Feng Mingyu spoke and attempted to pull me away, but she could not budge me, only hearing me say my yin coins were stolen by these people. Feng Mingyu whispered a reminder. This is the territory of Sun Tao. He is a rank 4 ghost controller. Stop causing trouble. Let us leave immediately. Yet I acted as if I heard nothing, maintaining my cold gaze upon this group. The man dressed in black immediately summoned his contracted ghost. The others in the hall, seeing this, proceeded to summon their own contracted ghosts one after another. Seeing that these people did not know their place, I said to Feng Mingyu, I will settle this in 10 minutes. Seeing that I was preparing to fight, Feng Mingyu had no choice but to hurriedly take out her phone and call for help in the group chat. Help! Mo Lin is in trouble at the black market. Yunling saw the message in the group and immediately asked, what kind of trouble? How did this happen? Feng Mingyu replied hurriedly, the 10,000 yin coins he brought were stolen by the people from the Sun family. Mo Lin intends to fight them. Come quickly, I am afraid Mo Lin will lose his life here. Yunling replied urgently. What? Isn't the Sun family a rank 4 ghost controller? Hurry and persuade Mo Lin not to act recklessly. Feng Mingyu was on the verge of tears, replying hastily, it is impossible to persuade him at all. Are ghost controllers nowadays also reckless? Ling Shi, seeing this, also quickly replied, how did you offend the Sun family? I am on my way. Yunling felt a sense of relief upon seeing Ling Shi's message. Yes, Ling Shi, you know the Sun family. Please hurry over and put in a good word for him. Feng Mingyu also replied anxiously, come quickly. If you arrive too late, you might only be able to collect Mo Lin's corpse. At that very moment, the contracted ghosts of that group lunged toward me. Seeing this scene, Feng Mingyu gritted her teeth, preparing to forcibly drag me away. Suddenly, a miserable shriek echoed through the air, followed immediately by a series of successive ghostly cries. Feng Mingyu looked on in shock as the ghosts surrounding me seemed to have encountered a natural predator, fleeing in terror. Feng Mingyu rubbed her eyes, only then becoming certain that she had not misread the situation. These ghosts were truly fearful. She even witnessed 3 ghosts being sliced in half in the blink of an eye, vanishing into thin air, leaving only the sight of my right hand wielding a sword. One swing for every ghost, my movements were as fluid as flowing water. Thus, in less than 20 seconds, more than half of the 20+ contracted ghosts were dead. Feng Mingyu stared at the longsword in my hand, muttering to herself, what kind of ghost weapon is this? Just then, a man suddenly appeared behind me, lunging toward me with a spiral-shaped ghost weapon. Just as Feng Mingyu braced herself for my injury, she saw me swing my longsword in one swift motion. With a crisp sound, the arm of the man wielding the ghost energy was instantly severed. After disposing of all the ghost contracts, one remained, hovering in midair. The ghost technique of this spirit was quite intriguing. Wishing to tame it, I refrained from delivering the killing blow. Sensing the shift in the tides, the ghost contract attempted to flee back to its master. But with a simple raise of my hand, I suppressed it and sealed it within the ghost suppression tome. Ding! Congratulations, you have obtained a ghost technique. Instant transmission. Upon activation, the user can instantly appear at the furthest point within their line of sight. At that same moment, a man realized he had lost his connection to the ghost contract and bellowed at me. By what right do you seize my ghost contract? Return my ghost contract to me. With a single kick, I sent him flying, then addressed the others. Does anyone else have a grievance? Step forward. Silence descended upon the scene. Not a single person dared to speak. Feng Mingyu felt her mind go blank. How could it be this absurd? She had anticipated many dire outcomes, but she never imagined he would single-handedly slaughter over 20 ghost contracts. Meanwhile, I had already stepped inside the house. The thief, cowering in the corner, was drained of all color, his earlier arrogance having completely evaporated. Forgive me, big brother. Please spare me. As he spoke, the thief obediently handed over 10,000 Underworld coins. Feng Mingyu, however, was somewhat perplexed. You have single-handedly dismantled the Sun family's territory. It goes without saying that the Sun family is undoubtedly already on their way here. True to her word, shortly thereafter, a middle-aged man appeared at the main entrance. He surveyed the wreckage in the hall, then questioned me with a frigid tone. Boy, what is the meaning of this? I replied with indifference. Your subordinates stole my money. I was merely teaching them a lesson. Sun Tao let out a cold snort. Do you not feel that you have gone too far? No sooner had he finished speaking than I rested my longsword upon Sun Tao's shoulder and smiled. I do not believe I have done anything excessive. My expression then hardened. I am not in a good mood right now, so it would be best for you not to provoke me. Sun Tao raised his hand, intending to snap the sword resting on his shoulder, but at the very moment his hand made contact with the blade, the ghost contract within his body projected. Do not provoke him. You will die. You must never provoke him. She knew this was her terrifying level spirit contract, yet at this moment she felt a sense of dread. Feng Mingyu swallowed hard, her nerves frayed. Mo Lin was truly ferocious. He feared no one. He faced the rank 4 spirit controller without a shred of fear. He even dared to provoke them, and just when Feng Mingyu thought a battle was inevitable, Sun Dao offered a sycophantic. You have not gone too far. It is they who are in the wrong. I sheathed my long sword and spoke coldly. Keep your people in check. If there is a next time, I will not hesitate to teach you a lesson as well. Sun Dao replied, I understand, his demeanor devoid of the slightest hint of anger. A subordinate standing nearby could no longer endure it. He stepped forward to remind him, Young Master Sun, this brat destroyed our shop and obliterated the spirit contracts of our brothers. Are we simply going to let this go? Sun Tao immediately backhanded the subordinate, then asked, Feng Mingyu, this is the black market. Surely killing someone here carries no consequences, right? Feng Mingyu hurriedly replied, there is no need for that. Sun Tao broke into a cold sweat on his own behalf. It was clear that these words were meant for her ears. If she truly took any reckless action, someone would certainly die here today. Seeing the Sun family being so sensible, I led the bewildered Feng Mingyu away. Feng Mingyu hurriedly opened the chat group of the Yunchuan Spirit Controller Association. She saw messages flooding in as everyone asked about the situation. Feng Mingyu hurriedly tagged Ling Shi. There is no need to come. The matter has already been resolved. Was Mo Lin the one who was dealt with? Has Mo Lin been killed? Did the Sun family make their move? The group was once again flooded with a barrage of questions. Feng Mingyu let out a wry smile and hurriedly typed into the group, he is fine. That old man from the Sun family did not even dare to trouble Mo Lin. Mo Lin single-handedly crushed the Sun family's shop. It was truly impressive. He is simply peerless. Even the Sun family does not dare to provoke him. After sending these words, she ceased checking the messages and put her phone away. She then gestured toward the long sword at my waist and asked with suspicion, Mo, what level is this ghostly aura of yours? I did not answer. Matters regarding nether energy are not meant to be discussed with those of the living realm. Seeing that I did not wish to reply, Feng Mingyu understood the unspoken boundary and promptly changed the subject. Is your spirit contract also of the terror level? I shook my head and said, it is not. Feng Mingyu covered her mouth in astonishment. Could it be a malicious level spirit? I did not confirm her assumption directly, but instead urged her, enough, stop prying. Are you not here to help me investigate this intelligence? Feng Mingyu snapped out of her shock and replied, yes, you are right. Before long, the two of us arrived at a nameless tavern. Inside the establishment, an old man sat in waiting. Feng Mingyu pointed to the man and said to me, this person is my uncle. Lu Feng stopped what he was doing, looked up and smiled, Mingyu, you have arrived. It has been a long time. How have you been lately? Feng Mingyu replied, I have been well. She then introduced me, this is my friend. Upon hearing my name, Mo Lin, Lu Feng studied me with a discerning gaze. I know who you are, young man. Just days ago, you caused quite a stir at the Shan residence, and yesterday, you nearly turned the Spirit Control Society's headquarters upside down. Furthermore, your name has surfaced recently, linked to the sale of several high-grade, ghostly artifacts. Upon hearing these words from Lu Feng, I immediately realized that the intelligence network possessed by Feng Mingyu's uncle was truly formidable. Lu Feng spoke again. What is your business with me? I intend to go straight to the point. I am here to inquire about who captured a young ghost some time ago. Upon hearing this, Lu Feng produced a notebook and said, let me check for you. As he spoke, he began flipping through the pages in haste. Moments later, he quickly located the information I required, then transcribed the details onto a slip of paper and passed it over, saying, the information you seek is written here. It will be 1,000 Underworld coins, non-negotiable. I did not hesitate. I produced 1,000 Underworld coins and handed them over. I then accepted the paper and unfolded it. I saw that it was written there that the young ghost had been captured by a disciple of the Qi Dao Pavilion. Seeing that our transaction was complete, Feng Mingyu said, my uncle's information is highly accurate. Any intelligence he provides is guaranteed to be authentic. I nodded and asked, where is the Qi Dao Pavilion? What kind of place is it? The pupils of Feng Mingwu suddenly contracted as he exclaimed in shock, my ancestors, you aren't planning to go to Qi Dao Temple to stir up trouble, are you? I replied helplessly, it is not to stir up trouble, I simply intend to retrieve a few items. Feng Mingwu clearly did not believe me, pouting slightly as he said, Qi Dao Temple holds a very high status in Yunchuan. There are two major Taoist temples in Yunchuan. The first is Jingsa Hall and the second is Qi Dao Temple. Jingsa Hall houses ghost tamers and Taoist priests, while Qi Dao Temple consists entirely of Taoist priests numbering more than a dozen. I rubbed my chin in contemplation as I had never interacted with such priests before, yet my own master back in the mortal realm was a heavenly master revered by all, and he also belonged to a lineage of the Taoist faith. Seeing that I remained silent and lost in thought, spoke up again. Qidao Temple practices Orthodox Taoism. They possess professional techniques for subduing ghosts, and their primary income comes from exorcism services, though they occasionally dabble in minor affairs, such as selling ghosts or similar matters. I nodded and said, "Very well, I understand," before turning to leave. Feng Mingwu watched my retreating figure, feeling utterly helpless. It was clear that Mo Lin had not taken his words to heart at all. After a moment of hesitation, Feng Mingwu followed behind me. He feared that the situation would become impossible to rectify if he stayed behind. When I arrived at the main gate of Qidao Temple, I had not yet made a single move. A young disciple guarding the entrance suddenly screamed in terror. "Senior brother, help me! There is a ghost, a terrifyingly malevolent ghost," he shouted while turning and rushing into the temple. I stood there, bewildered, looking around. There were no ghosts here, only myself. Could the ghost he spoke of be a reference to me? I was deeply confused. When I first returned to the mortal realm, I was mistaken for a ghost, and now it was happening again. Why on earth does this keep occurring? At that very moment, the young man returned, accompanied by a portly senior brother. The portly senior brother shouted as he walked, "Look at your lack of composure. What is there to fear? We are Taoist priests, ghost tamers. For you to be so frightened by a ghost is a disgrace. Do you want to ruin our reputation?" The portly senior brother let out a cold snort, but just as he stepped forward, he gasped. The plump senior brother retreated in terror, shouting at the young man beside him, "Quick, shut the door. Do not let that ghost break through." The young man muttered in response, "Senior brother, I doubt closing the door will be of any use." As it turned out, every disciple of the Gia Temple knew a basic introductory technique known as the spirit observation art. By using this art, they could judge the strength of any ghost they encountered. The plump senior brother had just utilized this technique, and the sheer intensity of the encroaching baleful energy had left him gasping for air. At that very moment, I slowly raised my hand and knocked on the door, asking, "Is anyone there?" The plump senior brother lamented that this ghost was quite polite, yet he continued to tremble violently. It was the first time they had encountered a ghost bold enough to knock on the doors of a Taoist temple. It was akin to a mouse invading a cat's den. Consequently, the plump senior brother roared at the young man beside him, "Go at once and fetch the senior disciple." The senior disciple, who had been resting in his quarters, immediately rose and headed to the front courtyard upon hearing that a ghost had besieged the temple. "What are you all doing? To be reduced to such a state by a single ghost, have you no sense of decorum?" As he approached the door, the plump senior brother whispered a warning, "Senior brother, it truly is a remarkably malevolent ghost." Wan Yu, radiating an air of righteous indignation, bellowed, "Open the doors! If a Taoist fears a ghost, will we not be the laughingstock of the entire world?" Seeing this, the plump senior brother had no choice but to brace himself and open the door, and the very moment I stepped into the courtyard, Wan Yu and the others instinctively recoiled in unison. This was indeed a terrifying ghost, with baleful energy surging into the heavens. Wan Yu even sensed that the entity before them must have suppressed its aura significantly to produce such an effect. Had the creature not restrained its energy, the scene before them would surely have been far more harrowing. By this point, Wan Yu had abandoned all thoughts of subduing the ghost, for he saw not only the overwhelming baleful energy but also the 5 ghosts residing within the entity's own body. He hastily averted his gaze and demanded defiantly, "Why have you come to my Gwiya temple? I spoke clearly. Did you not capture a young ghost several days ago?" Wan Yu nodded in admission. "Indeed, the mother of that young ghost is quite anxious. Can you return the young ghost to me? I am willing to offer you Underworld currency in exchange." Upon hearing this, Wan Yu's complexion turned deathly pale. The ghost before him dared to openly negotiate for a captive, showing no regard for the Gwiya temple, nor for the Taoists who stood before it. I was slightly perplexed. I had spoken a simple request, yet the expressions of these Taoists had twisted as if they had been deeply insulted. Is it not acceptable to offer Underworld currency to settle the matter? And so I spoke again, "Is it possible or not?" Wan Yu's heart skipped a beat. The person before him was clearly threatening him. To be threatened by a demon was humiliating, yet he still issued the order. "Bring out the little demon captured a few days ago." Shortly after, a junior brother brought over a dark gray jar. A talisman was sealed upon the lid. Wan Yu removed it, and a shadowy figure timidly drifted out. This young demon was tiny, appearing no older than a child of 7 or 8. The moment it saw Wan Yu and the others, it instinctively recoiled, shrinking back in fear. Yet, when it caught sight of me, it cried out in astonishment, "Lord Mo?" This address of Lord Mo only served to convince Wan Yu further that I was a demon, and a demon of such standing that this little spirit would rush toward me in gratitude and say, "Thank you, Lord Mo, for saving my life." I then called out aloud, "Yin Xiaohua, come out, I have found your son." Once Yin Xiaohua appeared, she immediately embraced him, her eyes reddening as she chided, "I told you not to wander off. You wouldn't listen, and if Lord Mo had not intervened, these foul Taoists would have surely ensured you did not survive." Having said this, Yin Xiaohua glared fiercely at Wan Yu before returning to my sword with her son. Afterward, I produced 2,000 Underworld coins, handed them to Wan Yu, and turned to leave. Watching my retreating figure, Wan Yu muttered to himself, "This demon actually has a sense of decorum." The stout senior brother spoke up, unwilling to let it go. "Senior brother, are we just going to let this demon walk away? Wan Yu let out a cold snort. Of course not. I must recover the face lost today. Go purchase some talismans. I shall prepare a grand spirit trapping formation and capture this demon myself. Upon hearing this, the stout senior brother bowed respectfully. Senior brother is wise. I departed from the Qidao temple and encountered Feng Mingwu, who had just arrived. Seeing me, he asked in surprise, "Are you unharmed?" I spoke helplessly. "I am perfectly fine. The matter has already been resolved." Feng Mingwu was immensely astonished. It has been resolved just like that? He had assumed Mo Lin would come into conflict with the people at the Qidao temple, but it seemed nothing of the sort had occurred. It appeared he had overthought the situation. Thus Feng Mingwu asked, "Have you eaten yet? Allow me to treat you to a meal." I had been busy throughout the night and was indeed famished. Consequently, I followed Feng Mingwu into a nearby restaurant. As Feng Mingwu stepped into the tavern, his first reaction was to lament, "Why is it so filthy here?" I turned to him and asked, "Are you afraid of ghosts?" Feng Mingwu looked around vigilantly upon hearing this and asked, "What do you mean? Are there ghosts here?" He then realized something, puffed out his chest, and declared, "I am a ghost controller. I do not fear ghosts." I nodded and replied, "As long as you are not afraid of ghosts, that is good. We have arrived at a ghost's nest." The moment I finished speaking, a dozen ferocious level ghosts immediately materialized within the tavern. Feng Mingwu instinctively drew closer to me. I looked back at him, puzzled, and asked, "Are you not supposed to be unafraid of ghosts?" Hearing this, Feng Mingwu puffed out his chest again and said, "Of course I am not afraid." However, the moment he laid eyes on a female ghost with disheveled hair, his mind was suddenly flooded with memories that did not belong to him, memories of gruesome deaths. A second later, unable to withstand this violent mental assault, he vomited all over the floor. This was a nightmare-level ghost. We were done for. This time we were truly finished. Just then I pulled him behind me with one hand. The spot where Feng Mingwu had been standing a moment ago was now a deep crater. It turned out that the nightmare-level ghost had launched an attack without us even noticing. At the same time, the tavern transformed into an open-air graveyard, with corpses crawling out from their tombs. Feng Mingwu could even smell the overwhelming stench of decay. I explained to Feng Mingwu, "Do not panic. These are all illusions. They must be the ghost arts of that creature." Feng Mingwu insisted. "I know, I am not afraid," I replied helplessly. "If you are not afraid, why are you clutching my robes? My sleeve has been pulled nearly to pieces by you." Feng Mingwu stepped back in embarrassment, but at that instant a rotting corpse lunged directly toward him. Just as he was about to summon his contracted ghost, I hurriedly stepped in to stop him. "Do not summon your contracted ghost. If it appears out here, it will be devoured. If you are too afraid, just close your eyes." And so Feng Mingwu obeyed, shutting his eyes tight and pressing himself against my back, not daring to move an inch. The ghost saw that Feng Mingwu refused to summon his contract and roared in fury. I then activated my ghost eye, known as Hongye. By utilizing the very things one fears most deep within their heart, one can manifest illusions capable of terrorizing the soul. I surveyed my surroundings. It appears that the illusions within this demonic burial ground are precisely what Feng Mingwu fears the most. Subduing this nightmare-grade spirit into the spirit-suppressing tome will serve as an excellent addition to my combat strength. In the next instant, Shenxi's silhouette appeared before me. She swung her claws, shattering the surrounding illusions instantly, before turning to me and saying, "My lord, wait a moment. I shall resolve this nuisance for you." With that, she charged forward while I pulled Feng Mingwu along, saying, "Come, let us depart first." When Feng Mingwu opened his eyes, he witnessed two nightmare-grade spirits locked in combat. Stunned, he asked, "Why is there another nightmare-grade spirit? Is that your contracted spirit?" I nodded, offering no further explanation, and lunged directly toward a fierce-grade spirit. Utilizing the spirit sealing technique, I compressed the fierce-grade entity into a single orb. Once captured, I immediately turned my attention to the next spirit. While these spirits are of a lower grade, they cannot be discarded. Capturing them may prove useful in the future. Feng Mingwu watched this scene, utterly dumbfounded. Two nightmare-grade spirits were tearing each other apart, yet Ma Lin was nonchalantly capturing lesser spirits, showing no concern that his own contracted spirit might be defeated. Meanwhile, Shenxi fought with increasing fervor, unleashing ear-piercing shrieks that struck terror into the hearts of those who heard them. In the blink of an eye, she pierced through the chest of the opposing spirit and dragged the entity before me. "My lord, I have captured the spirit that dared to offend you." I raised my hand and sealed the spirit within the spirit-suppressing tome. "Congratulations, you have obtained a new spirit skill. Illusionary Realm, Nether coin yield, 80 coins per day." My daily income of Nether coins had increased once again. I pondered that by selling just a few spirit artifacts, I could easily amass tens of thousands of Nether coins. Compared to the passive yield of the spirit-suppressing tome, however, it was not significantly high. At that moment, the spirit-suppressing tome suddenly displayed a line of text: 5 spirits captured. Capture 5 more. All Nether coin income will be increased tenfold. I was so astonished that I could hardly keep my mouth shut. This spirit-suppressing tome truly provides one surprise after another. All income increased tenfold. In that case, the daily yield of a nightmare-grade spirit would become 800 Nether coins. With 3 nightmare-grade spirits already in my possession, my daily income would reach 2,400 Nether coins. If I were to cultivate a few more nightmare-grade spirits, would I not become incredibly wealthy? However, I was unaware that the plump senior brother from Qidao Temple had spotted Ho Yi and me fighting from a distance while he was out purchasing talismans. At this moment, he was rushing to report to Wan Yu. Senior brother, just now, while I was on my way to buy yellow charms, I saw the demon that caused trouble at our temple earlier, clashing with another ferocious level demon. Should we take advantage of the situation and reap the rewards? Wan Yu hesitated, saying, that demon is quite fierce. I fear we may not be able to capture it. The plump senior brother hurriedly urged, I have already prepared these talismans. If we set up a demon trapping array along the path it is bound to take, we will surely be able to capture it. Upon hearing this, Wan Yu found the suggestion sound and immediately decided to act. He replied, go and gather the junior brothers. Have them bring the necessary tools and join me to capture the demon. Thus, after Feng Mingwu and I had cleared the remnants of our battle, we had not gone far from the ghost tavern when suddenly Wan Yu and his group intercepted our path. I saw Wan Yu holding a sword in one hand, a talisman in the other, muttering incantations under his breath. The others stood by, clutching red spirit threads, forming a square that encircled me. Just as I stood there bewildered, the plump senior brother rushed forward, carrying a basin of incense ash and splashed it toward me. I immediately flew into a rage and cursed at the plump senior brother. Are you out of your mind? The plump senior brother wore an expression of disbelief and asked, how are you completely unaffected? This is impossible. As he spoke, he pulled out a yellow charm and waved it before my face. Seeing I had no reaction, he asked in confusion, are you not afraid? I struck the plump senior brother across the face, shouting, is there something wrong with your brain? The plump senior brother, looking wronged, cried out to Wan Yu. Senior brother, this demon is too vicious. It even struck me. Seeing this, Wan Yu was instantly seized by panic. He produced a bronze bell and shook it frantically, chanting incantations without pause. I was truly losing my patience. These people were nothing more than lunatics. I reached out and tore through the red spirit thread blocking my path. Then, I charged toward Wan Yu and demanded, have you lot all collectively lost your minds in the middle of the night? Wan Yu ignored me, his chanting only increasing in speed. Seeing that Wan Yu would not answer, I stepped closer and roared, what are you muttering about? At that moment, I was so close to Wan Yu that my breath brushed directly against his face. Wan Yu was instantly stunned. This person actually possessed a living breath. He exclaimed in utter astonishment, damn it. So you are a human? You scared the life out of me. I truly thought I had encountered a formidable adversary. No wonder those items meant to repel ghosts had no effect on you whatsoever. Hearing this, I became even more incensed and retorted, your entire family are the ones who aren't human. Wan Yu hastily apologized, my apologies, I truly mistook you for a ghost. The more he tried to explain, the more insulted I felt. With a dark expression, I snapped, you are the ghost. Your whole family are ghosts. Is there something wrong with your head? You cannot even distinguish between human and ghost. Wan Yu wore an embarrassed expression. He prided himself on his ability to differentiate between the living and the dead, yet how could an ordinary person exude such dense ghostly energy? Not to mention the presence of a ghost residing within his very body. The stout senior brother, wearing a look of disbelief, stepped forward and asked, what? This fellow is actually a human. What kind of household produces a human with such soaring ghostly energy? As he spoke, he reached out to sense my aura, only to be struck by another wave of astonishment. It is indeed a living person. With a look of utter disdain, I spoke, have you finished your theatrics yet? Wan Yu rushed to apologize once more. My apologies, it was entirely a misunderstanding. I did not wish to waste more breath on them, so I demanded compensation directly. Those incense sticks of yours have dirtied my clothes and sullied my person. Wan Yu hurriedly apologized again. Brother, I am truly sorry. Please accept this small token of my sincerity. As he spoke, produced 2,000 Elisrance credits from his bag and held them out. Today's incident was purely a misunderstanding. I truly did not intend for this to happen. Seeing Wan Yu's attitude, I accepted the 2,000 alliance credits and replied, see that there is not a next time. I then led Feng Mingwu away. Once we had departed, the stout senior brother asked doubtfully, Senior brother, why was that person so strange? How could he possess such heavy ghostly energy? It is truly bizarre. Wan Yu also wore a perplexed expression as he replied, how could I know? This world is vast beyond measure, and there are always things beyond our. A junior disciple cautiously asked if the man was practicing some sort of heretical art. Wan Yu cut him off immediately. Do not speak nonsense. That is a person we cannot afford to provoke. We shall discuss this matter once the master returns. As for today, act as if nothing happened. Meanwhile, after parting ways with Feng Mingwu, I returned. The water spirit Li Shuo had been waiting for some time. Upon seeing me, she immediately reported respectfully, my lord, the investigation is complete. The person who snuck in a few days ago was Chan Yun's cousin, Xian Wu Hai. He brought several men along, intending to steal. I cannot understand. You may withdraw. Afterward, I thought to myself I had actually suspected that spirits from the ghost realm had discovered me. Then I contemplated the fact that I had captured over a dozen low-level spirits, and with nowhere to store them, it seems I must refine a ghost artifact capable of containing them tomorrow. Following that, I took out my mobile phone and opened the Yunchuan Ghost Suppressing Society app. I saw that many ghost hunting missions had been posted, though the majority were requests to capture minor spirits. However, Task 14 caught my attention. Task 14. 4 people have died at the Minghai building. A qualified person is required to investigate the situation and determine the danger level. Rank 3. Completing this mission rewards 300 Underworld coins, and it requires verifying if the cause is a major spirit. Thus, I accepted this mission. The next day, at the main entrance of the Minghai building, several men in uniform were discussing something. Captain Zhao Hu spoke up. This matter is extremely difficult to resolve. People like us cannot handle this. Let us just wait for the ghost-suppressing envoy to arrive and deal with it. Just then, a man wearing a black hat suddenly approached. Zhao Hu hastily warned, "This area is very dangerous. I must ask you to leave." However, before he could finish his sentence, a gunshot rang out and Zhao Hu's body collapsed to the ground. The man in the black hat, clutching a firearm, then quickened his pace and entered the Minghai building. Only then did a man standing nearby react, quickly dialing emergency services for an ambulance. In a faint voice, Zhao Hu managed to instruct, "Dangerous individual, call headquarters immediately. Contact the people from the Ghost Suppressing Society." I had just driven near the Minghai building when I heard the sound of a gunshot. By the time I accelerated to the main entrance, I was one step too late. I addressed the others. "I am from the Ghost Suppressing Society, and I am in charge of the Minghai building mission. What has happened here?" A man stepped forward and provided a rough summary of the incident. It turns out that 4 people died at the Minghai building the night before last, and they were all burned alive. Yet no fire had actually broken out within the Minghai building. Just moments ago, a man wearing a black hat suddenly emerged, opened fire and wounded their captain Zhao Hu, before storming into the Minghai building. I nodded and said, "I understand. Stay here and wait." The moment those words left my lips, my silhouette appeared within the Minghai building. Immediately, a wave of frigid air washed over me. I let out a cold hum, Shenxi manifest. A red-clad spirit appeared before me, bowed her hands, and asked, "My lord, what are your instructions?" "There is an individual here armed with a firearm. Assist me in capturing him." Shenxi nodded and replied, "As you command." She then phased through the ceiling to the floor above. I began to ascend the stairs slowly, but soon an ominous feeling took hold of me. The intuition of an underworld official often serves as a premonition that something calamitous is about to unfold. Thus I summoned Chu Hong to accompany Shenxi. I could not shake this foreboding sense of dread. Chu Hong spoke respectfully. "My lord, you are a spirit of the underworld. Is there any matter that you cannot resolve yourself?" Seeing my grave expression as I remained silent, Chu Hong recoiled, ceased his questioning, and hurried to follow Shenxi. The man in the black hat gritted his teeth, pulled out a vessel and shouted, "Zhang Kui, this flame is all yours. Slaughter everyone here." As he spoke, he hurled the vessel through the air. Zhang Kui caught the vessel, his face twisted in manic excitement before crushing it with a sharp crack. The very next second, a shroud of pitch-black flames engulfed his body. Shenxi and Chu Hong were forced to retreat repeatedly. With a malicious glare, Zhang Kui roared, "I will kill every one of you." He then lunged toward Chu Hang and Shenxi. I stepped aside, effortlessly dodging his initial strike. I summoned the Wuchang sword and charged toward Zhang Kui. This was no ordinary strike. It was a technique from the soul-dispersing, demon-catching art. The soul-dispersing, demon-catching art is naturally designed to restrain spirits, further amplified by the power of my underworld status. Under normal circumstances, I would be capable of slaying a nightmare-level spirit in an instant. But against a spirit possessed of this nether flame, I must proceed with absolute caution in every movement. The man in the black hat watched as I traded blows with Zhang Kui, holding my ground, and could not help but scream in astonishment. "Damn it! How can this man be so powerful that he holds his own against a nightmare-level spirit?" I unleashed my spirit technique. The illusory realm and the surrounding environment shifted instantly, turning the world upside down. A hellish inferno manifested, and beneath the black flames, corpses began to litter the ground. This spectacle was exactly what Zhang Kui feared most in his heart. Zhang Kui began to act recklessly, utilizing teleportation, and in the next second, more than 10 fireballs rained down. After unleashing these flames, the netherworld hellfire upon his body was visibly dimmed. One must realize that the netherworld hellfire he possesses is not infinite. Every use depletes it further. Seeing this, I waved my hand once more, and an iron chain shot forth, tightly binding Zhang Kui. However, the black flames covering him traveled along the iron chain, burning toward me. Startled, I hurriedly released my grip. Only then did the black flames gradually dissipate. The man in the black cloak was so astonished that his jaw hung wide open. How could this fellow possess so many ghost techniques? It defies all logic. One must know that the conditions to acquire a ghost technique are incredibly stringent. First, one must commune with a spirit, then pay a monumental price to earn the right to wield such a technique. Furthermore, it is not just any spirit that will suffice. This man, however, merely waves his hand to effortlessly deploy 3 distinct ghost techniques. It is truly a sight never before witnessed. Even more ridiculous is the fact that this man commands 3 nightmare-grade contracted ghosts. Moreover, these 3 nightmare-grade ghosts obey his every command, even risking the dissolution of their very souls to do so. At this moment, Zhang Kui tore through the chain, opened his mouth, and spewed a torrent of netherworld hellfire. I quickly waved my hand and threw a needle. Zhang Kui paid little attention to such a trivial object. He even reached out to crush the needle, but the next second he was overcome with panic. In the blink of an eye, the needle pierced through his palm and shot straight toward the center of his brow. This needle was a gift from my senior sister, and it is a weapon imbued with yin energy. The moment Zhang Kui was struck, he lost all ability to resist. Immediately thereafter, Shenxi suddenly appeared behind him. With a single claw, she pierced through Zhang Kui's chest. Seeing this, Sushing hurriedly seized Zhang Kui's arm. The 2 ghosts exerted their strength, tearing Zhang Kui into 2 pieces. Shortly after, both ghosts began to consume Zhang Kui's remains to replenish their own strength. Although I deeply desired to suppress these spirits, the prerequisite for suppression is to capture the opponent alive or render them completely incapable of resistance. Because Zhang Kui was shielded by the netherworld hellfire, capturing him alive was nearly impossible. Therefore, Hong Yi stood to the side, watching with a ravenous hunger. This was, after all, an item of immense vitality. However, he had not played a significant role in the slaughter of Zhang Kui. He lacked the audacity to step forward and claim a share of the spoils. Shen Shi cast a sidelong glance at Hong Ye before tearing off a limb and tossing it to him. Hong Yi was moved beyond measure. He stammered his thanks, accepted the limb, and began to feast. The man in the black cloak, seeing Zhang Kui slain, panicked and drew his firearm, firing indiscriminately, but Hong Yi deflected every bullet with ease. I stroked my chin, eyeing the man in the black cloak. If I could obtain this uha, my strength would undoubtedly skyrocket. Just as I prepared to interrogate the man in the black cloak regarding the origins of the netherworld flame, a gunshot rang out, and the man in the black cloak collapsed in a different section of the Spirit Suppressor Society's meeting hall. Li Bingyan spoke with a grave expression. Min Hai, a nightmare rank ghost, has appeared in the Great Xia. The entire room erupted into a commotion. How could a nightmare rank ghost possibly manifest? Then what are we to do? A man whispered, filled with uncertainty. Is Mo Lin not currently on a mission at the Min Hai Great Xia? Is he incapable of dealing with this nightmare rank specter? Li Bingyan listened, then retorted with a chilling tone. Even among ghosts, there exists a hierarchy of strength. What if Mo Lin's contracted spirit is no match for this nightmare rank entity? Li Bingyan instinctively tightened her grip on her spiritual energy as she gazed intently toward the Min Hai Great Xia, only to behold my figure slowly emerging from the shadows. Behind me trailed two nightmare rank ghosts, each holding something of unknown origin as they chewed. Li Bingyan and the others recoiled instinctively, while some of the lower-ranked spirits were so terrified they retreated directly into their masters' bodies. Someone exclaimed in horror, "Two more nightmare rank ghosts. This fellow is truly terrifying." Li Bingyan took a deep breath, attempting to steady her nerves, before asking me, "Has a nightmare rank ghost appeared here?" I nodded, replying, "Indeed, but it has already been dealt with." Li Bingyan let out a sigh of relief, while I asked with curiosity, "Why have so many of you gathered here?" Li Bingyan replied slowly, "I summoned reinforcements to assist you in confronting that nightmare rank ghost." I spoke with complete indifference. It was merely one nightmare rank ghost. I am more than capable of handling it alone. Your assistance was unnecessary. Li Bingyan was left speechless, thinking to herself, "Merely one nightmare rank ghost," he says. One must realize that this single nightmare rank entity possessed enough power to raise the entire city of Yanshuan to the ground. Only someone like Mo Lin, who commands two nightmare rank ghosts, would dare to utter such arrogant words. I spoke up once more, noting that there was a man dressed in a black cloak inside. "Help me investigate where he originates from, then provide me with his detailed background." Li Bingyan nodded in agreement. Shortly thereafter, I drove to the Four Directions Pavilion, intending to purchase materials to refine a vessel capable of housing ghosts, but I wandered for quite some time without finding anything suitable. At that very moment, a man in a black suit approached to greet me. "Mr. Mo, greetings. My young master wishes to meet with you." "Who is your young master?" "This Four Directions Pavilion is the property of my young master." Hearing this, I became quite intrigued. Thus, I followed the man in the suit to a private chamber, where I saw a young man inside, of an age similar to my own. Upon seeing me, he greeted me with great enthusiasm. "Brother, please take a seat. My name is Fu Wansan. I wish to conduct business with you." I asked with curiosity, "What kind of business?" "You surely still have ghost artifacts in your possession, do you not? Specifically, those of the highest quality. I am prepared to purchase your ghost artifacts at a premium price. This is my deposit." As he spoke, Fuanson produced a black box. I opened the box. Inside was a fortune in nether currency. Heavens, this man is truly wealthy. Seeing my look of astonishment, Fu Wanson smiled and said, "There are 200,000 units of nether currency here." I asked calmly, "At what price do you intend to buy my ghost artifacts?" "It is not that I wish to buy your artifacts. I will assist you in selling them. For every piece I sell on your behalf, I shall take a 20% commission." I felt quite hesitant after hearing this. At a 20% rate, if a ghost artifact is worth 30,000 units, I would have to pay him 6,000. This share is rather excessive. Observing my hesitation, Fu Wanson added, "I must take at least 15. I cannot go any lower than that. Rental fees, maintenance costs, as well as manpower and advertising expenses, all of these require capital. 15% is my final limit." I pondered for a moment. At the very least, this would save me from having to handle the sale of the ghost artifacts myself. With that, I nodded in agreement. "Very well, I shall bring you the ghost artifacts in a few days." Wu Wanton smiled and replied, "That is no problem, I am not in a rush. By the way, Brother Mo, what exactly did you come to the Sifong Pavilion to purchase?" I smiled, saying, "I am looking for some rare materials, but after searching all around, I have yet to find them." Upon hearing this, Fu Wanton remarked, "I have a penchant for collecting unique items. Perhaps there is something here that might interest you?" As he spoke, he turned and led me to a hidden room concealed within the private lounge. The surrounding walls were adorned with various objects, ranging from unidentified bones and shattered bronze relics to other peculiar artifacts. The moment I stepped into the room, my attention was drawn to a ring set with a brilliant crimson gemstone. Brother Mo, if you desire this ring, I can gift it to you. I opened my mouth to ask, what kind of gemstone is this? The gem appeared ordinary, yet it pulsed with a strange magnetic aura, making it an ideal medium for crafting ghost artifacts. Fu Wanton shook his head and replied, I do not know the specific nature of this material, but I acquired it from a cannibalistic tribe in Europe. Upon hearing this, I nodded and said I will trade one ghost artifact for this ring, causing Wu Wanton to be taken aback. He knew that this ring was worth far more than a single ghost artifact. Shortly thereafter, he realized that Mo Lin simply did not wish to owe him any favors. Thus, Fu Wanton spoke up, Brother Mo, the truth is I have a request for you. I asked with a hint of suspicion, and what would that be? Fu Wanton smiled and said, the day after tomorrow, I must attend a crucial trade negotiation, and I wish to invite you to serve as my bodyguard. This ring shall serve as your retainer, he added, leaving me deep in thought. The ring was indeed exquisite and suited my needs perfectly, so I agreed. I accepted the ring along with 200,000 Underworld coins and drove back home. Upon returning home, I immediately began to refine the ghost artifacts. 5 hours later, looking at the 5 ghost artifacts before me, I felt my efficiency was quite commendable. Next, I retrieved a spirit lantern and placed the newly acquired ring at its center. Finally, I used the Underworld coins as a medium to ignite the forging flame. In just 2 days, this permanent usable ghost artifact would be successfully refined. At that very moment, a violent knocking echoed at the door. As I opened the door, I saw Feng Mingwu went straight to the point. Brother Mo, my uncle's daughter has gone missing. I wish to ask for your assistance in finding her. Lu Feng, standing nearby, added hastily, Brother, if you can help me find my daughter, I am willing to bestow upon you a piece of ghost-tier artifact. I asked with a sense of suspicion, is your own intelligence network not remarkably swift? Why can you not find her yourself? Lu Feng sighed and replied, even at my fastest, it would take me 2 days to track my daughter's whereabouts. However, I do not know if she is merely lost or if she has been abducted. Over these past years, I have offended quite a few people. I fear that my daughter may have met with misfortune. Can you think of a way to help me? Before I could utter a word, Lu Feng spoke up again. I possess information regarding the Netherworld fire. As long as you are willing to help me find my daughter, I can provide you with information concerning the Netherworld fire. I tapped the table firmly. He actually knew of the Netherworld fire. Immediately, I suppressed my emotions and replied with a smile, in truth, even if you did not offer me information regarding the Netherworld fire, I would still be willing to help you find your daughter. After all, I am a very enthusiastic person. Feng Mingwu pouted, rolled her eyes, and retorted, go take a look in the mirror at your hypocritical face. I ignored Feng Mingwu and continued to reassure Lu Feng. Since Feng Mingwu and I are considered friends, there is no need to speak of just helping you find your daughter. Even if it meant climbing a mountain of blades or braving a sea of fire, I would be willing to face it alongside you. Feng Mingwu could no longer bear it and complained out loud. Is there any need to be so eager? Where has that imposing aura you displayed when capturing the nightmare-level spirit gone? I coughed awkwardly twice and changed the subject. Let us cease the idle chatter and discuss the matter at hand. Seeing this, Feng Mingwu also grew serious and asked me, so do you have a method to track someone down? I smiled and said I did not before, but I do now. Immediately after, I clapped my hands. Little ghost, come forth. The next moment, the silhouette of the little ghost appeared before me. Lord Mo, you summoned me, it asked with a grin, before I introduced it to the others. Though this spirit lacks combat prowess, it possesses a tracking technique that allows it to locate anyone, provided it has a single clue to follow. Feng Mingwu's expression was one of astonishment as he remarked, you possess 2 contracted spirits just like Yun Ling? Truly formidable, I muttered, feeling somewhat dissatisfied. 2 contracted spirits? Who are you looking down upon? Feng Mingwu rolled his eyes in speechlessness. I am complimenting you. Why are you so unappreciative of kindness? Do you have no sense of affection? I replied, my apologies, but I could not sense any praise in your words. Immediately after, I turned to Lu Feng beside me and asked, do you have any personal item belonging to your daughter? Lu Feng pondered for a moment before producing a photograph of his daughter Han. Will this photograph suffice? I took the photo and replied it will. I then handed the photograph to the little ghost. Gale, help me find this girl. The little ghost took the photo, closed its eyes, and after a brief moment suddenly opened them. Master, I have found her. I had yet to speak a word. Lu Feng, overcome with agitation, stepped forward and grabbed the little ghost, demanding, where is my daughter? But before he could finish his sentence, the little ghost tightened its grip around his throat. Startled, Lu Feng realized he had committed a grave offense against the spirit. Lu Feng had no doubt that if Mo Lin were not present, this spirit would have surely crushed his windpipe. I hurriedly issued the command to release him. Only then did the little ghost let go. I sighed and instructed the spirit, lead the way. Immediately, Lu Feng took the wheel. Feng Mingwu and I sat in the back seat, while the little ghost perched on the hood, directing our path. The road ahead grew increasingly winding and desolate. It appeared that Lu Feng's daughter was being held in the outskirts of the city. At that very moment, I suddenly ordered him to stop the car. Feng Mingwu asked, perplexed, what is the matter? With a grave expression, I stated, return me home at once. I have an urgent matter that must be attended to. Seeing the urgency, Lu Feng did not dare to delay. He slammed his foot on the accelerator and rushed me back to my doorstep. I hurried out of the vehicle and into the house, quickly retrieving the cage used for refining ghost energy. I breathed a sigh of relief, having nearly forgotten about this item. If the flames within this cage were to extinguish, it would be rendered entirely useless. Would I not have wasted several tens of thousands of Ming coins in vain? Feng Mingwu looked at me, carrying an object that resembled a lantern, and asked with great suspicion, "What is this?" I did not offer a lengthy explanation, stating only that it was of great importance. Lu Feng then asked me with caution, "Do you have any other matters to attend to at the moment?" I spoke with calm composure. "Nothing further. Let us resume our search for his daughter." After departing from the city center, the path was filled with signs of devastation until we finally reached a remote location, a place so desolate that even birds would not venture near. Shortly thereafter, we followed a narrow, secluded path. After walking for about 5 minutes, we arrived at our destination. Xiao Gui pointed toward a house not far away and said, "It is right there." I looked up to see a modest 2-story house with a courtyard separated from our position by a river. Spanning the river was a simple wooden bridge. The three of us walked along the wooden bridge to the other side. At that moment, within the courtyard, a burly man asked the man seated in a chair beside him, "Boss, how shall we deal with this girl?" The man replied coldly, "Kill her, then throw her into the river." Upon hearing that they were permitted to kill the girl, those nearby reacted with fervor. Their eyes gleamed with malice and lecherous smiles crept across their faces. Watching these men slowly approach, the young girl screamed through her tears. "What are you trying to do?" "Stay back, I beg you, do not touch me." The burly man from before grabbed the girl with one hand, lifting her up as if she were a mere chick. At that very instant, a thunderous explosion erupted from the entrance. The burly man turned his head, cursed, and spat out, "Damn it. How unlucky." Immediately, more than 10 men in the courtyard emerged one after another, surrounding us. The man said, "I did not expect you to find your way here so quickly." Lu Feng stood frozen the moment he saw the man. "Zhou Tian, I did not cause your brother's death. Why have you abducted my daughter?" Zhou Tian let out a cold snort and replied, "If you had not sold information about my brother to his enemies, he never would have died." Lu Feng took a deep breath. He knew full well that a few words would not suffice to extinguish Zhou Tian's hatred, so he prepared to plead. He unsheathed his long sword and struck directly at the contracted ghost. In the next heartbeat, the creature was cleaved in two. Its form dissolved into nothingness, vanishing like smoke into the air. The burly man wore an expression of utter disbelief. "How is this possible? This is my dangerous level contracted ghost, yet it was destroyed with such ease." Zhou Tian's pupils constricted suddenly. He realized a true expert had arrived. I spoke coldly, "Either release the child or everyone here dies today." Zhou Tian gripped the young girl's neck, afraid to act recklessly, yet he still retorted, "Trying to threaten me? I am not a man who is easily cowed." Immediately after, he shouted toward the shadows behind him, "Sister Hong, I have encountered some trouble that requires your intervention." Soon after, a woman draped in a white cloak with elegant features stepped forward. Feng Mingwu immediately shifted into a defensive stance upon seeing the woman, and even Lu Feng's expression turned grim. With an arrogant sneer, Zhou Tian remarked, "This is a level 4 ghost controller. With her here, let's see who dares to touch me." The woman looked at me but instinctively turned her head away. I, however, felt a spark of surprise. "So, it is you." The woman remained silent. She was currently under Zhou Tian's banner. What would it mean if people knew she was acquainted with Mo Lin? Ignoring this, I approached her warmly and said, "Hong Nanhuan, do you not recognize me? It was only a few days ago that I sold you a piece of ghostly artifact. How could you forget so soon? Have you really put it out of your mind?" Hong Nanhuan, seeing the situation, could only offer a reluctant hum before saying, "I am in Zhou Tian's service. In light of our previous acquaintance." Before she could finish her sentence, I cut her off. "Out of respect for our past acquaintance, I will not make things difficult for you. You may leave." Hong Nanhuan stood stunned, rendered speechless by the offer. Why did this man steal my dialogue? I am the true 4th-rank ghost controller. Seeing her standing there in a daze, I spoke up, "Stop standing there, you should leave. I will not make things difficult for you." Hong Nanhuan asked in a daze, "Are you telling the truth?" This Ma Lin had already spoken every word I intended to say. Hong Nanhuan could only explain to me helplessly, "I have already accepted 2,000 Underworld coins from Zhou Tian, promising to act as his bodyguard for one day." I sighed and said, "Then let us do this. I will give you 3,000 Underworld coins, return the 2,000 to Zhou Tian, and then you may leave. Do not involve yourself in this matter further." With that, I took out 3,000 Underworld coins and handed them over. Hong Nanhuan looked at the Underworld coins in her hand. This was never a matter of mere currency. Yet, she still took out 2,000 Underworld coins and returned them to Zhou Tian, stating, "I will no longer concern myself with this affair." Zhou Tian watched everything unfold before him in a stupor, but he reacted instantly, shouting at Hong Nanhuan's departing figure, "Hong Nanhuan, you are not allowed to leave." Yet it was as if Hong Nanhuan did not hear him. Her silhouette vanished from the spot. Fu Mingwu silently gave a thumbs up. "I never expected you to have such extensive connections, or that you would even know Hong Nanhuan, and that she would show you such respect." I ignored Feng Mingwu and kicked Zhou Tian viciously in the face. "You dared to take my Underworld coins. Are you tired of living?" Immediately after, I snatched the 2,000 Underworld coins from Zhou Tian's hand. Seeing this, Zhou Tian's lackeys prepared to rush forward. But in the next second, these underlings came to a sudden halt. They witnessed the form of Shenxi descending from the sky, baring its colossal jaws. Should any dared to move, they would undoubtedly be devoured. These underlings of Zhou Tian had never witnessed such a terrifying sight. They trembled until their legs gave way. Lu Feng hurried over to embrace his daughter. "It is all right now. You are safe." Seeing that the situation was under control, Cha spoke to Zhou Tian, "Hand over all the nether coins you have on you to me." Zhou Tian hurriedly rummaged through his pockets, taking out the remaining 800 plus nether coins. I accepted the nether coins and said to Feng Mingwu, "I leave the rest of this matter to you." Immediately after, I turned around and walked out of the courtyard. After waiting for about 10 minutes or so, Lu Feng and Feng Mingwu emerged. As for the fate of those remaining in the house, I did not ask much, instead saying to Lu Feng, "I have already helped you find your daughter. Now shouldn't you tell me the information regarding the Netherworld flame?" Lu Feng composed his emotions before finally speaking. The Netherworld flame is a type of miraculous fire. This flame suddenly descended upon Qinghai City years ago. The head of the Li family was the first to discover the Netherworld flame and brought the spark back to the Li estate. Upon hearing this, I felt a sense of disappointment. The Netherworld flame had already been seized by others. Feng Mingwu, standing nearby, asked me anxiously, "Brother Mo, you aren't planning on going to steal the Netherworld flame, are you?" Seeing that I remained silent, he hastily added, "You cannot possibly go and steal it. The influence of the Li family is far more terrifying than you can imagine. They are a clan that even the Spirit Suppression Society dares not offend." I looked at Feng Mingwu with a strange expression. "Are you implying that I should go to the Li family to seize the Netherworld flame?" Feng Mingwu hurriedly explained, No, that is not what I meant. I'm simply concerned for you." I completely disregarded the rest of Feng Mingwu's words, muttering to myself, "Actually, it is not entirely impossible. I just feel it would be somewhat lacking in morality." Mingwu curled his lips in helplessness. It seemed this man truly intended to go to the Li family to seize the Netherworld flame. Heavens, that is the Li family. It seems only someone like Mo Lin would dare to harbor such audacious thoughts. Afterward, we boarded the vehicle and followed the same route back toward Yunchuan City, but after driving for more than 30 minutes, the car was still circling the mountain. Feng Mingwu looked out the window and asked, "Have we taken the wrong road? Why have we returned to the same spot?" Lu Feng also realized something was amiss. I followed the original route. "How could we have ended up back here?" He muttered to himself while, after traveling for about 10 minutes, Lu Feng stopped the vehicle and looked at the familiar river outside the window. Lu Feng exclaimed in astonishment, "Why have we returned here?" I turned to ask Feng, who was beside me, "Do you fear ghosts?" Feng Mingwu shuddered and asked, "Why are you bringing this up again?" Yet he gathered his courage and replied, "I am not afraid." I pushed open the car door and said with a smile, "If you are not afraid, follow me down to find the ghost," then handed the lantern to Lu Feng and said, "Stay in the car with your daughter and watch over my belongings. Do not let the flame die out." After we exited the vehicle, we discovered the surroundings were shrouded in a thick, white mist. Visibility was less than 1 meter. Feng Mingwu whispered, "How did you know there was a ghost here?" I also lowered my voice and replied, "Because I have experienced this before." With that, the two of us began to move forward, having walked little more than a meter. Turning back, the vehicle we had just exited was nowhere to be seen, when suddenly, with a crisp crack, Feng Mingwu stepped on something unknown. He hurriedly lowered his head to see that it was human bone. Terrified, he shuddered, then as he looked up, he was suddenly startled. There was something ahead, as Feng Mingwu pointed forward with his right hand and screamed in terror. With a look of helplessness, I said to him, "Do not act like that, you are frightening me." Feng Mingwu turned back and asked in surprise, "You are afraid of ghosts too?" I replied with resignation, "No, I'm afraid of you. You keep jumping in fright like this, making the atmosphere so terrifying. Who wouldn't be afraid? Didn't you say on the car earlier that you were not afraid of ghosts?" Feng Mingwu said with a look of embarrassment. "My apologies, I will not feign bravery next time," I replied. "I shall summon my contracted ghosts to protect you. So cease this incessant clamor." Feng Mingwu nodded repeatedly like a chicken pecking at grain. Very quickly, 3 spectral figures emerged, but the next second, another piercing scream rang out. This, I interrupted him impatiently. "What are you doing?" Startled again. "Are you?" Mingwu said in utter disbelief, "This cannot be. You actually possess 3 contracted ghosts. This defies all logic." I looked at your naive, worldly, inexperienced expression with a mocking smirk. "It is only 3 contract ghosts. Can you not make such a fuss?" Feng Mingwu let out a sigh. 3 contract ghosts are still 3. After all, a mortal like me cannot fathom such things. Seeing him in such a state, I chuckled and asked, "Are you jealous?" Feng Mingwu nodded honestly. "Who wouldn't be envious of someone like you?" I rubbed my chin and said, "If you provide me with some nether coins, I can assist you in upgrading your contract ghosts." Feng Mingwu asked with excitement, "Is that true?" I smiled and replied, 10,000 nether coins. For that price, I can elevate your contract ghost to the hazardous rank." Feng Mingwu agreed hastily. "Agreed, thank you so much. Once I return, I will gather the nether coins for you." Soon enough, we arrived at the foot of a hill. I could vaguely sense that upon this hill resided a ghost of nightmare rank or higher. I turned and spoke to Feng Mingwu. "You should remain here. There is no need for you to accompany me further. I will leave Chu Hong behind to protect you." Feng Ming nodded repeatedly in agreement, and I led Shenji up the hillside. Before long, I spotted a woman standing atop the hill, seemingly gazing into the distance. When this woman slowly turned her head to look in my direction, I nearly retched. Her eyes were devoid of pupils and her face was a mass of putrefying weeping flesh. The female ghost saw me and immediately flew toward me. Have you seen my clothes and my shoes? Seeing that I held nothing in my hands, she drifted back to her original position. I activated my ghost eye, observing her status. Name Yugu Realm, Nightmare Rank. Skills / Ghost Energy Condensation. She creates a fatal strike against her opponent. The damage inflicted scales with the strength of the user. I clicked my tongue in secret. Truly, one finds what one lacks. As luck would have it, I was in dire need of an offensive ghost technique, and it had delivered itself to my doorstep so readily. Observing that this ghost showed no immediate hostility, I stepped forward directly, placing my hand upon her head, intending to suppress her. But the unexpected occurred. The female ghost showed no reaction whatsoever. This was a failed suppression. Just as I stood there in confusion, the female ghost, previously silent, suddenly spoke. Help me find my clothes and my shoes, and I shall be willing to follow you. Only then did I realize that the spirit suppression technique was incapable of subduing her. It was because the obsession held by this female spirit was too profound. Unless that obsession was fulfilled, there was no way to subdue her. Thus I decided to test the waters and asked, "Where are your clothes and shoes?" The female spirit raised her hand and pointed toward Yunchuan City, saying, "They are right there." I nodded in agreement and replied, "I can help you find your clothes and shoes. Then, take us out of here." The moment those words left my lips, the surrounding scene shifted abruptly. The white mist dissipated, and everything returned to its natural state, as if the female spirit had never appeared at all. Seeing that I had returned, Feng Mingwu asked with great curiosity, "Did you capture that spirit? What was its rank?" I answered truthfully, I did not capture it. I had to agree to a request for the spirit to allow us to leave. Feng Mingwu stared at me in astonishment, utterly unable to comprehend how I could communicate normally with a spirit. Is it not true that one can only communicate with a spirit once a pact has been formed? I looked at Feng Mingwu, whose face was filled with shock, and without offering much of an explanation, I said, "Let's go." This time, without the interference of any spirits, we returned to Yunchuan quite smoothly. In the time that followed, under my careful refinement, the final remnants of the ghost energy were successfully perfected. Afterwards, I gathered all the low-level spirits I had captured previously and arranged for them to be placed within the ring. Yin Xiaohua and her son were also placed inside the ring by me, so that if any of the spirits within the ring eventually proved to be relatively exceptional, I could consider incorporating them into my spirit suppression technique. Following that, I converted 10,000 nether coins into ghost energy and infused it into the ring, allowing these spirits to survive and sustain themselves. Just then, a message from the Ghost Control Society group appeared on my phone. Lingji. In a few days, there will be a meeting with the Purple Dragon Society. Is there anyone who would like to accompany me? Yunling, I do not wish to go. I dislike dealing with the people from the Purple Dragon Society. Feng Mingwu, I also do not wish to go. I looked at my phone and thought that going to gather some intelligence wouldn't be a bad idea. So I sent a message asking, would it be alright if I went? Ling, of course that would be perfectly fine. Feng Mingwu, Ling Shi, are you certain you want to bring Mo Lin along to attend this meeting? Ling Shi, yes. Why do you ask? Feng Mingwu. I could not fathom it. Li Shi was merely attending a meeting. What could possibly have provoked Feng Mingyu so? You shall see once you have departed. 3 days had passed when I carried a black bag and drove to the Shiheiwan. Today, Fu Wanton had a trade to conduct, and I had arrived right on time to serve as his bodyguard. Upon seeing me, Fu Wanton greeted me with great enthusiasm. "Brother Mo, you have arrived. I shall waste no words," I said, handing the black bag directly to him. Fu Wanton opened the bag's curiosity. The following moment, an expression of utter disbelief washed over his face. Within this black bag lay 10 pieces of ghost artifact. Driven by curiosity, Fu Wanton retrieved one piece to examine it. It was a top-tier ghost artifact capable of being utilized 7 times. He then reached for another, only to find that it too was a top-tier ghost artifact. He quickened his pace to inspect the remaining items, finding that they were all of the same top-tier quality. Every one of these 10 ghost artifacts was a masterpiece. Fu Wanton was struck speechless, rendered motionless by his astonishment. In a mere matter of days, Mo Lin had forged so many artifacts, since when had top-tier ghost artifacts become so common and inexpensive? Could it be that Mo Lin had gone out and robbed a treasury of ghosts? Fu Wanton hurriedly summoned his attendants to give instructions. "Store these artifacts away. You must be careful, ensure they do not suffer the slightest impact." He then struck his chest, promising me, "Brother Mo's, rest assured, I shall certainly fetch the best possible price for these ghost artifacts." I spoke nonchalantly, "This is but a small portion. In a few days I shall send you another dozen or so." Upon hearing this, Fu Wanton's expression contorted in shock. Another dozen ghost artifacts? Had ghost artifacts become so abundant in this world? Observing Fu Wanton's grimace, I assumed that the quantity I had mentioned was perhaps too meager, so I added I could even provide more than 20 pieces if needed. Good heavens, even Fu Wanton, who was usually as steady as a rock, could no longer maintain his composure. Seeing this, I probed, "Is 20 pieces still too few?" Fu Wanton hurriedly replied, "Not few at all, not in the slightest." Just then a woman's voice drifted in from the doorway. "I hope I am not late." Fu Wanton saw who had arrived and hurriedly introduced her to me. "This is Hong Nianshu." Before he could finish his sentence, I interjected. "Hong Nianshu, I know her." Hong Nianshu looked at me with a hint of surprise. "It is you again." Seeing that we were already acquainted, Fu Wanton laughed and said, "If you two already know each other, then that is all the better." Hong Nanshu is also a wicked bodyguard. This transaction is with the Li family of the North Sea. The Li family, you say? Both of you must be aware of their rather unsavory reputation. As I wondered exactly what kind of reputation they possessed, Hong Nanshu leaned in and whispered to me, "Should danger arise later, hide behind me. I will protect you." I chuckled slightly and replied, "That will not be necessary. I am quite capable of protecting myself." Before I could finish my sentence, Hong Nanshu interrupted, "In any case, if there is danger, just stay behind me." Shortly after, our group arrived at a villa in the business vehicle provided by Fu Wansan. Upon stepping out, Hong Shu's expression tightened as she carefully scrutinized everyone in the vicinity. Once we had all exited the vehicle, a young man stepped forward to greet Fu Wansan. "Fu Wansan, you have finally arrived. You have kept me waiting for far too long." Fu Wansan responded with a practiced smile. "Li San, it has been a long time." As we entered the grand hall, we discovered that many had already gathered, all of them influential figures within their respective fields in Yunchuan City. Seeing that everyone had arrived, Li San went straight to the point. "I have invited you all here today to make an announcement. From this point forward, you shall all submit 10% of your profits to our Li family." This declaration struck like a thunderbolt, leaving everyone in the room stunned. Every gaze immediately turned toward Fu Wansan. After steadying his emotions, Fu Wansan firmly refused. "Absolutely not. Your Li family is being far too tyrannical. To demand 10% of our profits based on mere words, is this not an attempt to reap rewards without sowing?" No sooner had he finished speaking than the others began to voice their dissent. I also felt the situation was untenable. "This is not acceptable. I refuse as well." Before Li San could speak, the bodyguard behind him slammed his hand onto the table, pointed directly at Fu Wansan and shouted, "Are you tired of living? Since you dare to defy my young master's orders," I slammed my own hand against the table in response. I glared at the bodyguard and retorted, "Who do you think you are speaking to? Are you courting death?" The bodyguard moved in a flash, appearing before me and seizing me by the collar in an act of intimidation. "Little brat, what is your intention?" I looked at him with chilling indifference and said, "Remove your hand or I shall kill you." Hong Nanshu, sensing the situation spiraling out of control, stepped closer to my side. At the same time, the other men behind Li San readied themselves to strike at a moment's notice. Li San ordered his bodyguard to stand down. Only then did the man release my collar and return to his position behind his master. Hong Nanshu whispered a reminder to me. "The man you just faced is a 4th rank ghost controller." I let out a cold scoff. For a 4th level spirit controller to act with the arrogance of an 8th level one is truly laughable. Hong Nanhu immediately corrected herself. "My meaning was that you must be wary of him." I spoke coldly. "You are mistaken. It is he who should be wary of me." Hong Nanhu sighed in resignation. "Very well, I cannot argue with you." On the other side, Li San spoke up. "The Li family intends to expand into Yunchuan. Everyone here knows the strength of the Li family. Should anyone dare to oppose us, I guarantee their end will be miserable." He then scanned the room before smiling and saying, "Let us do this. The Li family will take a step back. I only require 5% of the profits." As soon as his words fell, Fu Wanton's attitude became immediately resolute. "That is not possible." Li San's smile vanished as he said coldly, "Then there is nothing left to discuss." He turned his gaze toward the others. "Do you all share this sentiment?" Zhuangruo stepped forward first. "That is correct. I do not agree either." The remaining individuals all expressed their disagreement as well. The bodyguard behind Li San leaped forward, pointing at Fu Wanton while shouting, "Fu Wanton, you truly do not know how to appreciate a favor. I believe you are courting death." Li San raised his hand to stop the bodyguard, then without another word produced a gray urn before turning with his entourage to leave. Thus only our group remained in the room. Zhuangru asked, perplexed, what was his intention. Fu Wanton was equally bewildered. Did he just leave like that? At that very moment, the gray urn suddenly erupted with a massive volume of black smoke. Hong Nanhu cried out in alarm, "Watch out." At the same time, she summoned her contracted spirit. The bodyguards of the others reacted quickly as well, each summoning their own contracted spirits. Just as I prepared to charge forward, Hong Nanhu shielded me behind her. She said, "Protect Fu Wanton, leave the spirit to me." I had no choice but to remain at Fu Wanton's side. As the black smoke dissipated, a spirit wielding a massive black blade emerged. A third-level spirit controller spoke with a grave expression. "This is a terror rank spirit." In the next heartbeat, the terror rank spirit appeared before that third-level spirit controller and brought its black greatsword crashing down. The third-level spirit controller reacted quickly, utilizing his spirit artifact to successfully block the creature's strike. Yet just as he exhaled in relief, his body was... Everyone present could not believe their eyes as they witnessed this scene. The demon before them possessed 3 arms and its third hand gripped a long black sword. Fu Wantan shouted in rage, "This Li San intends to slaughter all of us." Yet from the moment I laid eyes on this demon, my heart was filled with greed, staring at it unblinkingly. The name is Songzhan, terror level rank in his ghost technique, thought manifestation, allows him to materialize any weapon he desires. The shape of the weapon depends entirely on the thoughts of the user. This ghost technique, it is truly enough to make one drool with envy. Seeing me staring intently at the demon without even blinking, Hong Nanhu frowned and said to me, "You must lead Fu Wanton away immediately. I will hold this demon back." With those words, Hong Jianhu and her contracted demon lunged forward. I asked in confusion, why should we leave when the entire room has already descended into such chaos? I watched as the bodyguards besieged the three-armed demon, preparing to seize an opportunity to profit, but the more I watched, the more I realized things were dire. Hong Nanhu and the others seemed to be losing the upper hand. In an instant, a dangerous level contracted demon was sliced in half. The right arm of a third-tier spirit controller was severed by the demon's blade. If it were not for Hong Nanhu and her terror-level demon, the entire group would have been annihilated by the three-armed demon in a single strike. Hong Nanhu realized that if the battle continued, defeat was inevitable. Thus, she prepared to retreat. As she turned, she saw me and Fu Wanton standing perfectly still, and she asked with concern, "Why have you not left yet?" I replied helplessly, "Why would I leave? If I depart, who will capture this demon?" Hong Nanhu retorted with a sneer, "Are you truly that blind? This demon is on the verge of evolving into the nightmare level. We cannot defeat it. If we do not leave, are we simply waiting for death?" "Your words are flawed," I said. "It is you who cannot defeat it, not me." Afterward, I calmly summoned Shenxi. The very next second, a female demon appeared behind me, and every person and spirit in the room froze in their tracks. Hong Nanhu murmured, "This level of pressure, it is the nightmare level." Sensing the turn of events, the three-armed demon turned to flee. But in the next moment, Shenxi's arm pierced through the demon's chest, instantly stripping it of all ability to resist. Shenxi brought the creature before me, and I raised one hand speaking a single word, "Suppress." "Congratulations, you have acquired a ghost technique." The thought manifestation page in the ghost suppression manual gained a new entry, Songzhan Terror Level Ghost Technique Thought Manifestation, generating 40 yin coins daily. Hong Nanhu, standing nearby, instinctively swallowed hard. This was simply too powerful. To kill a terror level demon in a single strike, even Fu Wanton was left speechless, his mind continuously reeling in shock. Damn it all. I only summoned him to make up the numbers. I never expected him to be this formidable. I remained expressionless, turning to Hong Nanhu to ask, "Am I impressive?" Hong Nanhu nodded honestly and replied, "Impressive." I then immediately retorted, "Then tell me, why did you hinder me? If you hadn't stood in my way, I would have dealt with this specter long ago." Hong Nanhu lowered her head, looking deeply aggrieved. "I had no idea you were a 5th-rank spirit controller." At this moment, Zhuangro stepped forward to thank me. "Little brother, thank you for saving my life." I stepped out and replied, "Do not be so quick to thank me." Upon hearing this, Li San, Fu Wanton, and the others wore grave expressions. Today, they had officially severed all ties with Li San. The most pressing matter now was how to escape this place safely. Meanwhile, Li San was watching the house in silence. Hearing the sounds of battle from within, he knew the evil spirit had already begun its slaughter. That evil spirit was ferocious. It was fundamentally impossible to tame, let alone forge a contract with. Thus, he had used a special method to imprison the entity inside an urn. Releasing the spirit today was merely a ploy to eliminate Fu Wanton and his group. Once that was done, he would immediately infiltrate the Yunchuan business market and rapidly establish his foothold there. Li San had even plotted out exactly how he would develop his own power base in the future. Just as he was lost in thought, the sounds of fighting within the house ceased. Li San assumed there were no survivors left inside, and now he had to figure out how to reseal the evil spirit. A bit troublesome, isn't it? At that very moment, the sound of many footsteps suddenly echoed out. As soon as Li San looked up, he saw Fu Wanton and the others emerging from the house. Li San rubbed his eyes, unable to believe what he was seeing. How could so many of them still be alive? Finally, he cast his gaze toward Hong Nanhu. Could it be that Hong Nanhu was the one who destroyed the evil spirit? He stared intently at Fu Wanton and said, "Fu Wanton, it seems you have brought along quite an extraordinary bodyguard." Fu Wanton let out a cold snort. "Li San, your heart is truly vicious. You intended to drive us all to our deaths." Li San's face twisted with malice as he replied, "If you do not die, how can I find my place in Yunwei? If you had submitted to me, I would not have sought your lives. But your lot simply does not know what is good for you, insisting on opposing me at every turn." Fu Wanton retorted with disdain, "Submit to you so we could be your lapdog? Are you dreaming?" Trang Nuok, standing nearby, chimed in as well. "Li family, you may be formidable, but do not think you can act so recklessly." Fu Wanton laughed with disdain. "You are nothing more than an adopted child of the Li family. Stop using the Li name to threaten us at every turn." A bodyguard behind Li San lunged forward, pointing at Fu Wanton and cursing, "You dog, are you looking for death?" He then turned to Li San, "Young master, please rest. Leave these people to me." Li San nodded. "Lantian, do not kill Fu Wanton yet. I want to torture him to death slowly." Lantian licked his lips, a sinister smile spreading across his mouth. "I understand." Hong Nanhu stepped forward, but I placed my hand on her shoulder and spoke calmly. "There is no need for you to intervene. Leave this person to me." Seeing me step forward voluntarily, Lantian mocked me with profound contempt. "Little brat, are you in such a rush to seek death?" A ghastly apparition manifested before him, and he continued to sneer. "Do you see this? This is a terror-level bound spirit. Even if you worked your entire life, you could never possess one like it. Do you understand?" I responded with a cold, mocking laugh. "You think you are showing off? Can you even tell that I am merely boasting?" I said nonchalantly. "It is true that I do not possess a terror-level spirit. However, Shenji emerged. As soon as I finished speaking, a crimson mist billowed forth instantly. Deep within the center of the smoke, a female spirit stood. Lan Tian gritted his teeth, barely able to force the words out, "Nightmare level." How is this possible? Yet he stubbornly persisted. "Trying to provoke me?" A single nightmare-level spirit is not enough to threaten me. I waved my hand and laughed. Who said I only have one nightmare-level spirit? Su Hong emerged. In the next instant, another nightmare-level spirit appeared beside Shen Shi. Hong Nanhuan stared in astonishment at the two nightmare-level spirits, murmuring to herself. Lan Tian was so terrified that he collapsed onto the ground. Li San, standing nearby, felt a tremor of fear himself, but upon looking up and seeing the sun beyond the barrier, he quickly regained his composure. He spoke with a chilling, hollow smile. It is all a misunderstanding. Let us put today's events behind us. You may leave, but I shall remain right here unmoved. Fu Wanton and the others beside him remained frozen, for the mask of civility had already been torn away, and they knew that leaving now would only invite Li San's frantic retribution. Seeing this, a faint, sinister sneer touched the corners of Li San's mouth. He said slowly to Lan Tian, "Withdraw the ghost contract." Lan Tian obediently retracted the ghost contract. Li San mocked Mo Lin, "Kid, did you truly believe that relying on 2 ghost contracts would make you invincible? Today you shall pay the price for your arrogance." Immediately after, he pressed the remote control in his hand, and the black glass overhead began to retract. Blinding sunlight poured in instantly, causing Hong Nianshun's heart to tighten. Disaster had struck. Fu Wanton's face turned deathly pale and he collapsed to the ground in terror. Zhuang Ruo, standing nearby, was equally ashen. One must know that ghosts fear the sun above all else. They cannot exist under its radiance, not even a terror-level ghost, which would surely perish within a minute under such light. Lan Tian laughed mockingly. "Haha, boy, your terror-level ghost is finished." Li San also jeered. "I am eager to see how you remain so arrogant once you have lost your ghost contracts." However, before he could finish his sentence, his expression soured as if he had swallowed bile. "How is this possible? Why is your ghost unharmed? This defies all logic." Lan Tian refused to believe the scene unfolding before his eyes. How could a ghost be unaffected by the sun? Fu Wanton shouted in excitement, "It is fine, it is unharmed, this is wonderful." Hong Niansh was also deeply astonished. "It is truly unscathed." Tian screamed at Li San, "Young master, run," I replied with a cold laugh. "My apologies, but no one is leaving." At that very moment, the first guard who attempted to flee through the door was suddenly struck down by a mysterious force. His body was severed at the waist, ending his life just like that. Lam Thian was about to speak, but suddenly he felt a chilling sensation pierce his chest. He looked down, only to realize that, at some unknown moment, a hole had appeared in his chest. Having dealt with Lam Thian, Shen Shi walked toward Li San. Li San retreated frantically, attempting to use intimidation to save himself. "I am a member of the Li family. If you dare to lay a hand on me, you will undoubtedly face the Li family's ferocious retaliation." Before he could finish his sentence, with a sudden spurt of blood, a hole appeared in Li San's chest as well. Wan San and the others fell into a heavy silence. Li San was dead. They felt a sense of relief, yet it was shadowed by trepidation. After all, if the Li family discovered this, they would certainly seek vengeance. Seeing this, I expressed my dissatisfaction. "Why is no one saying anything? You are the protagonists of today's events. I am merely the bodyguard. Li San is dead, and you all bear responsibility for this." Fu Wan San nodded hurriedly and said, "Yes, we all share the responsibility. We will handle the aftermath." Trang Nuok quickly chimed in to agree. "Yes, exactly, we are all responsible for this matter." Seeing that they were sensible, I spoke up to reassure them. "There is no need to be afraid or panic. If the Li family truly dares to come for revenge, I will simply call a taxi and go home." The next morning, a Ferrari parked directly in front of my house. Lin Ji waved at me as I stood at the entrance. "Mac Lam, let's go." 20 minutes later, we arrived at the Van Hai Hotel. Lin Ji said excitedly, "This is a high-end restaurant with a chef who has cooked for state banquets." At that moment, a man suddenly approached and greeted Lin Ji. He glanced at me and laughed. "Oh, you brought Tan Min along?" This man was Thakfi of the Tu Long Society. Lin Ji had been in a conflict with him just a few days prior, so she ignored him and led me straight into the hotel. Upon seeing that it was a buffet, Lin Ji muttered in disappointment. "Didn't you say there was a state banquet chef?" Thakfi interjected from behind. "The state banquet chef is upstairs." Lin looked up and sure enough saw that there was a second floor. Consequently, she intended to lead me upstairs. Observing Lin Ji's actions, Thakfi sneered. "You wish to go up to the second floor?" Lin Ji frowned and retorted. "What business is it of yours?" Shifei spoke up once more. "I am merely offering a kind reminder. You will not be able to ascend to the second floor. People like us cannot go up there. We are confined to the first floor, and today we may not even secure a seat." Upon hearing this, Lin Ji hurriedly pulled out her phone to inquire within the group chat. "Is the status of our spirit-controlling society truly this low, to the point where we cannot even access the second floor?" Seeing the affirmative responses on the screen, Lin Ji's expression stiffened. Shifei chuckled and said to Lin Ji, "Do you believe me now? Everyone here is an elite in the business world. People like us have only come here to serve as security." Just as Shifei was speaking, I casually found a seat and sat down, intending to rest for a moment. Seeing this, Shifei said to Lin Shi, "Control your new recruit. Seats here are not meant for just anyone to sit in. Do you see those people over there? They all hold numbered slips. One must have a number to be permitted a seat." Lin Ji looked up, and indeed everyone else was holding numbered slips while searching for their seats. I spoke with a hint of impatience. "You are quite talkative. What does it matter if I sit for a moment?" "Indeed," Lin Shi chimed in. "I also find you to be excessively talkative." Shifei crossed his arms over his chest and let out a cold snort. "Fine, I shall hold my tongue." Shortly after, he noticed a woman of refined temperament walking toward Mo Lin. He sneered to himself, thinking there would be a spectacle to watch. However, in the next instant, his mocking expression froze as he saw the young woman greeting me with great enthusiasm. "Brother Mo, you have arrived as well?" "It has been a long time," I said with a smile. "I came here with a friend." Shifei's expression became rigid. This new recruit was actually acquainted with the eldest daughter of the Qian family. At that very moment, an enthusiastic male voice rang out. "Brother Mo? Is that really Brother Mo?" I turned my head to see Wang Bing running toward me with great delight. After steadying himself, Wang Bing struggled to contain his excitement. "It has been too long. Your little brother has missed you dearly." Shifei's face, which had already looked. Why would the eldest young master of the Wang family be acquainted with this recruit? He even referred to himself as a younger brother. At that moment, I was introducing Lin Xuan to Wang Bing. "This is my friend. Could we possibly head up to the second floor?" Wang Bing responded with haste. "Of course, make yourself at home. There is absolutely no need for such formalities." I spoke with a hint of hesitation, however, I just heard that the two of us were supposedly not allowed up. Wang Bing looked perplexed and asked, "Who said that?" I turned my head toward Shifei. Wang Bing cast a glance at Shifei before replying, "He may not be allowed on the second floor, but you certainly are. The two of you are simply not in the same league." Lin Shi could not help but laugh at the sight, thinking to herself that Shifei had truly lost face, and then the four of us proceeded to the second floor. As we walked, Linji chuckled and said, "This time we have really struck gold, getting to dine on delicacies prepared by a state-level chef." Once we had found our seats, Qian Yun asked with great curiosity, "Brother Ma, have you been quite busy lately?" I nodded and replied, "I have been preoccupied with hunting ghosts recently." Qian Yun inquired further, "Is there anything you are working on? Is there any way I can be of assistance to you?" I suddenly recalled the promise I had made to the female ghost previously. Thus I spoke up, "I have promised a female ghost that I would help her find clothing and footwear." Qian Yun's eyes lit up. "Would that be a pair of embroidered shoes and a silk cloak?" I asked in astonishment, "How could you possibly know that?" Qian Yun smiled. "There is an auction tomorrow, and those are being advertised. Why don't I take you there tomorrow?" I nodded in agreement. Just then, Linji suddenly stopped eating. With a tense expression, she held her phone and said to me, "We have a situation. Zhao Fei and the others are being besieged by ghosts at Wanling Mountain, and several of our ghost messengers have already perished. It is rumored that there are several malevolent spirits there. Yunling has already headed out. Shall we go?" I stroked my chin and thought, Wanling Mountain. Was that not the very place where I landed upon returning from the Underworld? Furthermore, how could a matter involving the northern ghosts proceed without me? With that, I rose to my feet and declared, "Of course we are going." About 20 minutes later, the two of us arrived at the foot of Wanling Mountain. Dang Fang saw Lin Shi approach and stepped forward to greet her. "Lin Shi, you have arrived?" Lin Shi asked with concern. "Sister Dang, what is the current situation inside?" Duang Fang frowned deeply and replied, "The situation is dire. Over a dozen spirit tamers have already perished." Suddenly, the roar of a helicopter echoed from afar. I turned to look and saw Yunling approaching, holding her parasol. I felt a pang of envy, for I had to admit that her entrances were always undeniably ostentatious. Yunling asked Duang Fang, "Sister Duang, have all the members arrived?" Duang Fang hurriedly answered, "Everyone who could be mobilized is here. We have 32 spirit tamers in total." Yunling nodded and said, "Then let us proceed inside." However, we had barely traveled 100 meters before we discovered the corpse of a spirit tamer lying across our path. It appeared they had died only moments ago. Lin Shi's heart sank, and she swiftly summoned her ghostly energy to shield herself. I intended to venture deep into Wanling Mountain alone to investigate the situation. Thus I said to Lin Shi, "You go ahead. I shall head toward the east to see what I can find." Lin Shi nodded, indicating she understood. Yet, I had not traveled for even 2 minutes before I spotted a ghost hovering aimlessly in the air. This apparition very quickly took notice of me. It brandished its claws and lunged in my direction, but its movements were remarkably stiff, as if it were performing a scripted task. I struck with my sword and promptly obliterated the creature. It seemed someone had intentionally placed these ghosts here. With that thought, I continued to press forward. As I advanced, the concentration of ghostly energy grew increasingly thick. Soon I reached the mountainside, where I discovered strange markings carved upon the surrounding trees. These mysterious patterns were channeling ghostly energy into a single focal point. It was likely that someone was cultivating a truly formidable demon. Just then, I suddenly heard the sound of rolling stones. I followed the noise and discovered a man huddled within a shallow cavern. Upon seeing me, the man startled, his expression tense as he asked, "Are you human?" I nodded. Upon hearing this, Zhao Fei acted as if he had grasped a lifeline, scrambling up in agitation to say, "Brother, are you from the Spirit Taming Society?" I nodded again and replied, "Indeed, 32 of us from the society have arrived. Yunling and Lin Shi are here as well." Hearing this, Zhao Fei said anxiously, "It is ruined. You must warn them to flee immediately. There is a ghost of horrific caliber here. Yunling and the others are absolutely no match for it." I spoke with a grave tone. "It is already too late. They have all entered the depths." It turned out that Zhao Fei had intended to warn the group not to enter, but his phone suddenly lost all signal. He had just narrowly escaped that ferocious specter barely clinging to his life. Upon hearing this, I asked, "Where is this formidable demon you speak of?" Zhao Fei pointed toward the east and replied, "It is over there." With that, I turned to head in that direction. Xiao Fei hurriedly reached out to grab Mo Lin's arm. Do not go there. That specter is incredibly powerful, I reassured him. I know, but I have come to subdue it. Seeing that I did not appear to be joking, Xiao Fei instinctively swallowed hard. He thought to himself, this man is either deranged or truly possesses genuine strength. Thus he tentatively asked, in that case, do you require me to guide you? Elsewhere, Lin Ji had just struck down a common tier specter and immediately cautioned Yunling. Sister Yunling, the specters here are growing in number. Yunling frowned and replied, I am aware. She then shouted loudly to the others. Everyone gathered at their location in haste. They stood back to back, forming a defensive formation centered around Yunling. Tang Fang knit his brows and remarked, the situation is dire. Why does it feel as though we are being besieged by specters? Yunling had reached the same conclusion. These waves of specters were clearly intended to deplete their stamina. Consequently, she issued the command to retreat. Lin Shi spoke in a grave tone, Yunling, we can no longer retreat. Yunling cast her gaze toward the distance, only to realize the path down the mountain had been blocked by the specters. They were now like fish upon a chopping block, entirely surrounded by the horde. It appeared certain that there was an orchestrator behind these events. Thus Yunling shouted into the void, stop hiding, reveal yourself. Yet no one answered Yunling. Lin Shi cast a suspicious glance around. Yunling, are you perhaps being overly sensitive? However, no sooner had she spoken than her pupils gradually dilated, for upon a boulder not far away appeared an old man draped in a black cloak. Yunling's heart skipped a beat. She had merely attempted to shout out as a test, but unexpectedly she proceeded to ask, Senior, are these specters under your control? The old man in black laughed and replied, indeed they are my charges. Yunling understood in that moment that every event had been a Thus, she questioned him coldly. Senior, what is your true intention in leading us here? The old man laughed heartily. Naturally, I intend for all of you to perish. My treasure requires your essence and blood to flourish. The old man then clapped his hands and the surrounding low-level ghouls went into a frenzy, charging madly toward Yunling and the others. As these ghouls surged forward relentlessly, Yunling's contracted spirit began to falter, forcing them to fall back. The contracted spirits of several second-tier spirit masters were even torn to shreds on the spot. Yunling furrowed her brow. If this continued, every one of them would die here. Sensing the moment had arrived, the robed old man drew a floral sachet from his robe. My treasure, come forth. Immediately, an aura of terrifying pressure permeated the air. A female ghost materialized, hovering in midair. Yunling and the others recoiled instantly, their faces masks of terror. The old man issued his command. My treasure, slaughter these people. They are the feast I have prepared for you. The female ghost did not hesitate, lunging straight ahead. Yunling channeled her spirit energy to withstand a single blow from the female ghost, but the young man beside her was not as fortunate. He could only watch as the female ghost seized his body and wrenched his head clean from his shoulders, then used her hand as a conduit to siphon the man's essence and blood. In moments, the man's body withered into a husk. Following this, the female ghost turned and lunged toward Lin Ji. Just as she believed her end had come, a dark silhouette stepped before her, intercepting the female ghost's strike. Mo Lin, I smiled to console her. It is all right now, leave the rest to me. Lin Ji tugged at my robes, whispering, this cold joke of yours is not funny at all. Everyone is about to perish here, so please do not say such things. Tang Feng muttered in despair. It is said that our Spirit Control Guild has a 5th-tier Spirit Master. If they were to arrive, we might yet have hope. Yunling drew a deep breath and said, do not speak of that 5th-tier Spirit Master. Right now, we must focus on how to survive. At this moment, everyone present had steeled themselves for a final desperate stand. Yet from start to finish, I kept my gaze fixed solely upon the female ghost. My mouth watered, and then an unexpected scene unfolded. The female ghost actually turned and fled. Yunling and the others were stunned. I was equally bewildered. How could such a succulent morsel run away right before it reached my lips? How could this be? Without hesitation, I gave chase. The robed old man stood dumbfounded for a moment before snapping back to reality and hurrying to follow. This female ghost was the product of his tireless efforts and years of cultivation. Under normal circumstances, she would never have fled. Yunling observed that the most formidable female ghost had departed, and the old man behind the grand scheme had also retreated. Now, only low-level specters remained in the vicinity. She immediately issued a swift command to the group. Consequently, everyone moved with urgency, carving out a path of blood. They retreated along the same route by which they had arrived. Lin Ji looked in my direction as she left, saying, Mo Lin seems to have pursued that ferocious spirit. Tang Feng pulled Lin Shi's arm, insisting, do not worry about him, we must leave at once. Lin Ji hesitated for a moment, then pulled her arm away from Tang Feng and ran toward me. From behind, Tang Feng shouted in disbelief, are you insane? Elsewhere, the female ghost roared at me, why are you chasing me? I retorted with a question, why are you running? The female ghost shrieked frantically, if you did not chase, I would not run. I ignored her and shouted instead. Shenji emerged now. Instantly, Shenji blocked the female ghost's path. The female ghost lashed out with her sharp claws against Shen Shi, managing to break free within a few breaths before fleeing once more. I felt a surge of excitement as the spectral information appeared before me. Name Bingyu Realm Terror Grade Ghost Art Infinite Potential. Note, this ghost art possesses no offensive capabilities, but it allows the wielder to grow without bound. I clicked my tongue. One must understand that every ghost has its own inherent limitations. Take Shen Shi, for example. Currently at the Terror grade, she can reach the Mortal grade at best. Advancing beyond that level is exceedingly difficult, but this female ghost before me is different. She possesses no growth ceiling. This signifies that as long as she is provided with sufficient resources, she can evolve indefinitely. Having encountered a ghost with such potential, I certainly could not let her slip away. The female ghost darted rapidly through the air, and I kept in close pursuit. When I was approximately 5 meters away, I drew a hairpin and hurled it fiercely at her. The hairpin traced an arc through the air, and the next second, it struck the female ghost directly in the chest. The female ghost let out a piercing scream, subsequently losing her ability to resist. Just as I prepared to suppress this spirit, a loud shout rang out from behind. "Stop! What do you think you are doing?" I turned to face the old man in black robes and replied coldly, "Are you blind, old man? I am capturing a ghost." Upon seeing this, the old man produced a talisman and lunged toward me. Shen Shi hurriedly stepped in to block him. However, at the moment of their collision, a flash of lightning erupted, and Shen Shi was instantly sent flying. The old man brandished the talisman again, and another bolt of lightning struck Shen Shi with violent force. Shen Shi's physical form grew faint in an instant. I thought to myself, it seems the talisman in this old man's hand is far from ordinary. The old man in black robes reached me in an instant. He bellowed, "Boy, if you do not wish to die, get out of my way." I felt no fear, drawing my longsword and pointed it at him. The old man stood on ceremony, no longer, roaring, "Then you shall die." Immediately, a bolt of lightning as thick as a man's thigh struck toward me. I hurriedly unleashed the ghost soul severing claw technique while simultaneously blocking with my longsword. The moment the lightning struck the blade, the shock left my arm completely numb. This old man was the most formidable opponent I had ever encountered, yet I remained undaunted, for I discovered that every time he utilized a talisman, the life force within his body waned significantly. If this continued, even without me striking a blow, he would eventually perish on his own. Despair washed over the old man's face as he muttered to himself, "The yin spirit ghost soul severing claw technique. Boy, your karmic fortune is truly profound. To think a mere mortal has mastered the arts of the yin envoy." Realizing his end was near, he looked up toward the heavens and cried out, "Is this truly heaven's judgment?" I found the old man's actions deeply perplexing. What sort of trickery was this old man playing? He had just been intent on killing me, yet now he stood there in a trance? At that moment, the old man suddenly knelt and pleaded, "Young brother, I beg you, do not kill that female ghost." I was at a loss. We had just been locked in a life or death struggle, yet now he was attempting to appeal to my emotions. What madness was this that he would resort to begging? "I implore you not to kill that female ghost, I beg you." I glanced at the female ghost, then back at the old man, and realized the two bore a striking resemblance. Could this female ghost be his own daughter? Had he used forbidden arts to raise his own daughter into a specter? I sighed and explained, "Rest assured, I have no intention of killing her. I merely wish to adopt her." Upon hearing the word adopt, the old man let out a long sigh of relief before collapsing to the ground, lifeless. I crouched down to retrieve the talisman from the old man's hand, only to discover that it was not made of paper, but rather wood. Shortly after, I discovered a yellowed piece of paper hidden within the old man's pouch. I withdrew the paper and unfolded it, realizing it contained a detailed description of the talisman and the necessary steps to master it. It was essentially a secret manual. Inscribed upon it were the legacies of the Celestial Master: the Thunderbolt Talisman, the Fire Talisman, the Celestial Master's Ghost-Slaying Sword, the Peachwood Exorcism Sword, the Copper Mirror Ghost-Repelling Sword, and other various techniques. It appears this man in black was a descendant of a Celestial Master, though it is truly unexpected that such an illustrious legacy would fall so far as to resort to raising ghosts through slaughter. It is a profound tragedy. I stored the talisman and the manual away, then approached the female ghost, placing my hand upon her forehead. "Congratulations on a successful suppression." At that very moment, a woman's voice echoed from behind me. "Mo Lin, are you all right?" I turned to find Ling Shi had followed me. I smiled and replied, "I am unharmed." With an expression of utter disbelief, Ling Shi asked, "That was a nightmare-level spirit. How did you manage to neutralize it?" I offered no further explanation, instead walking down the mountain as I said, "It is truly over. Let us descend at once. This place is deathly cold. Let us not linger lest you catch a chill." Upon returning to the villa, I withdrew the manual to study the description of the Thunderbolt Talisman, which requires one to channel the essence of heaven and earth to command the lightning. But what precisely is this essence of heaven and earth? I possess no shortage of ghostly energy, yet it seems I must find an opportunity to visit the Jingqi Temple to seek answers. Just then, a knocking sound resonated from the door. "Mo Lin, open up." I opened the door to find Feng Mingwu standing there with a playful grin. It was late, and not wanting to waste time with pleasantries, I asked directly, "Speak, what is it you require of me?" Feng Mingwu entered and handed me a stack of Underworld currency, saying, "Did you not previously mention that for 10,000 units of Underworld currency, you could assist me in elevating the cultivation level of my contracted spirit?" I nodded, accepted the 10,000 units, and commanded Feng Mingwu appear. No sooner had the words left my lips than a ghostly silhouette manifested before Feng Mingwu. Feng Mingwu's jaw dropped in astonishment. His own contracted spirit had been summoned by another with but a single word. I then extracted 3,000 units of the currency, causing them to dissolve into a dense shroud of ghostly energy, which I then infused directly into the body of the contracted spirit before me. The following moment, the aura of the contracted spirit began to surge and rise steadily. Its physical color began to deepen, quickly advancing from the danger level to the menace level. Mingwu was overjoyed at the sight. Father, thank you so much. How did you do that? This defies all logic. I laughed and replied, the end of science is metaphysics. This is metaphysics, something you cannot comprehend. While speaking, I tucked the remaining 7,000 Ming coins into my pocket. Feng Mingwu looked visibly envious. 10,000 in, 7,000 out. That is truly an exorbitant profit. Ignoring his idle chatter, I handed him the lightning talisman and asked, do you recognize this? Feng Mingwu took the lightning talisman to examine it, his expression shifting instantly. The one who killed the heavenly master of the Thunder Mansion. Was it you? Before he could finish his sentence, he hurriedly returned the talisman to me. Forget it, I didn't see anything. Quickly put this talisman away. I will pretend I never laid eyes on it. I asked, filled with curiosity. Is the origin of this item truly that significant? Feng Mingwu cautioned me. It is not just significant, it is monumental. Have you never heard of the heavenly master of the Thunder Mansion? I shook my head and replied honestly. Never. Feng Mingwu sighed and began to explain. 3 years ago, the heavenly master of the Thunder Mansion fell gravely ill and prepared to pass the Thunder Mansion down to his daughter. Unexpectedly, an incident occurred along the way. Someone assassinated the heavenly master and plundered the Thunder Mansion. This event caused an enormous tremor throughout the realm at the time. The personnel from the 2 mansions, 3 halls, and 5 academies of the heavenly master's residence were all dispatched to search for the Thunder Mansion, but in the end, no one could find it, and eventually the matter faded into obscurity. Immediately after, Feng Mingwu said with a grave expression, you must never bring this item out again. When the lightning talisman appears, suffering and chaos follow. I took the lightning talisman and examined it carefully, murmuring to myself, to think that such a treasure has fallen into my hands, my luck is truly exceptional. Just then, my phone suddenly rang. After answering the call, Lu Feng's trembling voice came through. Brother Mo, I beg you to come to the Wanhai Plaza immediately. I asked, puzzled, what has happened to you? But from the other side, the voice of an unknown man roared in response. Are you finished speaking? With that, the call was disconnected. I looked at Feng Mingwu and asked, has your uncle offended anyone recently? Feng Mingwu pondered for a moment before replying, if I had to name someone he offended, it would be the incident where we killed Zhou Tian. I did not ask further. Knowing it stemmed from the death of Zhou Tian, I immediately headed out to drive. Feng Mingwu followed closely behind me, questioning, has something happened to my uncle? I opened the car door, took the driver's seat, and told Feng Mingwu, indeed, we must leave at once. Meanwhile, at the Wanhai Plaza, Lu Feng knelt on the ground, his body covered in wounds. A man dressed in black stepped heavily onto Lu Feng's head, issuing a threat. Lu Feng, if that brat does not show up, I will end your life today. Lu Feng neither resisted nor begged for mercy, allowing his assailant to torment him at will. At that very moment, a Rolls-Royce pulled up outside the plaza. As Feng Mingwu and I stepped out of the vehicle, the man in black cast a glance our way and began to curse. You dog. Get over here. I glanced at the battered Lu Feng and asked the man in black, if you want me to come over, you must at least provide a reason. The man in black spoke coldly, you killed my cousin Zhou Tian. I have come today to exact revenge, he then continued with a mocking tone. Of course, if you kneel and beg for mercy, perhaps I will be in a good enough mood to merely break your leg and let you live like a dog. I scanned the surroundings and discovered 9 second-level ghost controllers and 3 third-level ghost controllers. Such a formation was underwhelming. Thus I spoke up, I will give you 2 choices, either you perish or you release him. The man in black felt as though he had just heard a comical joke and asked his men, did you hear what he said? Did you all hear that? He actually dares to say he will kill us. One of his underlings let out a loud laugh. Ha 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 ha. Brother Xiao, you heard correctly, he explicitly said he intends to kill us. Another man jeered, a mere dog dares to be this arrogant? Could this be a mad dog? My eyes narrowed slightly. Yuan Cao and the others saw this and hesitated no longer. One after another, they summoned over a dozen entities, surrounding me in the center. Those contracted ghosts also stared fixedly at me. I let out a cold snort. If you do not wish for your souls to be scattered, then begone. In the very next moment, an endless surge of ghostly aura erupted from me, radiating outward in all directions. The dense, suffocating aura instantly enshrouded the entire plaza. At that moment, every single contracted ghost was seized by terror. Yuan Cao ordered his contracted ghost to strike, yet the ghost seemed not to hear the command, remaining completely motionless. Suspecting his ghost had failed to hear him, Yuan Cao issued the order to attack once more. Not only did his ghost refuse to attack, but it now sought to sever the contract entirely. Yuan Cao was utterly stunned. He knew well that breaking a contract demanded a staggering price. Then a scene even more shocking to Yuan Cao unfolded, as his own ghost knelt before Mo Lin. The contracted ghosts of the dozen others also unilaterally severed their bonds at this time. These men shrieked, my contracted ghost, why have you broken our pact? I was willing to sustain you with nether currency. Why would you sever the contract? Feng Mingwu, standing to the side, watched in astonishment with wide eyes. With but a single action, Mo Lin had forced over a dozen ghosts to break their contract simultaneously. This was truly beyond belief. I asked the ghosts kneeling before me, are any of you willing to follow me? No sooner had my voice faded than the dozen ghosts scrambled and shouted to be heard. My lord, I am willing to serve you. My lord, I am at your disposal. My lord, I too am willing to follow you. Feng Mingwu could hardly bear to watch any longer. These ghosts were behaving in such a servile, fawning manner. I raised my hand, revealing my ring. The next moment, all of those dozen ghosts vanished into the ring. I then turned to look at Yuan Cao, who was just about to beg for mercy, and slapped him so hard he collapsed to the ground. The remaining men were struck with fear and immediately knelt. I could not be bothered with their pleas and walked over to Lu Feng to comfort him. I will resolve the events of today once and for all. Lu Feng expressed his heartfelt gratitude. Thank you, brother. Truly, I am deeply grateful. At this moment, a young man slowly approached and spoke, Brother, please show mercy to Lu Qing. Yuan Cao, as if he had seen a lifeline, lunged toward the young man. Brother Lin, save me. Please save me. Lin Kai signaled for Yuan Cao to say no more. He then looked at me and said, You have already beaten him. Yuan Cao has already apologized to you. Why don't we let this matter end here? I frowned at the person before me, feeling deeply displeased. What does he mean by the matter being resolved? A moment ago, Yuan Cao harbored murderous intent. Had I not been stronger, neither Lu Feng nor I would have seen the sun rise tomorrow. Thus, I spoke coldly, If you kneel and apologize on his behalf and slap yourself 10 times, I will consider sparing him. Lin Kai was instantly incensed, pointing his finger at me as he shouted, Do not go too far. I gave a cold laugh. Oh? When I ask you to kneel and apologize, you become enraged. Then, what gives you the right to think that a single word from you is enough to make me release him? Do you think you are something special? Lin Kai was so angry his face turned red. You brat, you truly do not know your place, but before he could finish, he felt a cold chill upon his neck. He felt as if a ghostly hand were strangling him. Completely terrified, Lin Kai hurriedly apologized. I apologize, I will leave at once. I then spoke up. Shen Shi, let him go. Shen Shi, ever obedient, released her grip. Lin Kai did not dare say another word. He turned and fled, feeling fortunate as he ran. It is fortunate I apologized quickly, otherwise I surely would have died. The ghost that grabbed my throat was definitely a nightmare-level, malevolent spirit. Yuan Cao watched the retreating back of Lin Kai, sinking into complete despair. I commanded Shen Shi to take action. Just then, an aged voice suddenly echoed through the air. Little brother, killing someone in such a crowded place is not exactly appropriate. I turned around, speechless. Why must there always be someone meddling in matters that do not concern them? I saw an old man with hair white as snow standing not far away, and I asked impatiently, Who are you? The old man smiled and introduced himself. This old man is known as Kun Xuan. Some also call me the Fire Talisman Grandmaster. A glimmer of hope surged once more on Yuan Cao's desperate face, and he hurriedly begged the old master to save his life. Feng Mingwu frowned slightly. Today's situation has become rather troublesome. The Fire Talisman Grandmaster has actually arrived. Kun Xuan, seeing that I would not yield, urged again, Little brother, your killing aura is too heavy. Murder is not necessarily the solution to every problem. I said coldly, my apologies, but today only by taking his life can this matter be resolved. You are advanced in years, so you would do well to stop meddling in affairs that do not concern you. Kun Xuan continued to posture, Father, why are the youths of today so reckless? Do you not realize that taking a life incurs karmic debt? My patience completely snapped. You senile old fool, you talk far too much. When Yuan Cao sought to kill me earlier, not a single one of you stepped forward to speak a word of reason. Now that I seek to end Yuan Cao, all manner of meddlers jump out from the shadows. I raised my voice and declared, If you truly wish to save him, then step forth. As my voice faded, Shen Shi, Su Xing, Hong Ye, and Bing Yu, spirits, manifested simultaneously surrounding the area. Kun Xuan instinctively pulled out a crimson talisman, offering a mocking praise. Little brother, you truly possess remarkable ability to command 4 nightmare rank spirits. Kun Xuan hesitated for a moment, then waved his hand dismissively. Youth is indeed a magnificent thing, so vibrant and bold. This old man will no longer concern himself with your grievances. I depart. And so, Yuan Cao's final glimmer of hope was thoroughly extinguished. This time, I did not act immediately. Instead, I surveyed my surroundings and asked, Is there anyone else who wishes to impede me? I mused to myself, waiting to see if anyone else would dare emerge, only to be met with a cold death. After a moment, seeing that no one dared to step forward, I signaled to Shen Shi. Shen Shi understood my intent immediately, stepping before Yuan Cao and piercing his heart with a single strike. Yuan Cao's sworn brothers, upon seeing his demise, cast aside all loyalty and fled in every direction to save their own lives. Feng Mingwu asked in astonishment, How did you manage to obtain 2 additional nightmare rank spirit contracts? This defies all logic. I chuckled. Your perspective is too narrow. I have told you many times, the end of science is mysticism. Meanwhile, in a different location, Kun Xuan sat upon a sofa, questioning a young man on whether the Leifu had been found. The man replied with a grave expression, We have recovered the remains of Bing Yanfei at Wanling Mountain, but the Leifu was nowhere to be found. Kun Xuan commanded the man, The Leifu must have been. It seems the Leifu is located in Yunchuan City. Go and investigate who was responsible for the death of Bing Yanfei. At the same time, in a separate hotel, a woman clad in black stood before a window, gazing into the distance with a mournful expression. She had come to Yunchuan City to reclaim the Leifu that rightfully belonged to her. Just then, a man entered and reported respectfully, My lady, the remains of Bing Yanfei have been found. The woman turned, her voice sharp with inquiry, Bing Yanfei is dead? How could he have faked his own demise? The man replied truthfully, We have verified it multiple times. He is truly dead. The woman struggled to accept this, muttering to herself, How could he have died? He bore the blood feud of his slaughtered wife and child. How could he have perished? He stole the Lei Fu from the Zhuge family and hid away for so. How could he have perished so easily? Immediately after, the woman raised her head and asked, how did he die? The man replied he utilized a lightning talisman which caused severe damage to his meridians. He exhausted his life force and perished, but before he drew his final breath, he must have encountered a formidable adversary. Upon hearing this, the woman issued an immediate command, go and investigate who this person is. The middle-aged man then spoke up, since the disciple of the Fire Axe Master desires these two ghost artifacts, I shall present them to you as a gift. Shantian smiled and said, then I offer my thanks. Once this auction concludes, I shall invite you for tea. Seeing this, I stood up abruptly to challenge them. I have already purchased these two ghost artifacts. By what authority do you have the right to gift them to him? The middle-aged man retorted, by the simple fact that I am the manager of this auction house. That is the authority I possess. Furthermore, we have yet to receive your currency. Shantian interjected, brother, my apologies, but you will not be able to acquire these two ghost artifacts. This is the true importance of connections. Do you understand? I clenched my fists tightly. This individual truly knows how to provoke one's disgust. Just then, an inquiring voice rang out. What is happening here? I looked toward the source of the voice and saw Fu Wanton asking impatiently, who is causing a disturbance? Zhao San hurriedly pointed at me. It is him causing the disturbance here. I shall have him removed immediately. Fu Wantan was about to erupt in anger, but the moment he clearly identified me, he struck Zhao San across the face. Who gave you the authority to cast anyone out? Immediately after, he greeted me with great enthusiasm. Brother Mo, why did you not inform me of your arrival beforehand? Qian Yun stood to the side, observing Fu Wantan, then looking at Mo Lin and finally glancing at Shantian, who was still posturing arrogantly in the distance. It seems something interesting is about to happen. Soon after, she heard Fu Wantan ask, Brother Mo, what is the matter? I then gave Fu Wantan a brief account of the entire situation. Fu Wantan's face turned pale with fury as he glared at Zhao San. Zhao San, your boldness knows no bounds. Terrified to the point of turning white, Zhao San stammered, Young master, I was unaware that this person was your acquaintance. Fu Wantan replied coldly, whether he is my friend or not, you have no right to violate the rules of this auction house. Zhao San offered a rigid explanation. That person is a disciple of Master Huo Fu. I merely wish to cultivate a relationship with him. Fu Wantan spoke directly, you are dismissed. Zhao San stood utterly stunned, still attempting to plead his case. Ignoring Zhao San, Fu Wantan walked straight up to Shandian and said with a smile, my apologies, but these two ghost artifacts cannot be gifted to you. Shandian, filled with dissatisfaction, challenged him. What is the meaning of this? Do you intend to go back on your word? Fu Wantan replied with a laugh, according to the auction house rules, those two ghost artifacts now belong to my friend. Shandian retorted, by offending me, you offend my master. Fu Want smiled, rules are rules. Even if Master Huo Fu were here in person, I would not grant him any special favors. Infuriated, Shandian turned and stormed off, having lost all face today. Afterward, Fu Wantan had his men pack the two ghost artifacts and hand them to me. Then Fu Wantan pulled me aside and whispered, Brother Mo, two groups from the Li family have already arrived to investigate the incident involving Li San. I have suppressed the news for now, but I fear I cannot keep it hidden for long. I nodded and replied, do not worry, as long as the Li family does not pursue this to the bitter end, there is no cause for concern. If they are determined to escalate the matter, it will be difficult, but I am capable of dealing with them. Wanton nodded, I understand. If there is any news from the Li family, I will notify you immediately. Upon leaving the auction house, I went straight to the mountain where Chu Ye resided. However, no sooner had I arrived than I noticed quite a few people gathered there, wondering why such a remote and desolate place had become so bustling, when I heard a man behind me offer a warning. Brother, there is a dangerous, malevolent spirit here. If you have no pressing business, you should leave at once. I nodded and asked in return, then what are you all doing here? The man replied solemnly, we are here to exorcise the spirit naturally. Upon hearing this, I immediately grew anxious and hurried up the mountain. The men behind me were stunned. After being warned of a spirit, why would anyone still rush toward it? Meanwhile, I quickly spotted a woman dressed in black leading a group of people, marking the surrounding trees with strange symbols. The moment I appeared, the woman noticed me and warned me with a stern expression. Fellow Taoist, this place is treacherous. You must leave immediately. I looked at the woman and asked, this spirit is incredibly powerful. You are no match for it. I advise you to reconsider. The woman in black. Chu Mingyu let out a cold laugh. Humph, there is no spirit that I cannot subdue. With that, she turned back to her work. Darkness fell quickly, and before anyone knew it, thick fog began to shroud the area. Chu Mingyu soon realized that something was amiss and immediately shouted a warning. Everyone, prepare yourselves. The spirit is about to emerge. As the voice faded, a ghostly silhouette began to manifest. 4 men suddenly soared into the air. They cast a net woven of crimson rope, attempting to ensnare the female ghost. A crackling sound echoed, and black smoke began to rise continuously from the ghost's body. Simultaneously, another man hurled a handful of incense ash toward the apparition. With a flicker of movement, the female ghost easily evaded the attack. Immediately after, she unleashed a wave of dark energy, tearing a gaping hole through the crimson net. Seizing the opening, the female ghost lunged outward. It was at this moment that Zhuge Mingyue realized the entity had reached the nightmare rank. She urgently cried out, everyone retreat at once. However, her warning came too late. With a sickening thud, the ghost's hand pierced through the man's chest. The others recoiled in terror. Just then, the talismans they had prepared earlier erupted with a brilliant golden light. The barrier prevented the female ghost from advancing further. Likewise, Zhuge Mingyu and the others dared not step into the golden radiance. Unwilling to accept defeat, the ghost relentlessly pelted the barrier with blades of dark energy. As the golden light began to dim, a young man turned to Zhuge Mingyu and asked, "Senior sister, what should we do now?" Zhuge Mingyu spoke with a grave expression. "You all must go," before the young man could protest. Zhuge Mingyu cut him off, insisting that they leave. No longer hesitating, the young man led his fellow disciples away. Meanwhile, Zhuge Mingyu drew a cyan talisman from her storage pouch. At that very moment, with a sharp crack, the female ghost shattered the formation and charged directly at Zhuge Mingyu. Surrounding Zhuge Mingyu, flickers of cyan lightning began to manifest. Without a moment's hesitation, she lunged toward the ghost. In the following moment, human and spirit clashed. Each strike from the ghost was effortlessly parried by the arcs of lightning surrounding Zhuge Mingyu. Yet, with every move she made, the lightning talisman in her hand began to fade. It was clear that the talisman could not sustain its power for much longer. Realizing she could not defeat the entity, Zhuge Mingyu formed a hand seal, summoning a bolt of lightning to strike the ghost directly. The female ghost was driven backward by more than a meter. Seizing the opportunity, however, the moment she turned around, she saw me walking toward that female spirit, oblivious to the danger. She hurriedly called out, "Flee at once, are you courting death?" I couldn't be bothered to pay her any mind and took out the embroidered shoes and clothing. Immediately afterward, I spoke to the female spirit hovering in the air. Then, amidst the astonished gaze of Zhuge Mingyu, the spirit obediently descended and landed before me. Zhuge Mingyu muttered, "How truly duplicitous." I observed the female spirit from head to toe and said with a sense of relief, "Fortunate she is unharmed." Following that, I took the embroidered shoes and clothing and dressed the spirit. Once the female spirit was clothed, a drastic transformation occurred. Her rotting visage began to heal rapidly. She even became somewhat beautiful, and her aura surged in strength. I patted the spirit's head and offered praise, saying, "Not bad at all." Zhuge Mingyu stood to the side, rendered utterly speechless. "That thing is a nightmare rank spirit. Do you think it is some pet dog you've raised?" I then show the spirit into my spirit suppression tome. Name undisclosed, rank, skill, severing strength. It condenses ghost energy to deliver a lethal blow with damage scaling based on the master's own strength. Yield 80 Underworld coins per day. Zhuge Mingyu, seeing the spirit vanish, asked in astonishment, "Have you truly subjugated that spirit?" I nodded and prepared to depart. Mingyu, feeling unreconciled, pressed for an answer. "Why did that female spirit not harm you? Why was it so willing to submit to you?" I looked at Zhuge Mingyu with resignation and replied, "If I told you she was conquered by my personal charm, would you believe me?" Seeing my casual attitude, Zhuge Mingyu took the initiative to introduce herself. "My name is Zhuge Mingyu, senior sister of the Celestial Master's Thunder Mansion." I nodded coldly. "I am aware. Is there anything else?" "If there is nothing, I shall take my leave." Zhuge Mingyu asked skeptically, "You seem to hold some distaste for me," as I sighed inwardly. "The thunder talisman of your sect is still in my possession. I fear you might demand its return." Seeing my silence, Zhuge Mingyu spoke again. "Can you tell me why the spirit just now did not attack you?" I countered her question, then, "Can you teach me how to utilize the thunder talisman?" Zhuge Mingyu replied with firm resolve, "If you tell me the reason why, then I will teach you," I immediately responded. "This method does not seem very valuable, does it?" Zhuge Mingyu smiled as she introduced it. "In truth, it is merely an ordinary introductory cultivation manual. It is called the Qi Control Method. There is nothing particularly special about it. The Jingxi Hall possesses one as well, though they refer to it as the Qi Guiding Manual. The essence remains the same. It is simply a difference in terminology. Practitioners of the Tao generally understand this type of technique." Upon hearing this, my eyes lit up. If I could master the Qi Control Method, would I not be able to utilize the lightning talismans? Seeing me lost in thought, Zhuge Mingyu reminded me, "Can you speak now?" I composed myself and replied, "It is nothing. The ghost was simply afraid of me." Zhuge Mingyu asked, unconvinced, "Is it really that simple?" I answered with complete sincerity, "It really is that simple." Hearing this, Zhuge Mingyu could not help but study me with renewed intensity. If even a nightmare-level ghost fears this person, does that not mean he is even more formidable than a nightmare-level ghost? Afterward, Zhuge Mingyu and I exchanged contact information. She sent the Qi Control Method to me. What I found novel was that it included not only the text but also instructional videos to accompany it. Just as I was engrossed in my studies, Zhuge Mingyu suddenly turned back, pulling out a fake lightning talisman as if facing a formidable enemy. I looked up just in time to see the Yin messenger Li Shay flying toward us. She bowed respectfully and reported, "My lord, the investigation is complete. Those who apprehended me before will arrive at Jingxi Hall tomorrow." Zhuge Mingyu, standing to the side, felt her head spin at the title of my lord used by the Yin messenger. A Yin messenger was actually addressing a living human as my lord. What on earth was happening here? I pondered for a moment before asking, "Do you know the identity of the opposing party?" Li Shui replied respectfully, "The opposition consists of two great ghosts from the ghost realm, along with a faction from the Ziwu Manor. This Ziwu Manor is the power base of the ghost matriarch. This ghost matriarch previously belonged to our Yin capital. They are the representatives of the underworld in the human realm." Zhuge Mingyu added from the side, "Before the ghosts arrived in the mortal realm, a ghost matriarch was a profession dedicated to communicating with the spirits. After the ghost domain descended, the ghost matriarchs utilized spiritualism to summon formidable entities from the netherworld. Eventually, they ascended to become a formidable force in their own right. Li Shui continued, previously, the ghost matriarch calculated my whereabouts and joined forces with the ghost domain to capture me. Only then did I understand why the spirits of the ghost domain were always able to track down the yin envoys. With a cold expression, I declared, let us go. We are heading to Ziwu Manor. Zhuge Mingyo, standing beside me, witnessed this and hurriedly reminded me that the matriarch of Ziwu Manor raises countless minor spirits and possesses 2 nightmare-level malevolent spirits that are extremely dangerous. I let out a cold laugh. How coincidental. I fear many things, but ghosts are not among them. In the blink of an eye, I donned my official Yin Bureau robes. Zhuge Mingyu stared in disbelief. It was as if the Yin Bureau's authority caused even those female ghosts to fear him. Half an hour later, our group of 3 arrived before the grand gates of Ziwu Manor. The moment we came to a halt, the wind chimes hanging at the entrance began to chime frantically. Immediately following, the great door slowly creaked open, revealing a young girl peering out. But the moment she caught sight of me, she recoiled in haste. The 3 of us stepped into the courtyard, and we could clearly feel a surge of frigid, deathly energy rushing toward us. As I walked further inside, I saw an old woman clutching 3 incense sticks, standing before an altar. At the time when the ghost domain invaded the blue planet, people like us, who frequently commune with the netherworld, are the most susceptible to possession. It is for our own protection. Many ghost matriarchs, like myself, chose to communicate with the spirits of the ghost domain, while others opted to collaborate with the Naihei Bridge faction. Having spoken, the old woman prepared to light another 3 sticks of incense. Seeing this, I impatiently interjected, stop lighting them. You already know I am human. What effect could your ghost incense possibly have on me? As she continued to light them, the old woman's body suddenly stiffened. Her petty trick had been exposed, and the atmosphere became somewhat awkward. I pondered for a moment before continuing, very well, use your methods to communicate now. Let me see what you can do. The old woman nodded and brought out a bundle of crimson incense to light before the statue of King Yama, muttering incantations under her breath that were unintelligible. Shortly after, I saw the smoke from the incense drifting directly into the statue of King Yama. Logically speaking, the Yin capital should have received the call from this old woman, so why was there no response? The only explanation was that someone within the Yin capital was meddling. Thus I spoke up. That is enough, there is no— Thereafter, the old woman stood up and spoke to me, stating that the formidable demon from the nether realm had arrived in the clouds and that we would certainly meet soon. She then cast her gaze down upon her granddaughter before looking up to address me. The fault is mine, and I am willing to bear the consequences. But I have only this one granddaughter. I beg you to show mercy and spare her. I did not agree immediately, but instead proposed a condition. I can spare your granddaughter, provided you help me deal with the demons. The old woman hesitated for a moment, turning to look at the 2 nightmare-level demons behind her. I also turned my gaze toward these 2 entities. It appeared that both of these demons had been dispatched from the nether realm to keep the old woman under surveillance. With that realization, I spoke up. You need not fear these 2 demons any longer. Immediately, I reached out and seized one of the demons by the head. The remaining demon turned and attempted to flee. I flicked my wrist and an iron chain instantly shot forth, binding the demon tightly. I then sealed both demons within the ghost-suppressing tome. Name, Vinfong, rank, memory projection, able to manifest a clone. Nether currency production 80 per day. Name Cam Long Tuan, rank nightmare level, skill, soul extraction, nether currency production 80 per day. Suddenly, the ghost-suppressing tome automatically flipped to the first page, displaying a message. Congratulations, you have completed the mission. Your nether currency income has increased tenfold. I was instantly elated, nearly laughing aloud. Truly, this was a windfall from the heavens. I now possessed 10 nightmare-level demons. My daily income was now 8,000 nether currency. In 10 days, that would be 80,000 nether currency. In 1 month, 240,000 nether currency. Heavens, in just over 10 years. Wouldn't my personal wealth exceed the combined treasury of the entire Underworld city? The old woman, seeing my foolish grin, stammered, Are you not? I quickly suppressed my smile. I am fine. Very well, I shall now grant you a choice. Will you follow the nether realm, or will you choose to follow me? The old woman sighed and replied, Do I even have a choice? Upon hearing this, I snapped my fingers and over a dozen ghosts emerged from my ring. I then said to the old woman, These ghosts are now yours. In the future, should I require your assistance, I shall send word to you. Having finished my instructions, I led Zhuge Mingyu away. As we parted ways, Zhuge Mingyu asked with deep suspicion, Are you not afraid that the old woman will stab you in the back? I smiled and replied, Wise people rarely commit such foolish acts. Afterward, I returned home and immediately began to study the qi manipulation technique. This technique essentially teaches one how to perceive primordial qi. It took me over 5 full hours just to sense the presence of that energy. Next, I began learning how to utilize the lightning talismans. The first stage is the summoning technique. The second stage is lightning control, which involves cloaking one's entire body in thunderbolts to repel an opponent's attacks. The third stage is the simultaneous execution of both summoning and control. Once I grasped the fundamentals, I began to channel my qi to activate the lightning talisman. The very next second, the talisman danced in my palm, and I could clearly feel that a surge of immense power was contained within, ready to be unleashed at any moment. I locked my gaze onto a porcelain vase and unleashed the energy. With a sudden crackle, the vase before me was completely shattered by the lightning strike. Just then, a thunderous shout echoed from the front gate. "Open the door! Open it at once!" I went to open the gate to investigate. I was left utterly stunned. Seeing my silence, the girl at the gate raised her hand. The next moment, a crimson flame materialized in her palm without further warning. "Do you believe I will burn your house to the ground?" I was so startled that my tongue went numb. The beautiful woman demanded, "Do you still remember me?" I stammered. "Remember? Of course I remember." It turned out this woman was Kui Xing, a member of the Nightbridge faction and a disciple of the judge who presided over the Red Lotus karmic fire. She was a living soul, meaning she could only remain in the underworld for 7 days each month. At the time, I was merely a lowly underworld emissary. I had encountered Xingyu while she was wandering, unaware that she was a living human. Furthermore, all the spirits in the underworld were hideously ugly, so when I suddenly laid eyes upon such a beauty, my eyes lit up. Consequently, I captured her and enslaved her for several days, though I did nothing to her. I simply wanted to admire her. Afterward, I released her. By the time I met Kui Xingyu again, she had already mastered the Red Lotus karmic fire. Fearing she had come for revenge, I had gone into hiding. Sui Xingyu looked at me coldly and said, "I never expected you to be a living human." I retorted, "And I never expected you to be one either." Thoi Ting Wet let out a cold laugh. "Ma Lin, in the Yin realm, you bore this name. I never expected you to retain it here in the Yang realm. If you had not, I would have had no way of knowing you had crossed over." She then seemed to recall something, and her expression darkened instantly. In that moment, the crimson flames flared, rising another meter in height. I recoiled in terror. "You do not come any closer. It is broad daylight. What is it that you want?" I quickly pulled out my phone. "Do you believe I will not record this and post it online? I will tell everyone you are bullying an innocent person." Upon seeing this, Thoi Tingwet halted her advance. I hastily asked, "What is it you truly want by coming to find me?" Thoi Tingwet gave a cold snort. "To settle our debts, of course." I sighed, telling Thoi Tingwet that it was not necessary to go to such lengths. At that moment, I confessed that I had mistaken her for a ghost, and the icy glint in her eyes intensified. "If you are not afraid of death, then keep speaking," I muttered under my breath. Who could have known that a living person would engage in such soul projection to the Yin realm? Such bizarre behavior. Thoi Ting yet waved her hand, and a streak of crimson flame shot forth. I dodged hurriedly, hearing a sharp sound as it passed. The flames erupted from the ground, rising over a meter high. Terrified and shaken, I cried out in desperation, "Thoi Ting Wet, the past is behind us. Should we not look toward the future?" Thoi Ting Nuet narrowed her eyes. Far from calming down, her fury only deepened. Ma Lin had defiled her soul, and yet he had the audacity to claim it was all in the past. How could he be so flippant? Reflecting on this, Thoi Tin Nuet grew even more enraged. "I suggest you find yourself another home." With those words finished, soon after the entire villa was consumed by a raging inferno. I stood there, rendered speechless by the sight. This was my new home after all. Tu Xingyu cast a fierce glare at me before turning on her heel and departing. I was left utterly bewildered. Is she truly insane, sneaking over here just to set my house ablaze? I watched the burning house with a sense of helplessness. This is the Crimson Karma fire, I dare not touch it. This residence is effectively lost. What a stroke of misfortune. It seems I will be staying at an inn again tonight. Early the following morning, I arrived at the Jingzi Hall. Upon entering, I noticed the disciples gathering their belongings as if preparing to relocate. At that moment, Qingyun spotted me and asked in surprise, "Brother Mo, why have you arrived so early?" I let out a yawn. "It is nothing. Tell me, is your Jingzi Hall planning to move?" Qingyun looked at me with a weary expression and replied, "If we do not vacate now, there may be nothing left by nightfall." Just as I was about to respond, Li Hui, the Taoist master of Jingzi Hall, stood at the entrance of the main hall, signaling to me. "Lord Mo, please follow me this way." Upon entering the main hall, I discovered that only a single table remained. Li Hui spoke with a smile. "Lord Mo, you are surely destined for a fierce battle tonight, and my Jingzi Hall will inevitably be drawn into the fray. I fear half of these buildings will be razed to the ground." I said with a sense of embarrassment, "Surely it will not come to that." Li Hui remained lighthearted, laughing as he said, "Once you strike at the blood pit, slaying anyone in your path, even the Buddhas themselves, my Jingzi Hall, with its humble wooden structures, cannot endure such calamity." I stared at the old man in silence. Am I truly that destructive? As night fell, every valuable item within the Jingzi Hall had been cleared away. At that precise moment, a series of urgent footsteps echoed outside the gate, and 5 strange men entered the premises, walking straight toward Qingyun and declaring, "I have come to collect the payment." Before Thon Van could respond, I spoke first, asserting that they had captured a ghost messenger. Upon seeing me, the burly man's expression shifted instantly. He shouted at Thon Van, "Tin Tu Duong, you have broken the rules. I sell my goods at your establishment, yet you have leaked my information." I let out a disdainful cold snort, stopped with the roundabout excuses. "You intentionally sold a ghost messenger intending to lure me out. We are all 1,000-year-old foxes. Why bother with these supernatural charades?" It was only after visiting the ghost matriarch yesterday that I understood the truth. In reality, they had been tracking me since I arrived in the human realm, but because I am a living being, they could not discern my whereabouts. Thus, they orchestrated the sale of the ghost messenger to draw the snake out of its hole. I then spoke coldly. You surely came here with the intention of exterminating me, did you not? The burly man laughed and spoke. Moam Sai? No, it should be Moam. You are truly clever. I asked in confusion, you know who I am? His expression then shifted, and he said with disgust, you lot, these ghosts of the ghost realm truly have no bottom line. To think you are dignified ghosts who refuse to act as such, preferring instead to possess the corpses of the dead. The burly man mocked. Moam, are you searching for a sense of justice here? After speaking, the burly man produced the severed head of a young girl from somewhere, tossed it casually before me, and said, I have slaughtered her entire family. Do you wish to seek vengeance for her? Before I could even speak, Li Hui, standing beside me, asked, why did you kill her? The burly man laughed boisterously. Does this require a reason? I simply encountered them on the road and killed them on a whim. I said nothing more and drew my blade. The burly man let out a cold snort of contempt. It seems even a ghost messenger has developed a personality, hasn't he? Have you forgotten the way you were chased like a stray dog by me back then? My pupils suddenly constricted and an invisible aura radiated outward in all directions with me at its center. You are a gong cultivator from the ghost realm. So this is the very cultivator who single-handedly slaughtered tens of thousands of ghosts in the Amhai realm years ago. That night, the wails of ghosts echoed throughout the entire underworld. At that time, I was merely a low-ranking yin messenger, lacking sufficient strength. I was hunted by him relentlessly. It was only thanks to several ghosts with whom I shared a bond that I managed to narrowly escape with my life. However, those who helped me were all slain by Gong Tu. It was only later, when the King of Hell himself intervened, that the crisis was finally resolved. Seeing that I had recognized him, Gong Tu laughed even more boisterously. That is correct. Indeed, it is I. You were but a lowly yin messenger back then. It was fortunate that you managed to flee. In the years since we last met, you have ascended to become a high-ranking yin official. I spoke with a voice as cold as ice. Very well, I shall settle both our old debts and the new ones today. I will ensure your soul is scattered to the winds, Gong Tu sneered. Oh my, look at the yin official, such arrogance. Do you truly know what you are dealing with? To prepare for your arrival, I have spent an entire month in contemplation. Upon finishing his sentence, Gong Tu produced a staff topped with a demonic skull. The moment the staff appeared, one could hear the desperate cries and pleas of countless infant spirits emanating from it. Li Hu, standing to the side, slowly rose to his feet and began walking toward Mo Lin. Thon Van hurriedly stepped forward to block his path. Taoist Master, did you not previously advise us not to interfere in this matter? Li Hu explained with complete composure. That is correct. I told you not to interfere, but I never said that I myself would remain idle. In truth, before encountering Gong Tu, he had genuinely wanted to avoid this meddlesome affair, as it was both exhausting and thankless. But after laying eyes on Gong Tu, Li Hu's attitude shifted entirely. Such malicious spirits deserve nothing less than total annihilation. Seeing this, Thon Van hurriedly asked, then Taoist Master, is there any way I can assist? Li Hui waved his hand and remarked, stand aside, for the moment you are of no help here. He then turned to me and said, brother, allow this old man to lend you a hand. I nodded, though I said nothing. I tightened my grip on my blade and charged directly toward Gong Tu. In an instant, the man and the ghost clashed in fierce combat. Both wielded yin energy, yet as they confronted one another, Gong Tu held the upper hand, his strikes carrying immense power. The staff in his hand could assault the very soul, making it a formidable weapon to counter. Realizing that close-quarters combat offered no advantage, I decided to shift my tactics. Thus, I unleashed a series of ghostly arts in rapid succession: Ghost Art, Ghost Technique, Memory of Remembrance, Soul Severing, Ghostic, Obliteration. With these, he directly forced Gong Tu into a retreat. He even struck him so hard that he was knocked out of his physical vessel. Li Hu, standing nearby, could only watch in stunned silence. In less than a minute, Mo Lin had unleashed at least 5 distinct ghost techniques, each one possessing immense power. It appears that I had significantly underestimated Mo Lin. Gong Tu shouted to the 3 ghosts in the distance, do not just stand there. Come over here and assist me. Seeing this, I refused to be outdone. You possess assistants? My apologies, but I have them as well. A group battle, who fears whom? In an instant, 5 nightmare-grade ghosts manifested before me. Li Hui was so astonished that he could not keep his jaw from dropping. Nightmare-grade ghosts? Can Mo Lin simply summon them like this? Does he have no limitations? On the other side, Shen Shi had already made her move, lunging toward one of the vicious ghosts. Simultaneously, the other ghosts engaged in the fray. As each entity unleashed its own ghost technique, the situation turned dire, with terrifying energy radiating in all directions. I engaged Gong Tu in combat once more. With a nimble dodge, Gong Tu bypassed my strike. He appeared behind me, wielding his staff to viciously impale my back. At that critical moment, Bing Yu suddenly materialized, shielding me from Gong Tu's strike. With a sickening sound, she was run through, and her physical form began to fade. I hurriedly produced 10,000 Underworld coins, converting them into a surge of ghostly energy that I infused into Bing Yu's body. The wounds upon Bing Yu's form gradually sealed, and her injuries were instantly mended. Seeing this, Gong Tu roared at the remaining 3 ghosts to come over, intending to show me the true meaning of despair. He then withdrew 2 perilous-grade ghosts from his sleeves. Raising his hand, he channeled a vast amount of ghostly energy into one of the 2 creatures. In a fleeting moment, that ghost ascended to the nightmare grade. Gong Tu then employed the same method to channel energy into the second ghost, which also surged to the nightmare grade. Thus Gongtu's side now commanded 6 nightmare-grade ghosts. Gongtu looked at me with a provocative sneer. I merely offered a look of cold disdain. Is that all it takes for you to claim victory? Did you truly think I was incapable of the same? I waved my hand to summon Shu, then extracted 100,000 underworld coins, transmuting them into a torrent of ghostly energy to infuse into Shua's body. Zua emitted a piercing, mournful wail, and its aura began to climb from dangerous to perilous to terror and finally to the nightmare grade. I then summoned Song Jian to the field. Repeating the process as before, Song Jian's aura began to surge once more, eventually reaching a level that left Qing Yun trembling in shock. So this was the true purpose of the underworld coins. Following that, I produced another 100,000 underworld coins, refining them into ghostly energy to channel into Bing Yu's body. The color of Bing Yu's form deepened, her eyes regained a glimmer of vitality, and then a sharp cracking sound emanated from her body. In an instant, Bing Yu had reached the fatal grade. The Gong cultivator, who had been so arrogant moments ago, was now rendered speechless. This is utterly preposterous. How could anyone upgrade a ghost so casually? And where does this Mo Lin even get such an endless supply of wealth? He has already expended at least 300,000 underworld coins, and he immediately signaled for the assault to begin. Bing Yu charged forward at the vanguard, and Shen Shi, not to be outdone, lunged forward to bite the arm off one of the ghosts. Seeing his 2 assistants perish in succession, the Gong cultivator hurriedly shouted to the final man in black, "Hey, stop spectating. If you do not intervene now, all of my lesser ghosts will be slaughtered." The man retrieved a signal flare gun and replied dismissively, I know. He then raised the signal gun and fired into the heavens. With a deafening boom, a crimson firework blossomed across the sky. Not long after, several vans approached the scene. A group of men dressed in vibrant red robes emerged from the vehicles. The leader wielded a sword crafted from copper coins, while the others brandished wooden blades. The momentum of these men converged, manifesting the towering phantom of a Taoist priest in the air above them. Seeing this, Li Hui muttered to himself, I never expected these people to be in league with malevolent spirits. I was bewildered and questioned him about these individuals. With a grim expression, Li Hui explained, These men belong to the Copper Coin Celestial Master Mansion. The coin swords in their hands are imitations of the ghost-expelling sword. At that very moment, a young man swung his copper coin longsword. The colossal phantom behind him mirrored the motion, swinging its blade in unison. The phantom sword descended slowly toward Shen Shi. Shen Shi attempted to resist, but in the next second, the radiance of the sword flashed. Instantly, a plume of white smoke erupted into the air. Shen Shi's arm had been severed. Faced with these members of the Celestial Master Mansion, the strength of spirits like Shen Shi could not even manifest to half its potential, and they were completely overwhelmed. Li Hu's expression was grave. Today was truly a clash of immortals. Even if he wished to intervene, he was powerless to help. Just as everyone presumed my defeat was certain, the roar of rotors suddenly tore through the air above. Black helicopters appeared before our eyes, one after another. As the first helicopter hovered not far away, I saw Li Bingyan lead over 10 people as they disembarked. After that helicopter departed, the next one arrived, and another 10 individuals stepped down. By the time the 7th helicopter retreated, more than 100 men had assembled on the ground. Li Bingyan spoke coldly to the members of the Tonkian Celestial Master Mansion. To think that you would dare bully the members of the Spirit Suppression Society. Do you truly believe we are without reach? As it turned out, such a significant event had occurred in Yunshuan. Li Bingyan had been informed early on. She originally assumed Mo Lin could handle the situation himself. She had not intended to intervene, but upon hearing that certain people who should not have arrived had made their appearance, she knew she had to take charge. Li Bingyan immediately turned to me and asked if I was unharmed. I nodded, and for the moment I am fine. Li Bingyan smiled and said, Well, does joining my Spirit Suppression Society not seem like a worthwhile endeavor? I may not be an expert at hunting ghosts, but when it comes to suppressing people, I am a professional. Standing to the side, Li Hu silently marveled at the scene. The power of modern technology remained formidable indeed. As Li Bingyan slowly raised her hand, the special forces surrounding them tightened their fingers on the triggers, ready to open fire at a moment's notice. The members of the Tonkian Celestial Master Mansion turned deathly pale. The man who had signaled earlier hurriedly shouted, Don't shoot! Don't shoot! Li Bingyan scoffed coldly, I never expected that you cultivators would so low as to collude with spirits. It is truly repulsive. The man spoke up again. I admit we were in the wrong this time. Please do not fire. Li Bingyan paid him no heed, instead turning to me with a cold expression. Does it matter if these people are killed? Li Bingyan spoke with complete indifference. If they die, then they die. They are nothing more than a festering sore upon this world anyway. Those watching from a distance turned pale upon hearing these words. The man pleaded with Li Bingyan again. Sister Li, do not strike. Surely we can negotiate this matter. However, before he could finish his sentence, a gunshot rang out. His body slumped to the ground, and the remaining men were so terrified that they clutched their heads and huddled on the ground. I looked at Li Bingyan with confusion. Li Bingyan laughed and said, What does that have to do with me? You are the true mastermind behind this affair. I looked at her with a hint of surprise. Why did I have the feeling that a conspiracy was unfolding? Li Bingyan continued, Look, this group of people has come to cause trouble for you. Wouldn't it be perfectly reasonable for you to just kill that Shen Fei while you are at it? I quickly replied, Sister Li, if you don't explain yourself clearly, Li Bingyan helplessly interrupted, attempting to clarify the situation. Actually, it is nothing complicated. It is just that this man has committed many vile deeds. I have been unable to deal with him myself, so today I shall borrow your hand to end his life. Upon hearing this, I replied, if you put it that way, then there is no issue. I will take responsibility for this. I immediately turned my gaze toward Gong Tu. Gong Tu never expected Mo Lin to act with such ruthless efficiency. Thus, he turned around, intending to flee. I flickered, cutting off his path, and engaged him in combat once more. Gong Tu's expression darkened as he spat, "Brat, if I want to leave, you cannot stop me. Your soul-dispersing ghost arts are completely useless against me." Realizing I truly could not do much against him, I took out the lightning talisman I had obtained earlier. In an instant, lightning surged to cover my body. Thus, the moment Gong Tu made contact with me, his body began to dissipate rapidly. Gong Tu hurriedly swung his yin energy staff, only narrowly managing to fend off my assault. Seeing this from the side, Li Bingyan furrowed her brows. Why did Mo Lin possess a lightning talisman, and why would he choose to use it at this moment? This is troublesome. From a distance, Li Hui was also filled with confusion as he looked at the lightning talisman in my hand. Why is this brat using a lightning talisman? This defies all logic. How could a ghost master possibly use a lightning talisman? One must know that after a human enters a contract with a ghost to become a practitioner, they would inherently be repelled by items like lightning talismans. Furthermore, considering Mo Lin possesses so many nightmare-level ghosts, the repulsion should be even stronger. Gong Tu was even more astonished. Brat, how are you able to use that? I let out a cold laugh and replied, why wouldn't I be? I am not a ghost, after all. Gong Tu was even more perplexed. You are a human, so why are you in the underworld? I did not say another word and struck out with my palm toward my opponent. Gong Tu did not dare to block the blow. He turned around, desperate to escape. I let out a cold huff and gently flicked my finger, releasing a bolt of lightning, crackle, crackle. Gong Tu immediately lost the ability to move. Striking while the iron was hot, just as I prepared to deliver the final blow, crimson flower petals drifted through the air, falling to the ground before vanishing. I turned around to see a female ghost dressed in a deep crimson robe. Not waiting for my opponent to speak, I issued a direct warning. I do not know what benefits Gong Tu has granted you, or what promises the ghost realm has made, but you would be wise not to meddle in the affairs of others. If I truly desired your death, even the Naihei Bridge would be unable to stop me. The female ghost laughed, saying, Gee, you and I are both yin envoys, are you truly certain you can eliminate me? I let out a cold snort and replied, what do you think I have relied upon to remain a yin envoy for 5 years? What have I relied upon to survive countless battles and emerge unscathed? Do you truly believe I have relied on mere luck? The female yin envoy asked with suspicion, I am deeply curious. You have exhausted your strength to this degree, so how can you still be so confident? Your lightning techniques cannot possibly be unleashed a second time. In truth, I do not wish to be your enemy, I only wish to rescue him. Gong Tu He spoke up, little brat, you didn't expect this, did you? I did not speak, instead opening my mouth wide. Drops of pitch-black liquid began to drip slowly from it. Immediately after, a shrill and piercing sound emanated from my throat. I want to emerge. Let me out to slaughter them all. Let me out. You already emerged once before. This time, it is my turn to come out. Master, let me out. Let me incinerate them to ash. Gong Tu cried out to the female yin envoy, run, quickly, take me away, hurry. The female yin envoy did not hesitate. She lunged forward, grabbed Gong Tu, and turned to flee. I sighed helplessly in my heart. This 5 Viscera ghost sealing art is clearly simple to use in the underworld. Why is it so arduous to manifest here in the mortal realm? I roared once more, and a ghost mother with 2 horns materialized before everyone. In an instant, a terrifying aura surged forth, rendering everyone present unable to breathe. She turned her gaze toward the ghosts of the ghost realm. Those ghosts instantly exploded like bursting balloons. Specters like Shen Shi and Su Hong were so terrified, they pressed themselves flat against the ground. Li Bingyan, standing nearby, felt her breath hitch. She was consumed by such boundless terror that she lost the very ability to think. Li Hui muttered to himself, a ghost mother. This is the legendary ghost mother. My own complexion turned deathly pale. To summon the ghost mother, my body had been completely drained of all vitality. The ghost mother approached me and said with intimate affection, my master, it has been quite a while since you last summoned me. I pointed toward the fleeing male cultivator and commanded, capture him. The ghost mother nodded obediently before reaching her hand into a black jar, groping around while muttering to herself, which one should I use? Big brother? No, he won't do. Even his singing isn't enough. He doesn't seem powerful enough. This one won't work, and neither will this one. She appeared to be carefully selecting something from within. Standing nearby, Li Bingyan gazed in the direction of the fleeing cultivator, wondering if Chen Zhang would be able to catch up. One must realize that ghosts possess incredible speed. In just a few minutes, they could vanish entirely. The ghost mother continued to mutter to herself, sensing that all these little ones were eager to breathe the air outside. Then, this one will do. In an instant, the ghost mother pulled a cyan-colored imp from the jar and commanded it, bring them back here. The cyan imp nodded. As you wish, Mother Goddess. Immediately, the cyan imp brandished its trident, distorting the very air around it. In the following second, the figures of the female underworld envoy and the cultivator began to be dragged backward, as if caught in a powerful vortex. Realizing she could not escape, the female envoy pleaded with me, Lin Mo, do not kill me, let me go. I replied with utter disdain, you realize this only now? It is far too late. On the other side, while I was momentarily distracted, the ghost mother raised her hand, and in the next instant, the cultivator's body was twisted into a grotesque shape. I spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. The ghost mother immediately halted her movements, rushing to comfort me in a panic. Master, are you all right? I shall not strike again. I was merely testing how much of my strength I could utilize just now. I wiped the blood from the corner of my mouth, feeling a lingering sense of fortune. It was the ghost mother I had summoned. Had it been any of the others, the consequences would have been far more dire. Those beings would undoubtedly have unleashed their full power without restraint. They would never concern themselves with my survival. The ghost mother then reached out to grab the female envoy, crushed her down, and stuffed her into the black jar. Following that, the ghost mother pointed toward Bing Yu and asked me softly, "That female ghost is quite special. May I have her?" Bing Yu, "That is not possible." The ghost mother sighed softly. "What a pity. Then is it my turn to make a wish?" I nodded and told her to speak. The ghost mother smiled and said, "Master, my elder sister." The vengeful wife, thinking of her, gave me a splitting headache. "Your sister is still alive?" The ghost mother nodded. "In the beginning, to seize the family inheritance, she tried to take my life. I just sensed her aura. She is still alive." I nodded helplessly. "Very well, I understand." Seeing that I was visibly troubled, the ghost mother took the initiative to return to my body. At that moment, I felt completely drained. I could not even muster the strength to use my yin energy. Thus, I spoke to Bing Yu, "Kill him." In the next instant, Bing Yu used her bare hands to tear Gong Tu to shreds. With this, the matter could be considered completely resolved. As for the members of the Tachi mansion, they were all taken into custody by Li Bingyan. Early the next morning, I groggily heard people discussing something outside the hotel room. "Do you think Brother Mo is all right?" "I am sure he is fine." "I heard the battle yesterday was incredibly fierce. Even the Jingxi Hall was destroyed. No wonder I felt the building shaking last night. I even thought it was an earthquake. Thinking back on it now, it must have been caused by Mo Lin's combat." Hearing this, I shouted toward the door. "Who is there?" Fu Wanton stood at the door and said respectfully, "Brother Mo, it is I, Fu Wanton." Another man chimed in, and I am Zhuangru. I sat up and said, "Come in." Shortly after, Fu Wanton and Zhuangru entered. Then, as if they were tending to their own ancestor, they began to fuss over my condition. "Brother Mo, are you unharmed?" "I heard you vomited blood yesterday," Zhuangru added, echoing his concern. "Brother Mo, my brother is a senior physician. I shall have him examine you at once." I stared at the two of them, speechless. It was merely a minor injury. There was no need for such a fuss. Zhuangru suddenly grew agitated. "You are injured. This will not do. Brother Mo, I insist that my brother examines you personally." Fu Wanton, standing nearby, also displayed a look of alarm. "What level of ghost did you encounter yesterday that managed to inflict such wounds upon you?" I waved my hand dismissively and said, "Enough, both of you, I am fine. It is unnecessary." Seeing this, Fu Wanton promptly changed the subject. "I heard your residence was destroyed by fire, so I have already prepared a new villa for you." It must be said that his intelligence network is remarkably swift. Mo Lin's home burned down only yesterday, yet he already knew today. Fu Wanton continued, "The two of us reside in the same villa district." Zhuangguo, standing beside him, chimed in, "I also live in that very district." I responded with a helpless sigh. "Very well, I understand. I shall move in within a few days." Fu Wanton hesitated for a moment before speaking honestly. "Brother Mo, would it not be better if you moved in immediately? The members of the Li family have already arrived, and we fear—" I suddenly understood and nodded. "Very well." Thus, an hour later, I found myself standing at my new residence. However, before I could even examine my surroundings, Fu Wanton hurried over to me. "Brother Mo, the people from the Li family are currently at my estate." Consequently, I followed Fu Wanton to his home. Upon entering, I saw a young woman dressed in a white suit, sitting with her legs crossed and speaking with Zhuang Ruo. Beside her stood a man with a tattoo running along his arm. Fu Wanton lowered his voice to introduce her to me. "She is the third young miss of the Li family." When Li Yuming saw Fu Wanton leading someone in, she said coldly, "Fu Wanton, why did you bring another person here?" "I have already stated that I am only here to inquire about certain matters. I do not intend to kill you, so what is there to fear?" Fu Wanton smiled as he explained. "This is a friend of mine." Li Yuming suddenly used a sound transmission technique to demand, "I only wish to ask, who was involved in the death of Li San?" She immediately produced a photograph and asked, "You recognize this woman, do you not?" The woman in the photo was bound by her wrists and hung suspended, her body covered in lash marks. She was soaked in blood, looking utterly wretched. I confronted Li Yuming directly. "Where is Hong Nianxun?" Li Yuming did not answer, but instead countered, "Does the death of Li San have anything to do with you?" "I will state this plainly, Li San was my doing. Now, it is your turn to answer me. Where is Hong Han Huan? Who is responsible for injuring her so severely?" Li Yuemi spoke with indifference. "That woman is incredibly stubborn. Even after being beaten to such a state, she refused to utter a single word regarding you all." I furrowed my brows and retorted, "Are you incapable of understanding human speech?" I asked where she is being held and who is responsible for bringing her to this condition. As soon as the words left my lips, several ghostly silhouettes emerged from the shadows. Li Yuemi's body suddenly trembled. She felt a chilling presence standing directly behind her. She slowly turned her head, only to find a female spirit standing behind her, staring intensely at her. In that instant, her instinct was to call for her bodyguards, but she saw that they had already been seized by the spirits. Her bodyguard was a grade 3 spirit master, yet he did not even have the chance to mount a resistance. Li Yuemi looked toward me with a horrified expression, unable to believe that such a minor place could harbor a nightmare-grade spirit. Li Yuemi hurriedly exclaimed, "Do not be rash, stay your hand." However, in the next moment, Shenshi seized Li Yuemi by the throat and her face instantly turned a deep shade of crimson. I did not come to... Seeing this, I gestured for Shenshi to release her. Li Yuemi's body collapsed heavily to the floor. Gasping for air, she spoke after a moment, "You nearly choked the life out of me. I did not come here to cause trouble. Did you truly intend to kill me?" I looked at her with surprise and asked, "What do you mean by that?" Li Yuemi rubbed her throat and glanced toward Fu Wantan and Trang. The two of them exchanged a look before turning and departing from the villa. Once both had left, Li Yuemi finally spoke. "That woman was not captured by me, nor did I strike her. It was the men under my elder brother. I can assist you in rescuing her. Furthermore, I can help you suppress the matter regarding your killing of Li San." I replied coldly, "There is no such thing as a free lunch in this world. State your conditions first." Li Yuemi smiled and said, "Help me become the heir to the Li family." Li Yuemi then immediately... It turns out the Li family consists of 3 sons and 1 daughter. The eldest brother is the first son, the second brother is the second son. Li Yuemi is the third child and the only daughter. Li San is the adopted son. The head of the Li family has 2 wives. The first wife bore the eldest son, and the second wife bore the second son. As for Li Yuemi, she is the daughter of a concubine. Since her talent for poetry and martial arts could not compare to her 2 brothers, no one in the Li family held her in high regard. Furthermore, she has always been suppressed by both her eldest and second brothers. For many years, she has endured in silence. It was not until 6 months ago that she inadvertently discovered her eldest brother intended to murder her and her mother. From that moment, the desire for retaliation took root, but true resistance requires strength. It is only today, after meeting me, that the seeds of her defiance have truly begun to blossom. After understanding the situation, I spoke directly. "I can assist you, but not only must you help me rescue Hong Nanhuan, you must also handle the matter regarding Li San, and finally, you must deliver the Udo Netherfire to me." Upon hearing this, Li Yuemi asked with uncertainty, "The Udo Netherfire, are you speaking the truth?" With an expressionless face, I replied, "I am of course telling the truth. Can you agree to this or not?" Li Yuemi gritted her teeth and said, "If you are capable of subduing the Udo Netherfire, I can give it to you, but the prerequisite is that I must become the successor of the Li family. Otherwise, I have no way of accessing the Udo Netherfire." I smiled after hearing her condition and said, "I am pleased that we can reach an agreement." Li Yuemi also smiled and said, "In that case, you shall first serve as my bodyguard, and afterward I will find an opportunity for you to enter the Li family under the guise of my protector." I nodded, "No problem." Hearing this, I immediately added, "I wish to rescue Hong Nanhuan as soon as possible." Li Yuemi stood up and said, "Very well, I will lead the way now." As the two of us stepped outside, Fu Wantan hurried toward us and asked, "Brother Mo, how did it go?" I smiled and said, "Rest assured the matter has been resolved." Fu Wantan stole a glance at Li Yuemi, and seeing her smiling, he became certain that Mo Lin's words were true. He breathed a sigh of relief and said, "It is good that everything is well. Brother Mo, I must truly thank you. I will certainly hold this debt of gratitude in my heart." I spoke directly. "That is excellent, as I possess several pieces of top-tier ghost artifacts. Help me sell these." Fu Wantan asked in surprise, "Are you out of money already?" I nodded and replied, "I am." Fu Wantan exclaimed in shock, "Over 200,000 Underworld coins, spent in only 2 days?" Realizing he had spoken too much, he quickly promised, "Brother, rest assured, leave the matter of selling the ghost artifacts to me." I walked forward and said, "Very well, let us go. We shall return to my residence to retrieve them." Before long, we arrived at my new home. The moment Li Jumi stepped through the threshold, she felt as if something were watching her. She immediately asked, "Are you raising ghosts in your home?" I answered nonchalantly, "You could say that." Li Yuemi's expression shifted, and she quickly retreated 2 steps, staring at me with heightened vigilance. I rolled my eyes, left speechless by her reaction. "What are you thinking? I am an upright person. I use Underworld coins to nourish my ghosts." Li Yuemi coughed awkwardly. "I cannot be blamed for my suspicions. Years ago, the Yin family was decimated. All 36 members were slaughtered in a single night. The culprit committed the massacre solely to raise ghosts." Upon hearing this, I asked, "And then what? What became of the perpetrator?" Li Yuemi sighed. "After that, the matter was never spoken of again. The murderer remains at large, completely beyond the reach of justice." At this moment, Bingyu stood by the doorway, blood-colored tears streaming from her eyes. On the other side of the room, I retrieved 13 ghost artifacts from a drawer, placed them on the table, and said to Fu Wantan, "These are all the ghost artifacts I have." Before Fu Wantan could respond, Li Juemi exclaimed excitedly, "All 13 are top-tier ghost artifacts, each capable of being used 7 times. She immediately looked up at me and asked, "Would you be willing to sell me 2 of them?" I nodded, "Certainly." 30,000 Underworld coins, no bargaining. Thus, Li Yuemi selected 2 of the artifacts, while I entrusted the remainder to Fu Wantan. Afterward, I accompanied Li Yuemi to a villa on the outskirts of the city. Just as we prepared to enter, a bodyguard stepped forward to block Li Yuemi's path. "Miss Li, you are not permitted to enter." Without a word, Li Yuemi summoned a terrifying contracted ghost, and then shouted, "I am the 3rd young miss of the Li family." Let me see who dares to stand in my way. Seeing how formidable Li Yuemi was, he could only allow the two of us to enter. I witnessed a man in leather shoes trampling upon the face of Hong Nanshuan. Hong Nanshuan lay motionless on the ground as if she were a corpse. The middle-aged man sneered, "This woman has a stubborn mouth. No matter how I torment her, she remains silent." She was furious yet deeply suspicious. How could Hong Nanshuan, a fourth-level spirit controller, be beaten into such a wretched state? Hearing the commotion, Hong Nanshuan struggled to lift her head. The moment she saw me, her body trembled and her eyes instantly turned bloodshot. The middle-aged man grabbed Hong Nanshuan by the hair and hoisted her head up. "Oh, so you still know how to cry? I had assumed you were nothing more than a corpse." The middle-aged man then turned his gaze toward Li Yuemi, questioning her without a hint of respect. "Miss Li, what is the meaning of this?" Li Yuemi frowned and replied, "Hand this woman over to me. You need not concern yourselves with the affairs of Li San from this moment onward." Before she could finish her sentence, the middle-aged man cut her off. "Miss Li, isn't it a bit presumptuous of you to simply demand to take over this matter with just a word? This situation is currently under the jurisdiction of the young master. It is not your place to intervene." Just as Li Yuemi was about to lose her temper, I stepped forward and demanded, "Was it you who beat her into this condition?" The middle-aged man grew impatient, barking, "You dare to challenge me? It is your turn to keep your mouth shut." Before he could finish, Shenshi suddenly appeared, grabbing the middle-aged man by the head and slamming him into the ground with such force that the floor shattered. This sudden turn of events caught him completely off guard, and he frantically attempted to summon his contracted spirit. The moment the contracted spirit appeared, Shenshi swiped her hand and devoured it entirely. The middle-aged man was instantly gripped by terror. "Brother, can we not settle this calmly?" I spoke again, asking, "Which one of you beat her into this state?" The middle-aged man began to stammer. It was me, but I was only—" With a sickening thud, Shenshi's hand pierced straight through his chest. Seeing this, Li Yuemi exclaimed, "You are doomed. I will take responsibility for this, but you must not flee under any circumstances, or I shall face grave consequences." I stepped forward to help Hong Nangshuan to her feet before replying, "Rest assured, I have yet to obtain the Yudu Nether Flame. I am not going anywhere." Only then did Li Yuemi heave a sigh of relief. "My thanks to you, my expression must look unsightly. Do not speak of gratitude, for it was I who implicated you. A fourth-rank ghost servant of your stature? How could you possibly be reduced to such a miserable state?" by Hong Yanshuan's smile. I was plotted against. I blame myself for lacking a sense of danger. Only then did I notice that there was not a shred of ghost energy on her body, as if she had been sealed. Immediately afterward, I took note of a coin affixed to her arm. I did not dare touch it. After all, if this item were handled carelessly, it could cause irreversible damage to her ghost contract. Liu Ma, standing beside me, also caught sight of the coin and explained to me that this was a technique belonging to the Heavenly Master Palace. I grew impatient and furrowed my brows. It is the Heavenly Master Palace again. I must go and see just how formidable this Heavenly Master Palace really is to keep repeatedly seeking trouble with me. Do they truly think I am so easily bullied? Liu Ma hurriedly interjected, "The Heavenly Master Palace is in the North Sea, not in Yin City." I exhaled a long breath, nearly driven to madness. I had momentarily forgotten this fact, so I suppressed the flames of anger in my heart for the time being. Then asked Hong Yanshuan, "Do you know the name of the person who placed this seal upon you?" Yanshuan spat out 2 words one way. As I withdrew my phone from my pocket, I replied, "I understand. I will certainly handle this matter for you." I immediately messaged our group chat asking, "Does anyone know Yuan Hui? I need to find him." "Lin Shi, why are you looking for Yuan Hui?" "He is a member of the Heavenly Master Palace. I am settling a grievance. Do you know where he is?" "Lin Shi, I know where he is. He is eating right in front of me. Come here quickly." "Mo Lin, send me the location. I am on my way." Lin Shi sent me the coordinates, and I immediately brought Hong Yanshuan to the location he provided, Wanhai Plaza. I caught sight of Lin Ji with a single glance. He was standing in the middle of the plaza, his gaze scanning the area. The moment he saw me, he rushed toward us and pointed at a man not far away, saying, "Hurry, that is him." Lin Ji shouted urgently, "Stop right there." Yuan Hui stopped in his tracks, looking at us with suspicion, and asked, "Is there something else?" I said angrily, "Do not play dumb with me. Was the seal on Hong Yanshuan's body placed by you?" Yuan Hui's expression instantly turned cold. "Does it have anything to do with you?" I spoke coldly. "You must immediately lift the seal on Hong Yan." Yuan Hui refused without a moment's hesitation. "My apologies, I cannot do that." I let out a cold snort and commanded Shenshi appear. The moment Shenshi manifested, she lunged forward to seize Yuan Hui. Yuan Hui retreated in haste, then produced a copper coin to deflect Shenshi's attack. Yet the very next second, the coin shattered into pieces in midair. In a flash, Shenshi had already captured Yuan Hui. Just then, a copper sword intercepted Shenshi's movement. An old man with a white beard appeared, though no one had noticed his arrival. He remarked, "Little brother, just because you possess a nightmare-rank spirit, do you think you can do as you please?" I challenged him, "Do you intend to meddle in affairs that do not concern you?" The old man urged, "Little brother, can we not discuss this calmly?" I gave a grim laugh. "You tell me to speak calmly?" My friend was nearly beaten to death by him. "On what grounds should I speak to you in a civil manner?" The old man fell silent for a moment before speaking. "Yuan Hui belongs to my copper coin Celestial Master Mansion. How about I have him apologize to you?" I responded with a cold scoff. "Then how about I beat Yuan Hui within an inch of his life, and then offer you an apology?" Just as the old man was about to add more, Lin Shi cut him off directly. And what exactly is the Copper Coin Celestial Master Mansion? You keep dancing around the issue. Do you truly believe I cannot prevent you from leaving Yinchuan? I looked at Lin Ji beside me in astonishment. Since when had this fellow become so unyielding? Lin Shi spoke to me with a hint of triumph. Brother Mo, there is no need for surprise. This is Yinchuan. This is our territory, and it is not for these people to act out. The white-haired old man asked with an unsightly expression. Little brother, what exactly do you want? I answered with a calm gaze. That is a question I should be asking you. Copper Coin Celestial Master Mansion, what exactly are you trying to do? Are you truly so fond of seeking trouble with me? The white-haired old man wore a look of complete bewilderment. What do you mean? I had no desire to exchange more empty words with him and walked straight toward Yuan Hui. The white-haired old man, lacking any sense of propriety, blocked my path once again. Little brother, you should understand by now that your nightmare-level ghost has no effect on me. A cold smile curled upon my lips. In the next moment, the lightning talisman manifested above my head, and I surged forward like a sharpened blade toward him. He was startled for a heartbeat, then hurriedly swung his copper coin sword to defend himself. I reached out with my right hand and seized his copper coin sword directly. The moment our powers collided, the copper coin sword shattered into pieces. The old man was jolted back more than a meter, and I took the opportunity to land a kick squarely on his chest. The old man shuddered violently as the lightning energy surged from my leg throughout his entire body. Immediately after, he collapsed to the ground, utterly stripped of his ability to fight, and Shi's eyes glowed with fervor as she stared at the lightning talisman in my hand. Heavens, is this truly a lightning talisman? Shortly after, her expression shifted into one of profound confusion. That is not right, Molin. How can you be a ghost controller and simultaneously wield a lightning talisman? It is simply illogical. I broke into a cold sweat. Why did this Lin Ji seem exactly like Feng, obsessed with labeling everything as illogical? Thus, I could only offer a vague dismissal. You do not understand. The ultimate form of logic is the profound truth. Ignoring Lin Shi, thereafter I turned and shouted at the white-haired old man, Do you truly think yourself invincible, old man? I shall spare you today. Return and deliver a message to your celestial master. When I arrive at the North Sea another day, I will surely eradicate your copper coin celestial master mansion. The white-haired old man turned crimson with fury. Finally, he softened his tone and asked, The copper coin celestial master mansion, what deep grudge do we hold against you that you would utter such cruel words? Our copper coin celestial master mansion rids the people of harm and is devoted to hunting ghosts. A wretch who raises ghosts like you will surely face divine retribution for your actions. I scoffed coldly. Hunting ghosts, you say? You have joined hands with the ghost controllers. Is this the ghost hunting you boast of? The white-haired old man wore a look of utter disbelief. You are speaking nonsense. I cannot be bothered to explain further. Begone and ensure you deliver my message. The white-haired old man slowly stood up, cast a glance at Yuan Hui, and finally let out a heavy sigh before departing. Yuan Hui's face turned ashen, his entire demeanor consumed by despair. Lei dragged him toward Hong Yanshun. Even now, he still did not refrain from casting blame. Li Jie is right. How dare you move against her? Li Jie will not forgive you for this. I delivered a kick to Yuan Hui's face and roared for him to shut his mouth, immediately ordering him to dispel the seal on her. Do not play any tricks or I will end your life. Yuan Hui's body trembled slightly before he began the process of undoing the seal. Afterward, he begged Hong Yanshun for mercy. Sister Hong, I apologize, I was wrong. Hong Yanshun ignored his pleas, not even deigning to grant him a single glance. Yuan Hui quickly dispelled the seal for Hong Yanshun, then turned to look at me cautiously. Can I go now? Hong Yanshun sneered. Leave? What makes you think that? In the next moment, Hong Yanshun summoned her ghost contractor. The moment it appeared, it reached out and snapped Yuan Hui's neck. At this very moment, my phone suddenly rang. The moment I answered, I heard the anxious voice of Li Bingyan. Mo Lin, come to the headquarters of the Ghost Control Society immediately. Before I could even ask what happened, the call was disconnected. Seeing this, Hong Yanshun said, If you have matters to attend to, go ahead. I will make my way to the infirmary on my own. Then Lin Ji spoke up as well. Mo Lin, considering I helped out today, could you accompany me tomorrow? Could you travel with me and Yun Lin to Fengming Valley in the Northern Sea? I nodded. Of course, that is fine. It so happened that I needed to make a trip to the Northern Sea anyway, so I proceeded to Li Bingyan's office. When Li Bingyan saw me, her eyes lit up and she immediately introduced me to the middle-aged man beside her. Brother Zhang, this is Mo Lin. The middle-aged man offered a gentle smile and said, Brother Mo, I have long heard of your reputation. I looked at the two of them in confusion, unsure of what game they were playing. Sensing this, the middle-aged man introduced himself. My name is Zhang Hai, and I am the minister of the Northern Sea branch of the Ghost Control Society. Zhang Hai then spoke to Li Bingyan at his side. You step out first. I wish to speak with Brother Mo in private. Li Bingyan nodded, and as she passed by me, she whispered softly, This is your opportunity. I remained lost in thought, contemplating what she meant by those words. Zhang Hai began. Young Brother Mo, would you be interested in developing your career in the Northern Sea? I have already heard of your affairs from Li Bingyan. You possess strength and a sharp temperament. I wish to promote you to the position of Vice Minister of the Northern Sea Ghost Control Society. I suddenly realized the entire affair had been a prelude to my promotion. Zhang Hai continued, explaining that a grave incident had occurred in the North Sea. The former deputy director was dead, and many others who had accompanied him had also perished, leaving the region critically short-handed. Filled with suspicion, I asked, with so many capable men in Yinchuan, why choose me? Zhonghai explained with utmost gravity, I have weighed this matter thoroughly. Firstly, your strength is formidable and you possess the lightning axe. Secondly, based on these 2 points alone, you are the most suitable candidate. I had no initial interest in the position of deputy director, but the mention of the copper coin celestial master mansion piqued my curiosity. Zhonghai continued his explanation. The copper coin celestial master mansion may be secretly colluding with ghosts. I suspect they have joined forces to eradicate the Ghost Control Society. The late deputy director was in the midst of investigating this very matter. Alongside 396 other ghost controllers, he simply vanished from this world. Zhonghai paused before continuing, the copper coin celestial master mansion is at odds with you. If they continue to grow in power, they will eventually seek their revenge against you. I spoke up, and what is in it for me? Zhonghai smiled and said, as long as you agree, you shall have the full unconditional support of all forces belonging to the Ghost Control Society, regardless of your actions. Hearing this, I gave my consent without hesitation. Smiling, Zhonghai produced an identity card he had already prepared and held it out before me. Deputy Director Mo, I look forward to our future cooperation. This is your new identification. Tomorrow I shall announce to everyone that you are to be our new deputy director. I accepted the card and asked, can I head to the North Sea the day after tomorrow? Zhonghai nodded. Naturally, that is permitted. We exchanged a few more brief words before I returned home. Upon arriving, I found Bing Yu crouching in the corner. I gave little thought to what she might be contemplating and headed straight to my room to lie down. It had been an exhausting day. Meanwhile, in a courtyard in Beihu, a young man was incessantly ringing a bell while chanting under his breath. Before him lay a coffin. The youth then used a crimson thread to bind the corpse within the coffin, before wrapping the other end around a straw effigy inscribed with the name Bing Yu. He let out a sinister sneer. Immediately, Bing Yu, who had been sitting quietly in the corner, rose abruptly, her eyes turning vacant and hollow. Her body, no longer under her own control, began to walk toward my bedroom. Not long after, I opened my eyes to see Bing Yu strangling me, and I was momentarily stunned. What could possibly be happening? Immediately after, I felt a sense of urgency and unleashed the lightning talisman. The power of thunder surged in the blink of an eye, forcefully knocking Bing Yu back. Perhaps the strength of the impact had taken its toll. Bing Yu regained a fragment of her clarity. She spoke with a sobbing, broken voice. Master Mo, leave quickly, I cannot control. Before she could finish her sentence, Bing Yu lunged toward me once again. I dodged in haste, and in the next moment, my bed was instantly reduced to dust. Everything had been peaceful just a moment ago. Why was Bing Yu attacking me? Seeing Bing Yu rushing forward once more, I had no choice but to use the lightning talisman to block her attack. Though she was a creature I had spent over 200,000 in resources to cultivate, I could not simply strike my own ghost until her soul dispersed into nothingness. That would be far too great a loss. Judging by her reactions, she currently resembled a puppet being manipulated. As we remained locked in this struggle, Bing Yu suddenly turned and fled. It must be that the person manipulating Bing Yu realized she could not kill me and thus intended to have her retreat. Seeing this, I immediately retrieved the ghost-suppressing tome and threw it outward. In the very next moment, Bing Yu was sealed within the ghost-suppressing tome. Simultaneously, in the northern sea, the red thread on the straw effigy manipulated by that young man suddenly snapped. The young man muttered, as expected of an expert, it seems I can only look for another opportunity next time. After all, her corpse is still here. I was not worried. Once Bing Yu was locked inside the ghost-suppressing tome, she soon returned to her normal state. Thus, I sent a voice transmission to ask, what is the meaning of this? Bing Yu replied with great emotion, it was those people who killed me. They raised ghosts and murdered my entire clan, yet I was fortunate enough to survive. The moment she said that, it reminded me of the time Liu Mai had mentioned to me that there were those who would slaughter an entire family just to raise a ghost, and it appeared that Bing Yu was one of those victims. Immediately, I understood that the enemy must have been using Bing Yu's physical remains to maintain control over her. How could I allow this? This is my ghost. How could she be controlled by someone else? Thus I spoke up and asked. Bangok said sorrowfully, I do not know their names, but I know they are in the North Sea. Once I reach the North Sea, I will certainly be able to recognize them. Hearing this, I muttered to myself, it seems this trip to the North Sea is inevitable. Thus, the following day, Lin Shi, Yun Lin, Feng Mingyu and I departed as a group of 4 on the earliest high-speed train bound for the North Sea. After exiting the station, we hailed a taxi and directed the driver to take us to the headquarters of the North Sea Spirit Control Society. 10 minutes into the ride, I sensed something amiss and spoke up urgently. This is not the route to the Spirit Control Society. Feng Mingyu asked skeptically, have you been here before? She knew, but as she turned to look out the window, her voice trailed off into silence. The scenery outside had shifted to desolate outskirts. Surely the headquarters of the Spirit Control Society would not be located in such a godforsaken place. Consequently, Feng Mingyu commanded the driver to stop the vehicle immediately. The driver ignored her as if he hadn't heard a word, even accelerating further. Feng Mingyu let out a cold harumph and summoned her contracted spirit. Just as she prepared to force the car to a halt, a loud pop resonated through the cabin. The taxi driver suddenly self-destructed. The sight was utterly gruesome. Lin Ji retched on the spot, and after we disembarked from the vehicle, Lin Shi turned to Feng Mingyu and asked, "Is someone trying to ensure we meet our end here?" Feng Mingyu nodded in agreement, without a doubt. At that precise moment, two terror-level spirits surged toward us from within the mist. Yun Lin called out to us, "Retreat, I will hold off these two terror-level spirits," but I cut him off, "Leave them to me." Before Yun Lin could utter another word, I had already summoned Shen Shi. Yun Lin gasped in astonishment, "A nightmare-level spirit? I thought you were only a grade 5 spirit controller." I paid Yun Lin no mind and continued to command. Su Xing, the two terror-level spirits turned in terror to flee, but unfortunately for them, it was already too late. In the blink of an eye, Shenji darted before one of the spirits and dispatched it with a single strike of her claws. Su Xing simultaneously made short work of the remaining spirit. Yun Lin exclaimed in shock, "You are like me? You possess two contracted spirits." Feng Mingyu observed the look of bewilderment on Yun Lin's face, a faint smile tugging at the corners of her mouth as she recalled the time she had hunted spirits with Mo Lin. Having been shaken by Mo Lin countless times, she finally found satisfaction in seeing someone else endure the same shock. We encountered no further incidents thereafter and arrived safely at the Spirit Control Society headquarters. We were promptly greeted by a man dressed in a black suit. "You are the spirit controllers from Yincheng, are you not?" "My name is Xiaoming Long, and I am the acting deputy director of the North Sea Spirit Control Society." He then feigned indifference and asked if we had encountered any incidents upon our arrival. I replied with a smile that there had been no trouble whatsoever. Tao Minglang nodded, remarking, "That is good, there have been far too many accidents lately. Our ghost society has suffered heavy losses, and your arrival is most timely." Following this, Tao Minglang began to assign tasks to our group. I was dispatched to the western suburbs, while Lin Ji and the others were sent to different locations. During the assignment, I said to them, "These waters in the northern sea run deep. Conduct your missions with the utmost caution. If you encounter any danger, send word to me immediately." Afterward, I set off for the western suburbs with my assigned squad. A young woman in the squad, Pan Nansha, remarked, "Ever since the deputy minister took office, there are ghosts beyond counting every single day, as if someone is deliberately releasing them." A middle-aged man offered comfort, saying, "Do not overthink these matters. Just focus on performing your duties well." He then turned to me and said, "Little brother, the ghosts in the northern sea are particularly ferocious. Later when we confront the ghosts, if you find yourself overwhelmed, do not hesitate to hide behind me." I nodded and began to converse with him. Through our talk, I learned the middle-aged man's name was Zheng Nan. He was a level 4 ghost controller and the captain of our squad, possessing extensive experience in hunting ghosts. As the sky gradually darkened, we reached our destination. Zheng Nan told everyone there are two terror-level ghosts here. We must remain vigilant. However, upon stepping into the school grounds, I realized the situation was far from simple. The ghostly aura hanging in the air had already condensed into dense, black clouds. How could there only be two terror-level ghosts? Seeing me standing still and motionless, Zheng Nan assumed I was paralyzed with fear and said, "Do not be afraid. Do not rush ahead later. Just watch how we handle the hunting." With that, our group proceeded into the first floor of the school. The method these people used to hunt ghosts was rudimentary. They simply searched room by room. Before long, inside a classroom, we spotted a female ghost clad in white. Zheng Nan let out a shout, "Attack!" Everyone promptly summoned their contracted spirits. With a rush of energy, they descended upon the female ghost to dismantle her. Afterward, Zheng Nan instructed, "Keep searching, everyone. There should be one more." And so the group began to scour the entire area once again in pursuit of their prey. The entire row of lecture halls had been searched thoroughly, yet the remaining demon could not be found. The young woman from before spoke up, asking, "Is it possible that there was only one demon?" Trinnum shook his head and said, "The intelligence from headquarters could not possibly be wrong." At that very moment, a man suddenly cried out, "I see it." The demon was in the backyard, so everyone rushed toward it. I hurriedly warned Trin Nam that the backyard was extremely dangerous. Trin Nam laughed, saying, "Rest assured, it will be fine." Once we reached the backyard, we discovered only one dilapidated, neglected house. A demon with a rotting face suddenly emerged. Trin Nam and the others rushed to pursue it. A man and his contracted demon flickered, instantly cutting off the creature's path. He then urged Trin Nam, "I have blocked this demon. You must act now." But Trin Nam shouted, "Run." I did not answer, instead asking, "Are nightmare rank demons truly this common?" Trin Nam explained, "In the past, nightmare rank demons did not exist at all. Ever since the deputy chief passed away, they have appeared frequently." I rubbed my chin in thought. Judging by the struggle we just faced, I suspect this nightmare rank demon was intentionally cultivated by someone. It seems the waters of Beihai are far deeper than I had imagined. Soon our group returned to the Spirit Controlling Society headquarters. Upon entering, we saw all the spirit controllers standing in the main hall with grave expressions. Sthom Lang stood at the center. Speaking with forced helplessness regarding the matter of Brother Trung, I am also deeply grieved, but the best course of action now is to preserve our strength. If we save Brother Trung now, it would be no different than throwing our lives away. Brother Trung appointed me as the acting deputy chief. He was my benefactor. I am suffering more than any of you. I asked the spirit controller standing before me, "What is happening?" The spirit controller said with a dejected expression, "Chief Trung Hai has returned, but he is currently trapped at Tamzaga. There are countless nightmare-ranked demons there. What are we supposed to do?" Tring Nam spoke up first. Chief Cow, I believe we should go and rescue Brother Trunghai. Salmon Zhongnan, you must understand that at Sanxia Port there reside 3 nightmare rank vengeful spirits. Yet among us I am the only grade 5 spirit controller. I had no intention of putting everyone in harm's way, but after searching I could not find Yunling and the others. It became clear that something had gone terribly wrong. I immediately demanded to know why Zhonghai had become trapped there. Cao Minglong feigned a look of regret and spoke. This is my fault. I assigned the 3 of them to capture ghosts. I never expected them to take it upon themselves to venture to Sanxia Port. When Brother Zhonghai heard the news, he rushed to Sanxia Port to rescue them. I tried to stop him, but I could not. I cut him off immediately, questioning did they truly act on their own or was this orchestrated by you? Cao Minglong's expression turned cold instantly. What exactly are you implying? I let out a cold laugh. Is the meaning not clear enough for you? Zhongnan stepped forward then and said, stop this arguing. We must hurry to rescue them. Others immediately chimed in, indeed, we must save them at once. Cao Minglong dropped the charade of playing the victim. He stepped forward to block our path, declaring, I am the acting deputy chief now. I have stated that no one is to go on this rescue mission, and no one will leave. I spoke up, stating, you are no longer the deputy chief. Minglang's eyes widened in disbelief. Who do you think you are? Do you think you can simply decide such things? I produced my identity badge for all to see, for I am the officially appointed deputy chief of the Baihai Spirit Control Society. Zhonghai had appointed me just days ago. Zhongdan stepped forward, inspected the badge carefully, and affirmed, there is no mistake. Mo Lin is indeed the deputy chief. Panic flickered across Cao Minglang's face. He realized that if Mo Lin managed to rescue Zhonghai, he would be in grave trouble. He forced a mask of calm and claimed this identity badge as a forgery. The crowd fell into a heavy silence, for they were all veterans of the Spirit Control Society. Whether an identity badge is authentic or fake is something they can discern with a single glance. I swept my gaze across the group and asked coldly, does anyone else doubt my identity? Step forward now. Very quickly, a few individuals behind Cao Minglong spoke up. Kid, stop playing games. You are an imposter and your badge is surely a fraud. I issued a cold command. Everyone follow me to Sanxia Port to save our people. Anyone who refuses will be dealt with as a traitor. I then turned to Zhongnan beside me and asked, how does the Spirit Control Society deal with traitors? Tring Nam slowly uttered 2 words, dead men. I nodded, then looked toward Dao Min Lang's group and stated, they are all traitors to the Spirit Master Society. Tao Min Lang let out a cold laugh. Let us see who dares to touch me. Immediately after, he summoned his nightmare tier contracted ghost, and a terrifying murderous aura instantly engulfed the entire hall. I gave a cold snort. Shenshi emerged. Tao Min Lang's calm expression revealed a flicker of gravity. How is this brat also a level 5 Spirit Master? This is becoming somewhat difficult to resolve, I remarked. Another nightmare tier ghost appeared beside me. In the next second, Shenji lunged straight toward Dao Min Lang's contracted ghost. A crimson flame enveloped the entirety of that contracted ghost body. Sohan looked on in astonishment. This Shen Shi has actually comprehended a second ghostly ability. He then felt a surge of defiance, using his own soul chain ability to pierce directly through the chest of the ghost. Following that, Shenji tore the contracted ghost into 2 halves, and ultimately, Sohan and Shenji divided the remains to feast upon. Dao Min Lang was so terrified that his face turned deathly pale. I ignored him entirely and addressed the others. Take him down and hold him until Zhonghai returns to deal with him. The rest of you follow me to rescue the others. Meanwhile, at the Tamza port, Ling Shi gazed at the countless ghosts before her and muttered, why are there so many? Huang Minvu speculated, it is possible we have been set up. Ling Shi pulled out her phone and said angrily, how sinister, I am calling Mo Lin immediately. Wait, why is there no signal? Seeing this, Huang Minvu helplessly replied, it seems to be a trap indeed, we must find a way to survive. With that, he surged forward, while Van Ling and Zhonghai were fully exerting themselves to hold back the tide of ghosts rushing from the front. The 2 of them had previously joined forces to slay a nightmare tier ghost. Ling Shi thought to herself, fortunately Zhonghai is a level 5 spirit master, otherwise we would surely have perished this time. Immediately after, she also rushed into the fray. 2 hours passed, and the low-tier ghosts before them had been entirely eradicated. Ling Shi's group appeared visibly exhausted. Just as they were preparing to depart, a nightmare tier ghost suddenly manifested. Its eyes burned a vivid red, the depths of its pupils revealing a murderous intent that chilled the soul. Zhonghai stepped forward and said, I will hold this ghost back. You all must find a way to escape. Ling Shi's group knew this was no time for hesitation, yet they had only taken a few steps before they ground to a halt. Huang Minvu, his face ashen, remarked, forget it, there is no need to run. None of us are escaping this. For before them, yet another nightmare tier ghost had appeared. Lakay gritted her teeth. Do not give up. Malem will surely return to rescue us. With those words, she charged forward. Yunling and Huang Minvu exchanged a glance before charging in to join her. Zhonghai's contracted spirit and the remaining nightmare tier ghost were locked in a fierce struggle, neither side gaining the upper hand. Meanwhile, the trio led by Lakay remained suppressed by the nightmare tier ghost, unable to gain even the slightest advantage. Lakay brandished her longsword, thrusting it toward the nightmare tier ghost. In a flash, the blade severed the demon's arm. But before Lakay could find joy in the strike, the demon's limb sprouted anew. Immediately, the nightmare tier ghost lunged at Lakay, its claws raking toward her abdomen. Lakay dodged the lethal strike, yet her side was left with a deep, searing wound. Just as despair consumed Laquais, a bolt of lightning descended with a deafening roar, shattering the nightmare tier ghost into a dozen fragments. Trinnan stood nearby, utterly astonished. Impressive, this deputy society leader actually knows how to wield lightning talismans. But the next moment, I struck my forehead in regret. Damnation, why did I forget to capture it? A nightmare tier ghost could generate 800 underworld credits per day, totaling 24,000 per month. This was a massive loss. At the same time, Zhonghai's group had successfully suppressed the remaining nightmare tier ghost. Seeing them prepare to deliver the finishing blow, I hurried forward to intervene. Wait, leave this nightmare tier ghost to me. Zhonghai, assuming I intended to form a contract with the creature, cautioned. These ghosts have been nurtured by others. They cannot be tamed. I smiled and replied, just leave it to me. With that, I stepped forward and placed a hand upon the crown of the nightmare tier ghost. Instantly, the ghost was pulled into the ghost suppression tome. Name undefined realm nightmare tier skills none yield underworld credits. 800 per day. I stroked my chin, calculating my assets. 1 terror tier ghost, 9 nightmare tier ghosts, and 1 fatal tier ghost. My daily income was now 15,000 underworld credits. Just as I was brimming with joy, the ghost suppression tome flipped open to the first page on its own. A line of text manifested automatically. Capture 20 ghosts to receive 1 myriad annihilation immortal suppressing talisman. I couldn't help but swallow hard. This immortal suppressing talisman sounded exceptionally formidable. As for capturing 20 ghosts, surely that would be a simple task. Beihai is filled with. I looked toward Laquais and asked, why did you come here? Laquais responded with palpable fury. That man, Cao Min Lang, told us to come here to It was exactly as I had suspected. He truly intended to have us killed. Immediately afterward, I informed Trung Hai about everything that had just transpired at the Demon Taming Society. Upon hearing the news, Trung Hai was consumed by a fit of rage. Cao Min Lang, that cur is truly desperate to see me dead. In that case, I shall personally subject him to a brutal interrogation.